Hello everybody and welcome to the Alpha League Season 7 group stage game of Thursday, April the 1st. And it's not a joke, we're coming to you with a game between a Deathwatch Imperial Soup and a Destroyer Cults list. Zero joke. I'm really looking forward to it. If you're looking for the music that we're going to be using for the intro and the outro, the channel's name is ArgoFox over on YouTube. Go ahead and check them out, ARGOFOX. Let's go ahead and throw out a big thank you to all of you for coming by. Additionally, as far as this goes, remember this is a competitive match, and that for the purposes of backseating and advice and all that stuff, there's going to need to be a no backseating rule, just in case the people are in the chat. Alright? Cool. Now that we're all agreed on that fact, I'm not the only one here. In fact, I have two lovely, valuable, and super cool co-hosts, one of whom is our tournament organizer. I'd like to go ahead and welcome Arrover to the stage, and Faith, our other co-caster. Hello, you two. At least I think it's Faith. I'm pretty sure it's Faith.
It is me, yeah.
Hey guys, what's going on? Great to be here as always. We have two awesome armies for our stream today. For the first time ever in the history of the Alpha League streams, and I think streams in general on our YouTube, we have an Imperial Soup which vastly focuses around the Deathwatch, so I'm super excited to see what they do. And going up against them is the Necrons. Necrons last season making it all the way to the grand final. So I think this is going to be a pretty good one. Great to be here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really cool game to see. It's like the classic Deathwatch versus Xenos game too. Like instead of Deathwatch versus Imperium or something weird, we actually get that cool Xenos matchup where they really shine, which is really fun because I love me some Deathwatch, man. They're such a cool army.
Alright, and one last thing I forgot to announce. Our in-game music, I'll be using the music by Midwinter Minis from his Death by Dice Volume 1 that you can go ahead and find over on Bandcamp, so go ahead and check them out. Midwinter Minis on Bandcamp, or the Death by Dice Vol 1. You can go ahead and find them that way as well. To keep a nice strategic, grimdark feel to our show. If you got any feedback for our show, by the way, don't be afraid. Please let us know. And if you want to have access to the lists, although I don't have access to a bot yet, I have become a bot itself. Thank you very much for the Tier 1 subscription to Lord Leviticus. Much appreciated, my dude, and we'll make sure to put that towards the stream and towards Alpha League to make it better than ever. Alright, with that said, I see no reason why we shouldn't just get into things and start talking about the lists. Let's go ahead and take things from the top. In our red corner, we've got the Necron Destroyers. I do need to change around some of the names and everything, but the way that the images worked out, it's whatever. But yeah, in the red corner, we have the Necrons, and in the blue corner, we have the Deathwatch. All things considered, player one, we got some Necrons, and these guys are actually kind of great for what they do. It's a very interesting list. Why don't we go ahead and get started from the top with this? Hold on a second. We've done push to talk here, so it's gonna take me a little. It's gonna take me a minute. Okay, so Necrons. As far as the Necron list goes, it's the relentlessly expansionist, with Rad Reef instead of the OBSEC on everybody. So as long as they're within 1 inch of anybody, as long as it's not a vehicle, they reduce the toughness of their enemies by 1. Which is kind of a nerdly thing to do, but Necrons did it first, I'll have you know. And the Relentlessly Expansionist gives each and every one of the models on the Necron list an additional 6-inch normal move at the beginning of the game. Starting things off, we have the Crypto Thralls. There are 2 of them. What they do is they protect the Cryptex. As long as they're near the Cryptex cannot be shot. They also can do some neat things with Heroic Intervention and get really mad when you get too close to them. We also have a viral construct in the form of 2 Canoptic Plasma Sites. These little buggy guys can go around and boost up the power of the Scorpex and the Ophidians, which we'll get to in a minute. But any destroyers can be bumped up by those guys in melee. They're handy little bodies to have. They're only 15 points, and they really turn your guys into a blender. For our HQs, we've got a Chronomancer, giving a 5-up invulnerable save and a rerollable charge to whoever he targets. We have an Overlord. This is the Warlord for today. They have the Thrall of the Silent King Warlord trait, which extends the ranges of their auras by 3 inches, and additionally, because this guy has the My Will Be Done ability, that now has a maximum range of 12 inches instead of 9. This particular Overlord comes equipped with a Tachyon Arrow and a Hyperphase Glaive. The Hyperphase Glaive is a reasonable melee weapon, but the Tachyon Arrow is particularly funny. It's a strength, 14 AP-5 D6 damage gun. You can only shoot it once per game, but when it goes off, it can do enough damage to be important. And then finally, we have the Scorpic Lord. We have rarefied nobility on this guy to give him the Honorable Combatant trait. What this means is that as long as he's in combat with a character, he can go ahead and just put all of his attacks into that character, and he gets extra attacks for that reason. It also comes with the Veil of Darkness relic, which allows him and one core unit to teleport with him across the board at any time during the game at the end of one of his movement phases. This allows for a lot of that Necron jank when it comes to teleporting around the battlefield and doing those tricks that Xenos are so well known for. Our troops for this battalion involve 3 minimum squads of Gauss Blaster Immortals. These guys come with Rapid Fire Gauss Blaster, Strength 5, AP-2, 1 damage, each at 30 inches of range. Long story short, these guys are kind of like warriors, but tougher. We'll have to see how they go, though. For our elites, this is where we're going to start seeing some of our destroyers. We have one squad of 10 death marks. These guys are great for their sniping ability and have a stratagem that allows them to shoot people that came in for deep strike that turn. With their ballistic skill of 2+ and a strength 5, AP-2, 1 damage gun that can cause mortal wounds, that can definitely do some work. They can also deep strike natively if Natural Nuke decides to do that. We also have 2 squads of 3 Scorpec destroyers, each with a Hyperphase Reap Blade and 3 Threshers. So I was wrong. That seems to be 4 Scorpic Destroyers, my bad, in each of those squads, but they are equipped exactly the same. They absolutely can do the damage. They're relatively tough, especially with their stratagem to reduce the shots and attacks that go into them. They have a -1 to wound strat in those cases. And then we have a Triox Stalker with a Heat Ray, multifunctional, gives access to a Melt-A-Shot and a Flamer Shot, makes it really good in no matter where you decide to put it. In Fast Attack, we have 2 squads of Ophidian Destroyers, and these guys are going to blend. There are 6 of them per squad, 2 with Reap Blades that on 6s get additional hit, and then the Threshers, which just give an additional attack. Each one of them also comes with Ophidian Claws, which is even more attacks. If you hype this up with the Canoptic Plasma Sight and also add on the Rad Wreath trait that these guys have, the Ophidian Destroyers do a lot of work. Mind you, they're relatively flimsy, so you need to make sure that they're safe. And they will go down relatively easily. So they are definitely a tactical nuke, but you need to be careful that it can be easily disarmed. And finally, in heavy support, we have a squad of 5 heavy Locust Destroyers. 5 Locust Destroyers with 1 heavy destroyer that has a Gauss Destructor. The Gauss Destructor is the one-shot strength 10 AP-4, 3d3 damage. The Locust Destroyers were the darlings, really, of 8th edition, but have kind of fallen off since due to their 55-point price tag. It makes them a bit difficult to really validate. However, it's not the end of the world. These guys tend to have a D3 damage gun, which does a lot of work, and you can get them to reroll wounds. So, there's a lot going on with this list. It's powerful. What do you two think?
It's a really cool list with just like this kind of destroyer spam. Is just, I mean, this is the coolest kind of Necrons. Like I love destroyers. They're so amazing. I mean, look at these models over here, like the Ophidian destroyers. They look so cool, and they are absolutely terrifying. I mean, they're really fast and they just do so much damage. Like anything they touch pretty much dies, right?
That's the dream, anyway. On natively hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s to hit on pretty much every single one of them. They can definitely do the work. Then if they're near the Scorpic Lord, they're also rerolling 1s to wound. And with the fact that they're reducing toughness by 1, adding +1 to their strength, even the Ophidians are wounding those Marines on 3s rerolling 1s with a bunch of AP-3, AP-4, AP-1 attacks. Each of these is pretty much perfect for thrashing through storm shields and stuff, and as we'll see, that might actually be important. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and take a quick look at their secondaries. For the Necron secondaries today, we've got Domination, Assassinate, and Direct Assault. Domination control the majority of the objectives on the board. Seeing as there are 5 of them, and this is a heavily melee army, this makes good sense to me. You're going to probably be scoring 3 points for that every turn, so long as you can get the kills you need to really reset who's actually controlling that. And destroyers are great at flipping objectives, so domination makes sense. Assassinate, it's hard. It's sadly one of the things that works well against Space Marines because they have so many characters, but it's always tough to get because you have to kill Space Marines to do it. If any list can do it, though, it's a list full of destroyers, so we'll see how that works out. And then there's Direct Assault. Direct Assault gives you 3 points if you control the middle objective or your opponent's objective at the end of your turn, and it gives you 5 points if you control both. It's a really strong secondary, especially if you are aiming to go for the middle anyhow. And it is one of those secondaries from a mission that is actually very viable almost no matter when. So, if only the destroyers were core, this would be great. But, yeah, not the case. The destroyers are just going to have to run around with their increased speed, the fact that they're all infantry, and their extreme hitting power to really do the damage necessary. Now, they are up against the wall here in what is a very strong, at least theoretically strong list coming out here from Alex E, aka Black Dynamite. Araver, would you like to go through the list, please?
Oh, I most certainly would. Like, I love the Deathwatch. I think they're an awesome concept. I love their lore. Taking the best Space Marines out of any chapter and assembling them into kill teams to deal with any Xenos threat across the galaxy, I'm so into it. And that's coming from me, who's a Filthy Chaos and Aldari player. But we haven't just got the Deathwatch today. We've got a bit of soupy goodness. So we're going to start with that detachment. We've got a patrol here of Imperial Guard. We've got a tank commander, of course, with a turret-mounted Demolisher Siege Cannon. And of course, he's taking gunnery experts and spotter details, so that extra plus to range, and gunnery experts for the reroll the die on the number of shots fired from it. And of course, we've got everyone's favorite, a Manticore, full payload, heavy bolter. So full payload's like nasty. I love it. It's gross. And just in the troop slot though, he's gone for some science, which is great because they can just basically be action monkeys because you don't have to deploy them on the board to start with. So that just rounds out that little tiny patrol of absolute death there. And then we go into the meat of the list. We've got a full-on battalion of Deathwatch. And here we have Lord Inquisitor Kyra Draxus leading it up with mental interrogation. Someone tell me in the chat what that power does. It sounds great. I'm like generally curious.
I think that's the +1 CP for targeting a character. I think that's the one, mental interrogation. Like you just target a character and then you gain a CP. It's like a CP regen kind of trait. It's really cool.
Sounds great. Yeah, just extra CP is always good. And then we've got Chaplain. Why would you never run a Chaplain in any Space Marine chapter? Cataclysm of Hate, of course, and Retification of Focus, running those litanies on him. And litany of hate there. And then we just got a Librarian to round it all out. I'm not too hot on my Deathwatch psychic powers, but we've got Fortified with Contempt and Neural Void on him. And then we go into the actual sort of like brunt of the list, the kill teams. Of course, we've got 2 big kill teams. If I'm not mistaken, these guys can combat squad up as well. We've got a good mix of Deathwatch bolters and then guys with Chainsword and Storm Shield for a bit of added durability. And then the Watch Sergeant in the first one has the Xenoface Blade, and if I'm not mistaken, that just ignores invul saves, if I remember rightly, the Xenoface Blade.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. Of course, in the elites, we have our Master Apothecary, the true hero of any Space Marine chapter right now. Of course, he's a Chief Apothecary with Selfless Healer to bring a guy back at the end of every turn. We then got Judicar. These guys are making a bit of a return this season. Fight Last is a great mechanic, so I can not underestimate why you wouldn't consider taking this guy if you do have him. It's just that they kind of fell out a bit of favor last season, but they're starting to make a bit of a return. And then we got 2 Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts. These things are scary. I run these in my Death Guard all the time. I am very much aware of what they do. Mortal wounds on 6s to wound is gross, and he's got synergies in here to get reroll 1s to hit and reroll 1s to wound in here with the list. And rounding it out, we've got a Vanguard Veteran Squad, full-on Lightning Claws, which is grim. Apart from the Sergeant, who is rocking a Storm Shield, they're all rocking Storm Shields, forgive me. So 4 pinball, and then rerolling wound, a big brick, which again I think he can combat squad as well.
Yep, and to talk about the warlord traits and stuff, it is his chaplain that is the warlord. He has the Master of Sanctity, I believe it's called, which is the reroll the canticle, right? Which is really nice. It just increases that efficiency of the canticles. Make sure they go off, basically. And as for the psychic powers, so these are really cool. Like, Deathwatch actually has some really good psychic powers, which, you know, makes you a bit sad as someone who played Marines for a long time, or a bit happy, I mean, like that is finally changed, finally some good psychic powers. So he has the Fortified with Contempt, which is basically just put a 5-up Feel Pain on something, which, I mean, is just as good as it sounds, right? And then he has the Neural Void, which is Warp Charge 7, and you target an enemy unit, and it subtracts 1 from the attack's characteristic of that unit, and they can only declare a charge against the closest enemy unit, which can really screw up some of these like multi-charge, like you know, like tie up all the enemy units type things you can do. So it's these are some really strong psychic powers, and this is the first time I've read these, but like this sounds amazing, so I completely understand why he took them.
Yeah, the Deathwatch psychic powers are really, really stellar and allows a lot of flexibility. And in particular, it's going to help protect the Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts, which do, as we've seen in Arrowver's Death Guard list, they can do a lot of work with the proper support. And these Space Marines can definitely give the proper support, the proper screening. We've got a little bit of extra backup firepower in terms of the Imperial, the Imperial Guard here, bringing their full payload Manticore. And a little bit of psychic flex with, Inquisitor Lord Kyra Draxus here allows for not just the Space Marine Librarian, but also some Inquisitorial powers, which can definitely do some work against Xenos. And guess what we're up against? Seeing as she's Ordo Xenos, that will definitely help. Now let's talk about this. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, my bad. So are we ready to take it to secondaries for the Death
Oh, yeah. Talking about the secondaries. The secondaries for our Deathwatch soup friend here are Domination, again, going for the middle, fighting for it. In this map in particular, it's super important. And it stacks directly with Direct Assault. If you manage to control the middle, plus one other, your home objective and one other one, that's an easy 6 points a turn, at least. And that's really, really good because it scores at the end of your turn. So even if you had to sacrifice a piece to get it, you can get it. Finally, we have While We Stand, We Fight. Now, this one's interesting to me. You are going for the maximum, points per unit. And although I haven't studied the list enough to know exactly which ones those are, I suspect that the Tank Commander is one of them, which will be hard to get to. I also suspect that when it comes to other ones, like you've got a Vanguard Veteran list, one of the Proteus kill teams has it, and then the other Proteus kill team has it. In fact, all 3 Proteus kill teams have it. So Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, pretty much. Plus, shotguns and all that stuff. In short, lots of Storm Shields to get through. A lot of Space Marines to get through. It makes it very difficult to actually, kill off the While We Stand We Fights if you don't want them to be. It does present a risk, however, since if those models do, end up becoming vulnerable, you don't want to really use them, and for Space Marines, you desperately want to make sure that every one of your assets is doing stuff every single turn, since you are such an elite army. We'll have to see how that turns out for our Deathwatch soupy friend, but I do think that it could work out.
I mean, he can combat squad them, so that's kind of like what we saw with Dark Angels and Terminators, where you combat squad the unit, and because of the way While We Stand works, you have to kill both parts of the unit. So you can just literally have one part of the unit hide behind line of sight blocking terrain for most of the game on a back objective, and have the rest of the unit go forward. It can secure it. Necrons aren't exactly known for their deep striking too much, are they? Other than the death marks. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of reserves, actually, I'm curious to see if the death marks have been placed into reserves, as have at least one squad of Ophidians, it seems to be as well, along with the Canoptic Plasmacyte. So the death marks, one squad of Ophidians, and the Canoptic Plasmacyte sitting in reserves are going to force the Space Marine player to play a bit safe. since those guys with the appropriate support can easily shred through an entire squad of Marines without much trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he has pretty good screening though, and I feel like this is a map where you kind of just need like 1, maybe 2 screening units to cover like your entire, because the board cuts off differently on this map. It kind of becomes like a vertical thing, and then you just string out 1 unit to take the vertical, I mean diagonal thing, and then you just string out to take one of the side objectives as well. Because this map is very binary. It's very much like you just fight for the center. You score 3 points every time it's your turn, because if you don't hold the center objective at the end of your turn, you're probably going to lose the game anyway. So you always take domination because of that. So it's a very like simple brute force, just walk at the opponent and fight in the middle type map, which I love as a Custodians player, obviously, but also very good for melee, for all types of melee armies, including I think honestly this Necron type list is pretty good at this map.
Yeah, I was going to say our mission today, guys, is sweep and clear, as I like to call it, the arena of camera, where basically for 5 turns you fight over that central objective in the middle for your Holdmore. You can do some interesting like flanking maneuvers around the side as well, to try and get into the other like table quarter for your opponent's objective. I think Necrons do have a bit of an advantage there with the speed of some units over the Deathwatch. So we'll have to see if he sort of plays into that. And yeah, like Slowwolf was saying, they've both taken domination and direct assault. Great thing about these 2 secondaries on this map is they do score at the end of the turn. So if you're holding like that central objective or more objectives than the opponent, that's like a guaranteed 6 points. It does stack it quite heavily around that central point, can be the problem. And if it starts to tilt like one way or the other, it's going to become like, you're going to start losing out on secondaries like pretty quickly. So it's high risk, high reward, I think, for both players. We're in for a very bloody game around the central objective, I feel.
Yeah, this is such a volatile type. Like the game turns immediately wrong if you have just one bad turn where you somehow don't get enough obsec models to hold the center, and your opponent holds it in your turn and his, then you lose out on 6 points all of a sudden. You don't get domination, you don't get the direct assault thing, and then your opponent still gets it because he's holding the objective, right? So like just one turn of not having enough obsec bodies on the center objective is a 6 point swing, right? So every turn becomes incredibly important to just hold that center, right?
Faith, out of curiosity, do you know which category Oath of Moment fits in?
Oath of Moment, yeah, so I actually do not know that, yeah. Because that could have been a good secondary to take this game too. That's what you're alluding at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm honestly, if you could take it instead of Why We Stand, I think that honestly would have been better. Because this game, I don't think he can play this game without losing at least 2 of his Why We Stand units. Because his Why We Stand units are the 3 Deathwatch units, the 3 big ones, the 2 Proteus squads, I think they are, right? And the Vanguard Veteran Squad. And those are his obsec models. They are the ones who have to hold the center. So they are going to be fighting throughout the entire game. Like, the Deathwatch has to move basically his entire army onto the center objective and just try to hold it. And doing that against an army that's as killy as this is almost always going to mean he loses 1 to maybe 2. Which is why it's a risky secondary. I mean, it's one of those things where if he wins really hard, but if he loses, if it starts to lose, he really, like, it can be all of a sudden he doesn't gain any points for that secondary if he just loses all 3, so very dangerous.
How do you folks feel so far about the deployment on this map? A map which, by my sights, has some incredible sightlines straight down the middle for a lot of heavy firepower, like, say, Tank Commander, Volkite Culverins. The only thing that is making this an interesting deployment is that the Necrons get to skitter 6 inches before the game begins, effectively being able to redeploy most of their whole army. How do you
Yeah.
how do you feel? Like so far, is this okay out of both players, or do you think that there have already been some questionable decisions?
I think they've made they made the right calls. It's like honestly, I don't think they have a choice. Like Ophidian destroyers don't have fly, right? I believe. Or do they?
No, but
No.
they are infantry.
They
And
oh
do
yeah,
move
they are
10
infantry.
inches.
True. Yeah, but I guess he just chose that he had to protect his destroyers more. Like, but otherwise, I don't know. I feel like the destroyers do have fly, right? So he could have put them on the second floor maybe, and then put the Ophidian destroyers behind this wall, and
Yeah,
not
they
had
don't
to
fit super
be
good, and with
dangerous.
the anti-clipping rule, it becomes a bit interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but he only needs to have like half the base, you know, like so he could. I don't know. I feel like he could have fit the 5 locust destroyers up there, and then the Ophidians. Yeah, maybe it could have been a bit tricky. You're right. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty good. The the struggle is he is going to get shot. Like, there's no way you avoid it. The tank commander is going to be shooting every turn. He's just hoping that he can, I don't know, take it out. I don't know how good his shooting is at taking out tank commanders. But if he doesn't, that tank commander is just gonna, kill a unit a turn, or maybe not a unit, but at least a few models, right? Which is gonna make it kind of tricky. But I don't know. Overall, not. I'm not feeling like a big deployment advantage on either side.
All right. So before I tell the players to roll off, guys, we've looked at the list, we've looked at the secondaries, we've looked at the mission. Who do you think is favored in this matchup?
That is a good question. I don't know. Like, I don't feel I don't know these armies well enough, but I think because of the while we stand we fight, and because of the nature of this map, I feel like if the Necron player was ever going to win this matchup, it would be on this map with that secondary, with his opponent taking that secondary. So honestly, like I'm gonna vote for what I believe is the underdog here and vote for the Necrons.
I've got.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go on. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that I really like the Necron list, but it does depend a lot on their movement. We'll have to see how this goes. I think that given correct usage of cover, -1 to wounds, all that stuff, the Necrons might be able to overwhelm and do enough damage to the front lines that the only thing left to the Imperial player here will be their ranged firepower. And that's not going to take the middle objective against an almost all melee angry army. At the same time, the Necrons are lacking some range support, so it really does depend on the play from the Imperial player, as far as I'm concerned. So we'll have to see. I would like Necrons to win, but I fear the firepowers of the firepower of the Deathwatch.
For sure. I'm gonna be slightly biased here. I'm gonna give it to my fellow UK player. I'm gonna give it to Alex with the Deathwatch today. Home turf represent and everything like that. And that is literally like my super good analysis of this map.
Solid analysis.
Yeah, I know, right?
UK players better. I mean, if it works, it works, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, hit us up in the chat. Let us know who you guys think is going to take this one.
We even have a poll.
And if you've got any questions throughout, feel free to ask them. We will do our best to answer as many as possible, as always, too.
And remember, if you see a poll or prediction pop up in the chat, you can go ahead and actually participate with that in whatever way you feel you want to. So that we can go ahead and talk about that over the course of our commentary. For those of you that are watching this as VOD, hey VOD friends, how's it going? And Vandria says that I think it's going to be based on how well the tank commander and supporting crew deals with the middle objective through fire support. And I would agree, especially with the sight lines on this map, which are just obscenely open down the middle. We'll have to see how it goes. Now remember, again, the Necrons do have that 6-inch pregame move for everybody, so they can potentially try to do a dodge roll at the beginning.
And I believe they just rolled for first turn, and the first turn went to the Necrons, right? I believe that's what
And
happened.
yeah,
They
that's
just
what it looks
quick
like.
start.
And if that's the case, this is going to be a very scary first turn.
Yeah, this could be really dangerous because this was the other reason why I kind of wanted to pick the Necrons. I think they can get a turn 1 charge on everything, like pretty much almost for sure because they move 6 inches before the game, right? With is it everything or just the Scorpic destroyers? I don't remember. Like what things can move?
So everything.
Everything.
Single model that has that dynastic trait can now move.
Yeah.
Up
I
to
mean,
a 6-inch normal move.
This could like he could kill two units in this first turn on a good like charge, you know, because he moves 10 inches. They're infantry, like you said. Like he's gonna, or 8 inches for the Scorpic destroyers, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's just gonna, again, like on a good charge roll, he'll get into everything here. Of course, storm shields. They are tanky units. They have transhuman and all that stuff. But I mean, he can kill a lot of models this turn. I think, to be honest.
It's worth mentioning that a lot of the AP on all this stuff is about that sweet spot to make non-storm shielded people like wither, and to make people with storm shields, it doesn't really waste much AP. So we're talking like AP -3 on pretty much everything, which is nasty as heck. In addition, because of the Rad Wreathed trait that they all have access to, if you're within an inch of any of them, suddenly your toughness is -1. And for Space Marines, being toughness 3 makes them like as squishy as a Sisters of Battle. It is not a good place to be for an army where your basic troop costs like 20 points.
Yeah, and like the guy in chat just pointed out, which is very important, these aren't Primaris, so they don't have transhuman. I was incorrect.
The majority,
with that.
yeah. The majority.
Yeah, the majority of them. Yeah, exactly. There's just one, just the one intercessor squad that's Primaris. Everything else is just normal veterans. So I mean, he could wipe out 1.5 squad here on if he gets into combat with 2 units of destroyers. It could be very dangerous.
It's worth mentioning as well that there's just enough OBSEC here on the Necron list that they have the Immortal squads to kind of zone out and hold some objectives while the Necron destroyers do the majority of the work. And there's enough shooting that they could actually do some serious threatening work to get some alpha strikes on units that need to go down. What I predict will happen, actually, this is an interesting topic, what you folks will think, but my prediction is that first turn, the Track Stalkers and the Destroyers are going to go as ham as possible on killing the Tank Commander and potentially the Manticore. And after that's been done, the Destroyers are going to try to charge through the wall on the south side, hold the objective on the north side, and prepare for a second turn with the Ophidians to really make them work. And if any characters poke their head out, even a little bit, the Death Marks are going to deep strike and remove them. In particular, the Librarian and the Apothecary look like pretty important targets to remove. Fire Spear 1 asks, why can the Destroyers move ahead on the first turn? This is because the Necrons are currently using a dynasty trait called Relentlessly Expansionist. This is one of their circumstances of awakening. This gives every unit with this trait that is not a dynastic agent or a Catan Shard the ability to move up to 6 inches at the beginning of the game. It is a really powerful circumstance of awakening, arguably the single most powerful one in the book. And it pairs really well with a variety of different of the different bonuses. In particular, in this case, though, because they've gone for Rad Wreathed, which is the second trait they have, this is working really well for a melee army, and this will allow them to move up the board extremely quickly. Yeah, and thank you, the Pants, by the way, for being our bot effectively and posting the lists.
Always here to help out, man. He's the great the great savior of the stream. The replacement of the bots, man.
Even Rallo's pitching in at this point. And by the way, the poll ended up with a 50-50 tie. People are torn on whether or not the Deathwatch or the Necrons are currently the favored matchup here. And I think that one big thing that decided this was whether or not the Necrons got the first turn. Yeah, that's going to make them not only be able to keep up in the game, but is going to force the Space Marine player here, Alex, to make some seriously tough decisions depending on how this turn goes.
Yeah, I think this is like, I feel really confident about my choice now with choosing Necrons, because turn 1 could be really nasty. I mean, there's also, it's worth pointing out that all it takes from the Deathwatch is one crazy shooting phase where the tank commander just wipes out a unit and a half on its own, and like the Manticore wipes out a unit, and all of a sudden, you know, like the game can turn really fast with this amount of shooting, especially the Contemptors, which are very volatile shooting in that they can either do almost nothing or kill a lot of stuff, which is one of the reasons they're so good for 150 points. Like they can just randomly roll a bunch of 6s and they do 8 mortal wounds for no reason and just kill whatever they shoot at, you know. So I mean, by no means does this mean the Necron has won. It just means I mean, the Deathwatch would have loved to go first. Essentially.
An important piece of information here, Deathwatch Tactics. They've decided that everybody in the Deathwatch side of things is going to have access to the ability to reroll ones to wound against, or ones to hit, I forget which, against elites. Either way, they get rerolls against elites.
Yeah.
For reference,
it's reroll ones to wound, yeah.
That is both squads of Scorpic Destroyers and the Triox Stalker and the Death Marks when they come in are all elites. Surprisingly, everything else is either fast attack or heavy support. So it's not everything in the army, but it is quite a lot of it. And do we know what tactical doctrine they have decided to put themselves in? Oh wait, they don't get it, because it's a soup.
I love the fact that he's communicated to the commentators and the audience what he's doing exactly in that awesome blue text over there on the side. That's great. Wish more people do that. That's awesome.
Team Alex here.
Yeah, so Necron's getting first turns like really big, because as you were saying, like the pre-game move means that he can go forward rather than like backward and use more LOS from like the devastating shooting phase that is going to come out of the Deathwatch. Yeah, for targets, yeah, you're probably quite right. He's looking for the tank commander. Pick that up. That's great. The contender is going to be like a little difficult this turn. He can probably get line of sight onto like one of them, but -1 to hit from the vent there, spewing forth all that smoke in front of it, and then the 5-up invul and the damage reduction 1. There's a reason why you take these. They hit like a truck, and they're actually really tanky in terms of the defensive stats, especially if you put them behind a little bit of dense terrain as well. It makes them really good for turn 1. So I was looking at the deployment, and it was like really good from like both players. Like Necrons obviously had a slight advantage with the pre-game move, but again from the Deathwatch, like defensive, very ready to leap onto that front objective using that central rune there. And we might see a turn 1 charge come out of the Deathwatch as well. I'm excited for that.
Out of the Deathwatch, it'll have to be, since they are going to need to counterpunch what the Necrons are going to try to do this turn. And with how quickly some of this stuff can move, it can matter a lot. Now, one thing that did happen is there was an expenditure of CP. That Ophidian squad that was on the table has suddenly vanished. This is because they can do the tunneling horrors stratagem, which allows them to vanish and then come back on a later turn. So effectively putting his Ophidians into Deep Strike on the cheap, without having to adhere to the whole less than half of your army and points thing. It's a tactic that would see a lot of use in a Novak list because of the +1 to charge, or Dynasty to decide to go for the Butcher's dynastic trait, but we'll have to see how this works out in the long run. They can be screened out against some lists, but against Space Marines it will be difficult to screen, so we'll have to see. The normal Locust Destroyers have moved into an interesting spot, though.
Yeah, is this his movement? Because if he moves over here, he can't see anything.
Correct.
Which is very strange. I wonder if he's misinterpreting like the type of terrain. Maybe he thinks that isn't obscuring, but it is. So, yeah, I mean, from there he can't shoot anything. So that would be a very strange place to go. I'm also surprised he chose to go into Deep Strike, because, I mean, those guys had a guaranteed turn 1 charge on anything he wanted. So, like, he essentially pulled half his firepower off the board for a later turn. Maybe not half, but, you know, a third. Which is very, like... I'm a big proponent of trying to make the best of the first couple of turns. I feel like in most 9th games, the game is decided in turn 1 through 3 if you are not playing Death Guard, or, well, Arwar will know this. But with armies that are really melee based and aren't 20 points for a essentially 80-point toughness unit, You know, like it's really hard to stay alive for long enough to score points in the later turns if you don't have a lot of, you know, shooting essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually prefer having more units on the table early and trying to do as much damage in a couple of first turns. I'm a very big like alpha to beta strike guy, especially beta strike. And I feel like he had a really big opportunity to take out a lot of units this turn, but he's instead chosen to play it more passively and wait for later turns, which isn't a bad call. It's just not necessarily what I would have done. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
I think he
Yeah.
saw the like turn one, as I just pointed out on stream. Maybe one of them was watching, but I think he saw the turn one potential charge onto the destroyers from that unit of Marines in that central ruin, and he was like, "Okay, I do get shots onto the tank commander, but if I don't kill it, then I literally get charged by these lightning claw wielding maniacs in this ruin." So maybe that's what he was his thought process. Maybe he hadn't spotted that when he did like the pre-game move. I think a couple of them can still hit the Manticore though, right? From that
Correct.
position.
Yeah, a couple, like one or two, three maybe. But the counter argument I'd make for that is why, if you like, you're not gonna be able to avoid the Deathwatch this game because it's gonna be a fight in the middle anyway. So why wouldn't you? Because that's a big melee unit, right? It's not a shooty unit. The Scorpic or the destroyers that were in the center, yeah. So why wouldn't they want to charge first? Like that way, you can guarantee they get the first charge and get to fight first, right?
Yeah.
Instead of now, you don't get to guarantee that because a 9-inch charge isn't very likely to work out.
Well,
So-
it's interesting because there is actually a little piece of tech here, and credit to Alex, this is a great piece of tech. They put the Judiciary right up against the wall. So if you want to charge these Vanguard veterans turn one, you'd have to fall into the whole, well, you get to fight last problem. And fighting last against a bunch of Thunderhammer, Storm Shield wielding Space Marines, not a great plan.
Yeah, that's terrifying. And the Judiciary has a Warlord trait, I think, which is the Black Templar one. I think he was the one who got that, which I don't remember quite what it does. It's he has the like, it's called like, hold on. He has the Oath Keeper stratagem. Is that the one that gives like a bigger aura? Because that would be kind of explain why he wouldn't. Because otherwise, 3-inch aura, like I feel like you can avoid that. You can tag the unit and not get they had enough movement to move like all the way over to this side and then just tag like the guy on the end, the Deathwatch veteran on the end, the one that isn't close enough to the Judiciary, not the one right next to him, but the bolter guy, which could have been really good. But I think
Judicar was in heroic intervention range, no matter like where he charged.
Okay, so he has a 6-inch heroic intervention, is what they're talking about, right? Okay, so that is why. That explains it.
Yeah, and that makes it actually really dangerous to charge at all. The Judiciary is no slouch in combat, let alone all these Vanguard vets. You couldn't just send one Scorpic unit into there or one other unit into there. What I think Natural Nuke is looking to do here, idea-wise, is to go for a beta strike and tempt out a couple of other things. However, his movement seems a bit suspect to me. We'll have to see how these destroyers do and what they're doing over here, because, I mean, now that they're out in the open and not really benefiting from cover, it's a very strange place to be. The Scorpic Lord is currently not benefiting from any sort of character protection at the moment, though I suspect there's some movement happening. Yep. There's the Veil of Darkness. Being popped right at the end of the movement phase to teleport over onto this vent here and to, support the Scorpic Destroyers, and he's brought a squad of Immortals with him to potentially do a little bit of shooting with those Reapers. Interesting play.
Yeah, more defensive approach. Oh, no, actually, there we go. He's moving now. Is he gonna go for? He's gonna charge for the Scorpic Lord, maybe. I don't know how good the 9-inch charge ability is of a Scorpic Lord.
It's sadly in this case it's a straight up 9-inch with a 1 CP to reroll. Mind you, the Necron list barely spent any CP at the beginning of the game, so starts with 12. And they're currently in the Protocol of the Seventh Storm as well, so everybody had +1 inches to movement was probably the idea here, why everybody moves so quickly.
Yep.
If the Scorpic Lord can get in there and tag a unit or two, he can actually do some damage. He'll probably die in return, but we'll see. It's an interesting idea. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. It's very aggressive. But this is definitely the core of the Deathwatch army, so we'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, if he wipes out a Vanguard veteran squad with the Scorpic Lord, that this is combat squad, I believe, right? Oh no, actually no, this isn't. This isn't the Vanguard veteran squad, is it? The Lightning Claw one.
Lightning Claw is Vanguard veterans, yeah.
Oh no, it is, yeah. So okay, so yeah, if he wipes out, is it only 5 guys? It was only.
It
5
should
guys?
be a full 10, but it's combat squadded, probably.
Yeah, okay, so it is. Okay, yeah, so they're over here. Okay, so then if he wipes out the 5 of them, that's a lot of firepower gone, but it's not. He wouldn't have denied the while we stand because of the combat squad. But I don't know. I feel like it's strange because he's being aggressive with like half his army and not the other half, which makes it kind of strange. But like if he kills enough this turn, like if he kills the Manticore and all these Vanguard veterans, then he's still in a really good spot. Because he's denied a lot of firepower of the Deathwatch, right?
Chat's going on about the lack of like decent Necron war traits and relics right now, like to spend like additional CP. I'll say this, chat, it could be worse. It could be Eldar, and I'm just gonna leave that one there.
1 CP on techno-ocular targeting.
All right,
Sure,
ocular targeting.
Auto wound.
Do you not do that after you roll the hit? Just because if you miss, you don't get it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's cool.
so
That's
the
it,
Locust
yeah, 'cause
Destroyers
you
are
might
currently
waste-
shooting.
You might have wasted the CP.
Heavy Destroyer
Nice,
hits.
it hits, cool.
So he spends the CP
So,
now
I assume
to
you're gonna make
auto
an
wound, and it will go through because
I
it's
don't
AP
get saved, it's
-4.
-4, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Let's see what the damage is.
So this is 383 damage, right?
Mm-hmm. Flat, which is really nice.
Yeah. This is terrifying. This could almost, this will almost kill it
So
on
that's
its own.
1, 2, 3. So that's 6. Cool. It goes down to 5 wounds.
With the like the other 2 destroyers they're gonna shoot now. I think it's 2 more, right? I can see them.
Arrow into the Manticore.
Yeah, makes sense.
120 inch range.
Who decided
Yeah, sure,
that
same as me,
3d3 damage was like something that should ever be considered in 40k? Like,
Well, and then why didn't you put it on the Doomsday arc?
Winning
It still
on
is
threes.
D6 shots at D6 damage. It's dumb. It's dumb. Like you have
Sure.
Dark Lances
tell
at 3
people
plus
you get
D3
3d3
now?
damage on a unit. Like, so good.
Catan breaking
Yeah, I'm not
guns.
getting a save. Let's see what the damage is.
D6 damage.
2.
He's,
Goes down
yes,
to 3.
chat.
That's a
Raise
spot
is
bracket.
correct. He spent a CP
it's
to do
hitting
the auto
all
wound. The
sixes.
Manticore has not become useless, but it has now started to hit on 5s, which is a bit of a rough time. Although I think at 3, has it actually bracketed again to hit on 6?
I was gonna say, isn't it 6s on 3 or is it 2?
I'm not sure, actually. Usually it's at the last quarter, and at 11 wounds, I think that means the 2 is necessary here.
Yeah, might be 2.
Yeah, that's just fine. So the Vanguard vets are jump packs to their own squad. The 5-man is their own squad as well.
So did he shoot the 2 Locust Destroyers or were they not in range? What's the range of
The Locust Destroyer is only, I think it's 24 inches.
If it's
for
24,
the-
I don't think he's in range. If it's 36, he might be. Yeah, it is
Sure,
24.
go for
Yeah,
it.
so that explains it. He could only shoot the Heavy Destroyer. Yeah, okay.
No,
So
they're
that
separate
means
squads.
the Manticore is probably gonna live then.
So their combat.
That's
squads-
unfortunate.
I can't make
the
them like
Manticore
them
is on its
because their
second
combat
bracket,
squad
not its
just won't
final,
work.
which means it'll be hitting on
But
5s. It's
half
still
the
not
squad
great.
is the ones there. The
Hitting on
Vanguard
5s
bases
is
are
brutal,
running
even with
through
2d6
there, there's
shots.
5 Vanguard on the other side of the map.
5 shot. Third.
The Kingdom, the command for lists is asking for the list, and we post them. Here you go.
Hitting on Bruce. Wounding on Bruce. AP minus 2.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
none of them
yeah.
can cover,
Slow
so
Wolf's
just
faster than me.
4-ups.
He's also smart enough to
Both,
put them in the same
and then 6
message
ups
instead of
from
1
the
by 1 like I
infantry.
do.
I take 1 wound and I'll allocate it to that guy right there. So he's down to 1.
So he's shooting at the Vanguard veterans. He did 1 wound. I guess that's with the
Same.
Immortals, probably.
Sure. Yeah, of course. and 4-ups again. Fail 1.
Ray's saying he's betting on Necrons because they're exceptionally
Oh,
good
so that one
at
got- that
beating Xenos filth, such as Necrons. What
Storm
they're
Shields.
designed to do, stealing their technology and using it against
there a
them.
bug?
I completely agree. Yeah. So shooting phase coming out. We're looking at the mana core getting severely battered. They're not quite killing it and picking it up, so at least it is still able to fire, which could be an issue. It just depends on how well Alex sort of like rolls and is press the Emperor for the dice rolls there on that one. And we're just looking at a little bit more shooting going in here.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting setup for the Necrons. They've got the board control, right? That's pretty big. Like if you look at 3/4 of the board right now, and it is just Necrons everywhere. So that's he's probably feeling confident about that. I do agree there was some like interesting like movement
Should
going on,
Overall first.
but he did get some good sort of like ball control out of it.
Into the
Literally
Judicar
putting the
alone.
Deathwatch into a corner, it's going to be
Remember, I can
interesting to see what they
heroically
can do to sort of
I can
fight back
heroically
out
intervene with the
in
blue squad
turn
for
1
one
and turn
CP.
2. Just looking at a couple of charges here.
Sure,
Going
okay.
in, I think this might be an error because there was a lot of combat threat from this Deathwatch. Judicar, 6-inch range of heroic intervention, by the way, guys. So there's going to be a fight last if anything goes into that rune, potentially going off as well.
Yeah, I'm not in the whole rune.
Yep,
There's
there's
some
probably
guys
not going to be
holding
any
back.
charges from the Deathwatch here, or from the Necrons here, except maybe the Scorpic Lord could go in, but that would be like a suicide charge,
You
which
need,
I mean,
yeah, you need 8 to get to the Judicar.
I don't know how important the Scorpic Lord is, but
Sure.
he might not even kill the Vanguard veterans,
There you
right?
go.
And then it's really bad.
Am I reading this? This thing has 12 attacks in melee.
12? Who? The Scorpic Lord?
Stalker. The Stalker that just made the charge.
Oh, the
You
Stalker.
have to go slightly
Okay.
back because you're clipping through
Oh,
the
wow.
walls of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're
Uh,
within 1. That's cool.
Yeah, it does. No, it's 12 wounds. It's
Okay, right. I was going to say
yeah,
the
it's 12 wounds, 3 attacks. It's just misplaced somehow. Yeah, so 3 attacks. So I guess he's just tagging these is the idea, but I mean, yeah, these guys only have chain swords, so they're not necessarily going to
That's
kill
the
it in
5
one
round
turn, but it
sponsors.
might.
4 Storm Shields and a Thunderhammer.
It does move block them. If it lives, it's pretty big, right? It
Yeah.
move block them
no,
onto
not
the
chainsaws.
middle objective.
He could do some fancy piling in though. Like if he piles in 3 inches, consolidates 3 inches,
Cool. Okay.
and then does that on
So
his turn, he
I
might
think you'll
actually
need
reach
to-
the
to
objective
make it
anyway.
work, I think you'll
And
need to have
then
to
it's
charge
really
the
bad.
Vanguard as well. Get
Because
within-
you know,
Oh, actually,
then you've just
yeah,
given a
it
free
might be
fight
very
phase to them
difficult to get within one of them
for no
I mean,
reason.
without charging
Good
the
news for
Vanguard as
Necrons
well.
right here is they are sitting pretty on 3 objectives, and it's not the central one either.
Yeah.
So unless Alex can get some like hot advance rolls, like off from that event onto that objective, we're looking at like a top scoring primary going into like Necron's turn 2 here, which is like a huge deal.
Yeah, he's pretty much guaranteed 15 points primary at this point. Because there's no way the destroyers over here, the freshers, are
All
gonna
3
die.
of them. Cool.
The ones in behind the building right there. And there's no way I don't think he's gonna kill
He's going
the
big.
Scorpic destroyers and the Immortals
Well, I can't do anything.
and
my army's
the
tanked,
other
so
squad of Immortals,
it's not the
which is
worst
what it
plan
would take
I've
to
seen.
take him off that objective. Which means he's gonna hold at least 3, which is half, which is 15 points,
There we
right?
go, in he comes. It's gonna take
Yeah,
that much
Razor's
Just
asking a good question. So in Alpha League, we have our maps designed that the floors, so the
your base in the
uppermost floor
chapel,
on the
yeah.
ruin is 5 inches high,
Cool.
and that means that the middle floor is 2.5 inches high. The reason for that is so that you can get vertical engagement
Cool. Any other charges?
to anything in the ruin, so you can't have any like special snowflakes models that can't be like hit.
Can't be charged, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very good rule. Very annoying thing when
Okay,
someone
so
puts
I will make.
a fly unit up there and
so
he's like,
5 phase
okay, well, he can't be charged ever. It's like, okay.
I'll make the
for
Trark
the
Stalker
crates too.
fight at the
So you
end.
can't just
Yeah.
put people onto 2 crates and be like, haha, you can never charge me.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
you
the old
can
move
still
of putting a
score
Riptide on the crates and being like, yeah, this guy is effectively unchargeable. So,
By old movie, in Pixie, right?
yeah.
Your chaplain is.
We have to rip on Pixie. Like, I think we did that.
Okay,
Me and
so
Mouse
you
did
wouldn't
that
be able to, so-
back in like season 5 when we did a stream together on here.
I wish I could have.
Yeah.
Commentary as well, but what can you do?
The good old Pigsy days when he was destroying people with Tau. doing all this janky shit that Tao does.
I'm making maps with no cover on them as well.
Yeah.
Every model except the sergeant has one. Says 3 storm shields.
Yeah,
on
not
2
expecting
Wind
like
Marines
anything
and
to
1
die in this
for
fight
a
phase.
1-up
Like
save
if
against
like if the script set Lord.
Oh,
Sorry,
the Scorpion
try-
Lord made it actually.
had-
What's this? Like this was a 9-inch charge. Wow.
Should fire that.
Pretty big. Okay.
Uh,
But he went into the. Why did he go into the judiciary range?
yeah.
That's. Oh no, wait, no, that's the heroic intervention range, not the. Okay, yeah, so he's fine. So I guess he's going after the chaplain. Is the idea? That's actually a pretty big move.
I'm having a really big graphical bug on TTS right now. A lot of models are despawning for me, so I'm gonna read
Oh, okay.
the game. Like,
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
think it's you
did
choose
they
to
just all die? Nope, they turn into little white pips. That is the difference.
Yeah. Well, basically, the Scorpic Lord charged into the Vanguard veterans and the chaplain and the watch, one of the Deathwatch units tagged it. So he's effectively tagged everything over here, and the Scorpic Lord is going to be able to fight into the chaplain, and he cannot be made fight last. So I don't know if the Scorpic Lord manages to kill the chaplain, that's 3 points for assassinate and a pretty big kill.
Yeah, like assassinate
Sure.
great
Okay,
because
so you've got
those,
12
even
swings
if
then.
you didn't like pick anything up turn 1,
Oh, no,
those
sorry, you've got-
Deathwatch
sorry,
characters
6,
have
yeah,
to
that's
go
the
forward
points
to
one
maintain
taken.
their bubbles,
The one
especially on
that
this
reached
map,
up.
right?
Lovely
So you
stuff.
are
Okay,
going to
cool. I've
eventually
got no
like
defensive
pick up
stratagems I can
1 or
use.
2 of them when like all their lookouts
So
are
free
units
then.
full.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not killing 3 characters this game, you're losing the game
Yep.
anyway. So you're gonna get at least 9 points that way, right?
Yikes.
Ooh,
Uh,
I believe that was the melee roll from the Scorpic Lord. He just whiffed everything.
6s from that. No.
Yeah, he rolled 1s into 1s. That's really rough. He got two misses. Actually, no, these are 2 wound.
They are Storm Shield and Lightning Claw vets race.
Cool. 2
Funhammers are
He-
interesting,
it's
but I
damage
think they're
free,
only
isn't it?
like super interesting in like Blood Angels.
Have you got any more damage to
Because
come from
you're
the
wounding like
Lord? Or is that
pretty
it?
much anything in the game on 2s
Not
with
unless
Blood
I spend a
Angels
CP
with a
roll or
Funhammer.
2. No.
Cool.
Spaceballs 2 when it comes to think of
cool,
it because
just
of the
take them.
+1 to hit.
Well, you can't at this point anyway, but yeah, just 3 6-ups then. He takes 2 wounds, he goes down to 2 wounds.
Yeah, the Scorpic Lord only did 2 damage to the chaplain,
That's
and he has
unfortunate.
3 damage attacks. He rolled
Cool.
a
Alright,
bunch of
I'll
failed
go
wounds,
next
which was
with-
really
have you got any more
unfortunate.
attacks from him, or is that it?
That was just a really rough roll from the Scorpic Lord.
Cool.
I mean,
I'll
he's
go
winning
to
on
veterans,
2s,
so
and
over
he
here
rolled
they
like a
go.
bunch of 1s.
I think I'm happy fighting the Lord there, so
yeah.
let's pile them around. So
That's
you've
really
based-
unfortunate.
I'm assuming you've based.
Yeah, it's a question of
One
does
that's
this thing
closest to the
survive
spear,
because it
the-
is
the
just
legs,
going to
yeah, is that-
stand
was
there
that
as
your
a tar
intention?
pit right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, he's gonna tie everything up, right?
You're supposed to draw
If it
a straight
survives.
line between the 2 legs.
Is it
Uh,
like units
gotcha.
like I
Okay,
don't think
so
this is
basically
like
the
this
front
unit's
row
like
are
primary
based, the
function
ones that attach
like
to
at
the
all,
other
but
base.
it's great to
Cool,
see
so the
this
one
kind of
around
like
here
forward
will
thinking
go-
of I can
the
literally
ones on the
tag
second
like
floor will just
everything
go
in this
shuffle
run
slightly, 'cause
for a
it can
couple of
still be
turns,
range up
and
there.
there is like no way because the majority of your force is here, and you have to do some really awkward movements in the ruin floors. There's no way you're getting onto like that second
And he
objective
will just
unless you
shuffle
can
to
do
there.
some like super
He's
like
no,
clever
actually, wait,
fallback.
hang on,
So remember,
he's
you got to be
on
outside
this
of an
one, I
inch
think.
of it as well for the
Yeah, he's on the
fallback,
other
right?
squad, so he's not actually in
So
combat,
that
so
that could be like really
just this guy
finicky
piling around free
during
to
like
there.
Alex's like movement phase.
So you can be within range of that guy.
Yeah,
and then he
I feel
will
like he
just
could.
there.
I mean, he could pile in though, right? He
Goes
can,
there.
like, this is one of the
So
things. I
it will
wish I
go
could draw a bit, but on the so what does it become? It becomes the
So it is
the
1, 2,
right
3
side of the Triarch
guys
Stalker.
fighting with chainswords. And
Like he
check
could pile in a
guys on
like
the
a
top of the
circle
range
around
fight.
it with 3 inches
I
pile
think
in,
it's
3 inches
3 inches
consolidation.
vertically and 1 inch horizontally.
And then he could probably even get on the objective without falling back. Like he could 3-inch pile in, 3-inch consolidation again. So I think this is maybe he's not so used to
no,
the
so
fight
horizontally is
phase
nothing.
movement
So it's just the ones
because
on the ground floor. So none of the top
it can
floor
be
fighting
very
sets.
finicky to do things
4
like this. But you can
chainswords,
get
and
a
then
solid like
the ones behind, so it'll be
9,
the
10
sunset,
inches of
1, 2,
movement
3,
in
4.
or no
I can only read
yeah
you
9, 10 inches of movement in pile in,
falls
consolidate,
back,
and then pile in, consolidate again on your turn.
So I mean with your quantum.
To get on the
Okay, cool.
objective,
So the
right?
black shield we use is power fists.
Yeah, good point. I was meaning more the template of the model. So you're having to go like outside of an inch of that back leg. Your question about
Okay, cool.
drawing lines and stuff,
Remember,
we're going
I've
to
got
have
that
Trevi
one
on as a
sword
guest
that
for the
ignores inverse,
podcast,
but it's
and
not
one of my
any
questions I
attacks.
am going to ask him is how he does his
the black
telecaster
shield has
thing,
4
where the
base
players can't see the
charges.
lines.
And then he's got
On
Yeah,
with the lightning.
that would be
bolt.
super useful.
He hits on 2s normally, so 3's on the Blue ones, 2s on the red ones.
To like be
And
able
I'm
to draw
rerolling
the
ones 'cause
lines.
you're a nasty
Would be
space alien.
super nice. The Triarch Stalker is on the objective.
Two
He is
misses.
towing it, but
And then winning on.
you know, we expect the
fours with
Deathwatch to be able to get on it
fives
this
on
turn
the
anyway.
Reds, the red is rolling everything.
Yeah, we'll
the
have to
blues are
see.
rolling
We'll have to
ones.
see. I don't think there's any like
Right,
heroic
reroll this.
intervention strat for the
So
destroyers
that
back
is
there
two
as well. I
saves.
think
Oh, ignore that, that's
they're pretty
not
much sitting
nice.
ducks. Maybe he's
Two saves,
underestimated the
that
fact
one's
that
free.
these contemptors, that
Damage
tank
two.
commander, can just move and just lay shots into that unit like
Yeah.
next turn. So we'll have to
And
see
then
how
there is
the shooting
1, 2,
goes
3,
there.
3
But I
chains.
expect us, even through
So 12
reanimation
attacks.
protocols, expect. I think. Do you still have to use the stratagem for
Freeze
destroyers for
rolling.
reanimation? I can't
Freeze
quite
rolling
remember.
ones. So those are misses.
But I think even through reanimation
Cool.
protocols, he might
then
just
winning
pick
on
up that
fives,
unit
you're
with
rolling
a
ones
good
'cause you're
shooting
elites.
face.
Yeah, I mean, if they all die, right, then they don't
These
get
are
to roll
minus
it.
one,
So,
they're chainswords.
I mean, if
True.
he shoots the tank commander in, kills like 2 to 3, and then the contemptor just
one
wipes out
damage,
the unit,
and
then he
there
doesn't
is
get to
the
roll
sergeant
any on
who's
the
hitting
second line.
threes, rerolling ones, and then
So,
winning on fives, rerolling
I don't know.
ones.
I feel like
All hitting
they're
the
almost
sergeant.
definitely going to die next turn. But
so that's
at least that means, you know.
So that's 3 of them go through.
No,
and
I'm
that's the
trying to
sword
find
that
something
ignores
positive. There's
vulnerables.
nothing to say. Yeah, no, I don't think that's very good. He
Love
somewhat
it.
overextended with his Locust Destroyers, I feel.
Damage.
And then
In
it's,
in his
Tilly.
defense, he did feel kind of desperate to kill the Manticore, and that is fair. The Manticore is terrifying, so you know we can't blame him for that.
I believe there I have a stratagem to
Yeah,
auto achieve.
Manticores are
Yeah, you do.
terrifying,
But why
especially
is
with full payload.
Yeah.
You know? But at least he's only got. I guess he was like, you've only got one, so there's like not double Manticore with full payload. So if I pick that up, it is a big deal. You know. Maybe
What's his
I
explosion radius?
missed some of the damage roll, but maybe a reroll might have just plinked off like
Cool.
those
So
last
if
few
I
wounds
call out
there.
the units, do you just want
To
to
get
roll?
I think he actually. So the
what
problem
was
was the only shots
So
he
you'll
fired
get
was the heavy
the
destroyer
javelin, you won't get
and
apothecary, so you can
the
still kill the javelin.
tachyon arrow,
Cool.
which I don't
So
remember
start
who
with
had that. I
javelin.
think it was the Scorpic Lord, maybe.
Okay,
Maybe
so
not.
two
Someone
fire
else.
flaming
Someone
arrows.
had a
Second
tachyon
arrow
arrow.
is amazing as well. I love that thing. Like,
Okay.
He makes one, so he's
So
on one wound.
the 3d3 damage did like
the
you know
5-man squad of all the storm shields.
got it down to 4, and then the tachyon arrow did 1, I think, which was you know a bit unfortunate.
Takes 3, so 3 6-ups.
go, like a guy in the 41st millennium who carries an
failed,
arrow
so he's
around
one
that
normal wound and one more
you know
wound.
is right up there with the
And then do you want
silliness
to do
of
the cheetah card?
the general 40k universe that we all love.
Takes 2.
General.
Yeah, man. I mean, gotta
takes
throw
2,
that
so it's
arrow,
down to 3.
right? Is it at least like in a
then
crossbow
the
or
kill
something,
team
or
attack
like does he
man.
actually throw the arrow? Like, do you know how it
I have
looks?
no idea. Necron
Takes
lore
2.
is
Yeah, it's so
So
weird.
so little about. I just made this
Two
up with
more
Necrons. I just imagine this guy's just
take a
carrying an
wound
arrow.
on
That he
one
just
Yeah,
normal
in my
battle
bit, it's like a harpoon type thing. It's like
Right.
green, like all the other Necron things. It just fucking
It's a
froze it.
sliver of like star matter that gets launched out of their wrist
And
at
then if you
like
pull the
supersonic speeds, dude. It creates a
That's a
small
bit
nuclear
cooler than-
explosion.
They're gonna
I
go
Just
like
a
my
harpoon.
So I'll do well, the ones on the bottom.
Yeah.
Will be difficult. I can't move the judicar because.
Then again, we still have like for Eldar, we still have a Phoenix Lord that literally runs around.
Oh,
with a bow and
sorry.
arrows
Yeah,
right
of
now.
course.
So-
Yeah, cool. Okay, they'll just stay put then. I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
I'll
thing,
go
right?
next.
40k is
Hang on.
not always the most logical.
It's as illogical as illogical gets, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
really
gonna base
fun.
it, I'm
Though.
just
That's the point. That's real. Oh, the stalker actually died. Oh my god!
Of
Seriously?
course
Like,
it did.
no, but how? There's no thunder hammers here. There is
everyone
just
sets 4 guys into the launch.
chainswords.
4.
And you'd be surprised how effective that is when they're only wounding
2
on
attacks
5s
being charged and lightning
and
I
bolts.
just need
guess,
to do a
yeah.
little bit of damage. Like, they die
17
quickly.
attacks.
Alright.
Yeah, I mean, 12 wounds. I guess that wasn't enough. It just got one-shotted.
So I'm winning on 5 base. That goes to 6.
Yeah, T6, so it's being wounded on
So
5s,
3
but
rolling ones,
it still died.
and
That's
then
really
6s,
rough.
Re-rolling everything.
To me, that comes across as expected,
3 there.
but that might just be me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know how tanky the Triarch Stalker
Is that
is.
for the
but
attack or is that for
I feel like
everything?
it's a 3-up save, right? And 12 wounds. That's winning on
Ooh, nice.
5s.
Okay,
I don't
cool,
know.
so
I feel like
it's
that
5 saves on
should
it, so-
probably be able to survive.
The number of attacks, though, dude,
minus
especially because
2.
they're re-rolling ones to hit and re-rolling ones to wound. It's an elite and it's an
You know, I've got 4
alien.
gun bananas.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's true.
They were being hyper efficient. No captains needed.
Yeah, and there is the,
Thing
of
is,
course, the
inflation.
Executioner, like the Relic Blade from the Judiciary to
Yeah,
account
so
for
just
as
the
well.
one then.
which does help. And I
Understand.
just realized there is
that's
actually
them.
one
The
Thunderhammer.
chaplain will
This
go
is the
with
one squad that
3
has a
attacks
Deathwatch Terminator.
+1 for
Uh,
each charge, so he's hitting on
So
2,
that
rerolling
one
ones, 2
Terminator
remaining.
has a Thunderhammer, so he probably did some damage too.
And then wounding strength
So
6,
it becomes
so
a lot more
-1 to
plausible
wound,
when you
so he's winning on 5,
realize
rerolling nothing.
the full extent
2
of
saves
how
and
many
-1
things are
damage
over
to.
there.
Just 2 damage.
Alright, well, chat, I'm trying to get the pen tool that you have suggested.
You've still got to take a thunder
This
hammer,
will
which is
require
damage
some
3.
tinkering, because I have no idea how to make this
Probably
thing
2 sets of chainsaws.
work. But, as it
the
stands
magical
right
pen?
now, things are looking pretty good for the Deathwatch after that charge. Ray says that Necron vehicles are not being worth the points. I would horribly
Okay, so
disagree
just
with you
over
there, personally.
And
I
then these
do
guys will
think
pile round.
that Necron vehicles are actually
Actually, sorry, let's
quite
consolidate
good.
the Vanguard first. So he's gonna
But
shuffle
you
round.
can't expect to charge one Triox Stalker
He will
into a
shuffle
squad
round
of
that
Deathwatch
base.
veterans and a
And he's gonna
Judiciar
go to
and
the
expect
spot.
it to go well.
And
Spectacularly
then do the
bad
other guys, so
idea,
they're gonna go
I
to
would think.
there,
Just because the Judiciar also forces it to fight last.
to there, and he will go to there.
The
So
Triox Stalker is great for
we'll do the
firepower-based
Thunderhammer
lists, thanks to its reroll ones
3
to
attacks.
hit.
On 3s normally
that
goes
works.
to 4s, rerolling ones. Rerolling ones. That's a miss.
So yeah, what are we thinking at the end of
And then
that
wounding
like
on
Necrons run,
3s.
guys? He didn't really
1 in
kill
1.
anything, and he actually put himself as a deficit in terms of units, right?
Yeah, you wish
So,
to save that reroll. Sure.
bit of a mixed bag, I think. I mean, I think the one thing going for him is
That's
ball
so
control right now.
your dice.
Sitting pretty on 3 objectives
That's unfortunate.
is huge, like for his like turn 1 primary though. I think.
The pants. To be fair, with Alpha rules, fight last, and the Church means fight second. That's not how the Judiciary works. With the specific wording it has, they cannot be selected to fight until all other eligible units have been selected. There are still other eligible units within the Space Marine Army to be selected, so the Judiciary does force you to legitimately fight quite
that's
far
everything
from first. So at this point, we have a very interesting turn here for the Deathwatch. They have the opportunity to counterpunch extremely hard. And I believe that will be their main idea. If they can manage to get a charge off into the Locust Destroyers, cementing not only the center position, but also, removing that firepower, the Necrons will be in a very strong, in a very debilitated spot. It won't be the end of the world. There are two squads of Ophidians left that can absolutely still rip and tear. And there is a squad of Deathmarks that will shoot and kill almost any Space Marine character without protection, as long as they're out in the open. It's a sticky spot to be in right now, since the Triox Stalker charge failed. It was a very risky idea, and I'm not sure how that was meant to work out personally.
Yeah. Maybe he's been watching too many Deathcore games where people top it with like playbook scrollers, but yeah, I agree. Like, not quite as that level of tankiness to be able to just go, "You're not killing me," you know. But like I said, I think the like primary's looking in a sweet spot for Necron's turn 1. We will have to see what plays Alex does. I think he's looking for a long bomb charge onto this back objective with that squad there. Is he even going to go for the central objective, like right now? Like, is there any real sort of like reason for him to sort of like leave a unit out in the open? Is going to be the question, or does he just play it safe in case his shooting phase is a whiff, and some of those destroyers are still standing by the end of it?
I don't see exactly your logic there myself. Just because of the secondaries, because of the secondaries alone,
he's not getting like the.
He won't be getting direct assault. He won't be getting domination if he doesn't head out there. He kind of wants those 6 points pretty badly.
So he's not getting either, though, right? Because
The Necrons, absolutely not. No.
The Necrons is getting domination though, right? Because he has 3 points still.
Yes, that's true. But no direct assault.
Yeah, no direct assault, exactly, because the Triarch died, which is really painful. And I mean, yeah. That like, the more you look at it, charging that in probably wasn't the best idea. Like, you can see the plan behind it. Tie them up, they can't get in, can't take it from you with OBSEC. but you know, realistically, they should not be able. The Triarch Stalker should not be able to survive a Thunderhammer and a Executioner Great Blade, along with like what 20 chainsword attacks roughly. Which like it's too many attacks, right? And which I mean, yeah, that just he kind of just threw away his own Triarch Stalker and 3 points off primary or secondaries. Tough start for Necrons.
Now, there's no special rules for holding objectives in this one, as far as I remember, or are there?
No, I don't. I think it's just hold 2, hold 3. There's no like data, you know, like the data intercept one where you hold them forever.
I'm wondering if it is hold them forever, because the Necrons do have 2 of their banners up.
It is. You have objective cleared.
Okay.
So in this mission, if you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase, it remains under your control unless your opponent controls it in any subsequent phase.
Okay, so it is like the data intercept one. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which means that domination was in fact scored, as well as direct assault.
Oh, yeah, he gets
for
it
3
anyway.
points.
Okay, well that explains everything. Then it makes so much more sense. Right, of course. Yeah, that's really good. It's been such a long time since I played this mission. Because I had completely forgotten it had that as well. Cool. All right. So now the Deathwatch's turn. He's moving out. He got a lot of free movement off the pylons, right?
He got a little bit of
Which
free
is
movement
really
off
nice.
the consolidation on the right side there, yeah.
Yeah. And he's definitely gonna take the mid-center objective this turn. And he's gonna pay 1 CP for the Manticore to act a top bracket. He just said, which is really nice.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, you can just do that, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that shooting, like, completely ineffectual. So I would have definitely CP'd something there to make it, like, make sure it died.
Yeah. Or like move the destroyers closer, right? Like they're already exposed, so why not move them closer? Because he definitely had more movement. They essentially just scooched a few inches to the side. So I guess he
Right.
just overestimated how much damage they would do.
I could
Like
have like, probably got on top of that crate as well, I believe.
yeah. Because they do have fly.
I can understand the idea of keeping them behind the crate, though. Since they are infantry, they will benefit from the light cover that crate will be giving in the shooting, and that means a big deal when you're going up against the Manticore. The one downside to the Manticore is that it only has AP -2, and there's no real way to buff that for them. So even being in light cover suddenly makes that gun a lot less powerful than it would initially seem.
For sure, yeah. Because the Manticore is the biggest threat, right? The 3 damage really wrecks the Locust Destroyers because they don't have a field of pain or anything, right? So they just die. Every wound that goes through is a kill. So
Yeah.
he has to be very scared of that Manticore.
Agreed. Mind you, forcing it to have to spend a CP every turn to fire for the next 4 turns effectively is not awful. It does mean that the Deathwatch, who were at 5 CP at the start of their turn, are now down to 4 again already. It's not a lot of CP with which to work.
So Pants is asking how the Necrons scored direct assault. So this mission has I think it's called data intercept, the rule or something. It's something like
Objective
that.
cleared, yeah.
Objective cleared? Okay. So data intercept is the special mission, I think. Anyway. So basically, if you hold the objective at the end of your command phase, you hold it until it's taken from you. So he basically just held it, even though he has no units.
I think I know what he's getting at. Like, so he wouldn't be holding it at the end of his next command phase. So, because the Triarch Stalker died, like, when does the secondary score?
At the end of your turn.
At the end of your turn.
Hold it at the end of his turn, because he has to hold it until the end of his command phase.
End of his command phase, but he pre-game moved is the thing. So he moved onto it with the pre-game move, and then at the start of, and then the command phase happens after the pre-game move.
Yeah.
You see?
So at the start of the command phase, you then, if there are any objectives that you control, then you have either you've secured them. That's when you get objective cleared. And that's why there's those tokens now on the Necron, on those 2 objectives. Now, mind you, that middle one has just vanished, since by the end of the movement phase, the Judiciary will have held that. And as a result, will have torn down what it effectively amounts to a banner here. But yeah, no, it's because at the start of the command phase, the Necrons held the objective, they get to clear it. I actually use that trick a lot with Tau and stealth suits, since they can be deployed anywhere that's 12 inches away from enemy models and not in your opponent's deployment zone. They can be put in some really weird spots, which allows me to actually get a lot of objectives really early in the game for that reason. And the Necron pregame move definitely does that too.
It's a common move with the raiders too, like Cerberus raiders, the AdMech thing, that they can just casually move onto all objectives at the start of the game, and then if you have turn 1, you know, you just put a banner on every objective and you hold them if you are on that mission. I've had the displeasure of playing AdMech on the other map that has this rule way too many times. It has like 4 objectives in the middle, and they just basically they hold 5 objectives at the start of their turn, which is really sad. So yeah, it's a fairly abusable mechanic for people with either front deploy or you know, movement.
Yeah, I'm going to clear up the confusion here, just so that we're all sort of clear in the chat, like rules-wise and everything like that. So basically, the Necrons have a pre-game move, and the Trite Stalker moved onto the central objective, so that before he started like any phases, or even like maybe during his command phase, so he was able to hold that at the end of his turn 1 command phase, and then thus at the end of the turn, because even though he didn't have a unit on it, he was able to control that and score that secondary that he has.
So Panth just made a comment that I did not know this was the case. He's saying that if you charge and you get Judiciared, you just count as not having charged, so you still get to so he only gets to fight with 1 unit first instead of all of the units first, which is cool to know. I did not know that. Yeah. Yes, Lord Cypher. So I did say they planted banners. What I meant by that is they cleared the objective. I didn't mean they actually planted banners. It's just it's just what I call the taking the objective, essentially.
Yeah, if you guys are playing games, using the tokens is like a really good way for like sort of submissions, because there's no one that has 6 objectives that has pretty much the same rule, and it can get really confusing, like as to who's holding what. So yeah, kudos to the players for like using like markers to make sure everything's clear for each other and for us on the stream as well, for sure.
Even if he isn't correct, by the way, Lord Cypher, it is the ruling in Alpha. So Alpha League, it's one of those things, like the fight rules and the fight last and the fight first. It's one of the most convoluted rules things in the game. Like, some fight first are always, some fight first are only fight first if you are not fight last. Some only work when you charged, which means if you take away the charge, do you get the fight first? Some, like, it's really strange. So it's very much up to tournament organizer and judges to make a ruling on it. So
yeah,
generally speaking, just whatever they say is gospel.
So like all that kind of like nonsense, I wish they just bring it at this stage in like 9th edition. I wish they just bring it back initiative from like 7th edition.
Please do that and give Custodes like 7 initiative or something, because they deserve it.
But yeah, there's a lot of like fight first, fight last. My guy says you don't charge and everything else, and we have to look through, like as the judge team and as me as the TO, we have to look through a million instances and a million scenarios, and to the best of our ability, like rules is written, we have to make like calls on it in the FAQ and stuff.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they're all differently worded, so you can't just like, well, this one was ruled this way, so then all of them, it's just like every single one of them is ruled differently. Every single one of them works differently. Like, it's so frustrating.
Lovely stuff for psychic done.
Like the moment you walk into that quagmire, you'll realize what a slog it is. Like,
Reroll hits.
really frustrating.
We're seeing a powerful psychic phase coming out of Deathwatch right now as well, guys.
Just then,
So we
what
got -1 to hit, I believe,
I'll do
on
pop
the
smoke
big unit
and shields
destroyers,
with the tank
just in
commander.
case he doesn't hit them. And then we got some form of boss
So you
spell
can shoot
going onto this
whilst popping
big blob.
That's
of-
the five of Fielma Pain, I believe, right?
Oh,
cool.
yeah, completely. So really, really
Do
great
the
psychic phase coming
Dreadnought
out,
over here
all the
first.
defensive
He
buffs
can
coming
see-
out,
so he'll shoot the destroyers to
and
essentially
a debuff onto that big unit in case he doesn't like destroy the destroyers. Haha, you know. But we're
So
gonna have a
16
lot of
shots,
shooting going into
on
those.
Tuesday
Manticore, full
because of
bracket,
+1
tank
from
commander
shooting
with
something
reroll
with
ones to
flies.
hit, no doubt. And
Rerolling
then
ones because of your
2
Oracle thing.
contemptor dreadnoughts
And
as
then
well.
toughness
And here we
5 of
go,
them,
we're into
aren't
the
they?
shooting phase right now.
Yeah, and
free
it's
to
worth
win with
mentioning
no
this
rerolls.
Contemptor, I assume he
So
touched the
reroll
ruin,
ones.
right? So he can see through.
That's
So
everything
they
hit,
should all
win
be able
with
to shoot.
threes. Yikes. So that's 5 mortal wounds and
Ooh.
12 saves at no AP.
Big roll.
Oh, 5
Oh,
sixes
that's
on the
quite more
Contemptor.
wounds for that.
God, that's such a bullshit rule, man. I hate that
You do
unit.
get to reanimate against the mortal.
Like, hey, here's 5 mortal wounds and 12 saves.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's so terrifying to play against.
There are a couple of Forge World units that I have come to desperately hate because of how strong their rules are. But the Volkite Culverin Contemptor Dreads are definitely up there. They are super strong for their points. And yeah, they only have 9 wounds, but the amount of firepower they can do, plus the fact that their core,
So they're
makes
damage
them
to each. So
really
every
strong.
2 kills one of them. So it's just 2 more and 1 on a wound.
They're so good. Like, if you're like playing like Deathwatch, a Death Guard, consider this unit. There's so many good synergies for
6,
like
a lot
both
of
the armies
reanimation. So I'm going to spend a CP
that can be applied to
to
them,
reduce your
just to
reanimation roll.
annihilate pretty much like anything your opponent brings, short of I'd say like Mortarion or like a Castellan.
That's all
Yeah,
my
and
shots.
it is not even that. It's just they're just so efficient. They're 150 points and 1 CP if you're loyalist, 0 CP if you're Death Guard, right? I believe.
No, they
Okay,
cost
but
a
we'll
CP.
happen for that one.
Oh, you still have the relic rule now? Oh, you
Yeah.
do? Okay, they finally changed that. That's good. Yeah. So, but it is 1 CP, 150 points. That's absurdly cheap for something that can do 5 to, you know, like it can do like it does like a minimum
Yeah,
of
that was
3
worth
mortal
it.
wounds
I
a turn,
really didn't want you to
which
get
is
2,
already
but
really
you
good, and then it does
I'm
like
glad I
8
did,
half the
because
time.
that was a really good roll.
We're pretty hot
If-
there on the reanimation, getting a destroyer back as well.
He should be getting 2. There were enough 5s and 6s there to get 2 of them, unless if there was a forced
So the other
Deathwatch
Dreadnought
stratagem
will
to
shoot
reduce that
into
roll by 1, which exists.
Those immortals, actually, can you see them?
I forgot that that existed for a second there, so that's probably what they did.
Yeah, because he did spend a CP, so he probably spent it on that.
Scorpex.
Right?
So the other one was shooting to the Scorpex.
Alright.
Yeah, like pretty good. He's still got
So
like
16
another
shots.
Contemptor plus a tank commander plus a Manticore to go
So
into
they hit on
this
3 because they don't
exposed
have
unit
fly,
here.
rerolling 1s from the
He-
other.
with-
Biker
with
Bandito,
those-
the way that Alpha League has ruled it, and the way that it makes the most sense, actually, is because it's mortal
And then
wounds that were the
wounding on
result of an
toughness,
attack. Once the
5 on
attack has been
Scorpex.
fully resolved, then you do
So
reanimation.
3s, rerolling 1s
So
for
it's not the
hits.
mortal wounds that are the problem there, it's just that for psychic abilities, those are not
So 8
attacks.
saves and
And
1
that's why you don't
have to
reanimate
do the
from
mortal wound at
those.
the end,
You
so it's
would
actually
reanimate
almost
from the
pointless.
mortal
None of them
wounds
3
by
mortals.
sniper weapons and Volkite weapons, however, since
Yeah,
those
but
are
you
proper
can mortal
attacks,
wound at the end.
and once those mortal wounds are resolved, if you can reanimate, then you can go ahead and reanimate the models that were killed that way as well.
Yeah. So sorry, as I was saying, he's
Oh
look.
shit, do you mind if I
He's
just declare who I
his
bring back from the
order
dead
of
would be
priority
the
for
Vodka
shooting
and
is
the
a bit
Face,
strange
basically.
because I'd have
Pardon?
started out with the things that have the least amount of line of sight.
Seal in the chat up to 4.
Maybe he got excited wanted to shoot his Contemptor, but I would have started with the Manticore and then sort of like worked my way forwards onto
Yeah,
that
that's
unit.
done
I know the
me.
Manticore doesn't require line of sight.
Cool.
Maybe
That's
he
them
can
done, so
get
that-
more
yeah,
with
you
the
can
tank
reanimate.
commander. Or he's thinking of putting the tank commander into more sort of like shooting elsewhere on the board.
Cool.
Yeah, I think
okey-doke.
I think both Contemptors can see
So we need to
all
make
of the
all of that
destroyers from where they are, and the
Okay,
tank
so
commander
there,
can see
that's there.
either the destroyers or the immortals over
Tank
there.
commander hasn't
which
got
I think
a
he's
chance,
hoping to
he's
kill the
just
immortals,
drawn
maybe?
forward slightly.
Um,
We don't wanna
it looks like
shoot.
he's shooting the destroyers with them. So the
Manticore
Contemptors, I wonder
fire
what he
at
had. He shot
the
both Contemptors
Scorpex
already?
over
Like,
there.
Alright, do its steering.
did they really not do
One, maybe,
enough damage?
maybe we missed the first one.
Actually,
Maybe.
can I see?
Not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he whiffed.
I think I
It's
can
very
get
possible.
to that one without going through it.
This whole.
Oh, maybe no. He hasn't shot the Manticore yet.
Oh, is
He's
the
gonna shoot
room
the
obscuring?
Manticore into the destroyers,
Yes.
the Scorpack
No,
destroyers.
it's dense, which is the -1.
No, it's light cover defensible and obscuring.
Yeah, that's the one that means I can't target you unless you're 18 wounds or less.
Oh, right.
We'll see. We'll see.
obscuring dense?
So he's going to say
yeah,
the middle
craters,
objective
the little
off him.
vent things, they're the dense ones.
Oh.
These guys must have got a really
if
good
I was shooting,
advance up here on
if
this
I could only see this one,
northwest
I'm
objective.
going through the dense
to get
in
on it
this
as
one
well.
Because I can do.
Yeah, they were sitting roughly where that Contemptor
So it's
is right now,
2d6,
so I'd say
I can
that's
reroll
probably
one of
like a
those.
15-inch, 16-inch movement. So
Oh yeah,
I'll
of
keep
course.
the 9 shots.
So
Uh,
yeah, they're good. Like,
yeah, it's like a 4 or a 5 on the
Forced
charge,
to
right?
hit,
Or on
no
the advance to
rerolls,
reach there.
and 2s to wound.
I'd imagine.
Actually, sorry, did you want to do? Do you want
Yeah,
to do one?
and I mean, it's interesting that he has the chaplain like nowhere near the Contemptors. I figured he would use the chaplain to recitation of focus on the Contemptors and have them
AP -2.
hit on 2s, right?
-3.
That's usually what you do. But he's using that to
No, I don't.
buff his Vanguard veterans and his Deathwatch kill team squads instead. It looks like in case they get charged and stuff,
yeah, and we
which
got-
is also viable. It's just a different way to go about it.
You got to have your baby toe.
we got some
like,
bits
get
of
it on the
screen
model
coming
so
out
it's not
from
an obstacle.
the guys that weren't really doing a huge amount as well, which is fine. He knows that those death marks are going to come down next turn. Try to cause some problems, force him to screen those out for the first turn, which I think is fine, to be quite honest.
Yes.
Other than that, yeah, the very, very powerful
Cool.
movement
So
shooting
fours
coming out of
followed by
Deathwatch.
threes.
We're gonna see some great charges
Okay, so
coming in.
with,
Retake the board,
3
and I
hits,
think we're gonna see
winning
that back and
threes.
forth throughout the first couple of
yeah, that
turns
was
here.
worth it. 1 at
Board
-2,
control
lucky
is
you.
key in this mission. The deployment's great for it as well,
Wow,
having that
okay.
teleporter, that
Manticore
9-inch
does
zone
nothing, and I spent a CP
as
to
well.
make
It just
better
depends
this turn.
if the Necrons have enough
Alright then,
resources
so
to
he's
keep
not
on
gonna
going,
shoot
because
I
I
need him to.
do actually
Actually,
feel
can I get a heavy bolter onto
like
something?
the Deathwatch do actually fight
So the
a
heavy
lot
bolter
better
is
than
it's
them
plus
in
6
combat.
range because of the
Oh,
thing.
right.
But not the demolisher. That can't reach.
Yep.
So we'll just heavy bolter
probably.
those immortals down the back.
I mean, it depends. Like, I don't actually know how dangerous the destroyers, the Ophidian destroyers, and the
Wounding on
um,
fours. Two
Scorpic,
saves at
right?
-1
Yeah,
on
Scorpic
Correct.
destroyers are
Extremely dangerous.
extremely dangerous. Yeah. Well,
Especially against Vanguard vets, Scorpic destroyers are perfect. The main reason why is because even if the Vanguard vets charge them, the Scorpic destroyers can pop a 1 CP strat to suddenly
Alright then.
your Vanguard vets are wounding on 6s.
Yeah,
Even
we'll
if you're
do so.
re-rolling,
We've got the
that's
Vanguard
really
advanced
bad.
over here.
yeah.
So
And,
one
like,
is gonna fire
Then the
buckshot,
Scorpics
which
hit
is
back with
basically,
the full might of a Mac
a
truck,
D6
dumping you at
flames.
a, what,
And then the rest
150
are gonna
mile per
shoot
hour truck speed? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hitting
Maybe
on
4D
3s,
for
wounding
free
on
damage.
3s,
You're in cover with them, so they're gonna get a 2-up save.
ignoring almost all your armor, anything that gets through that Storm Shield kills
Sure,
one.
they'll fire
It's
strength
pretty
5
nasty.
force to wound. So it'll be 8 shots on force to
Yeah.
hit because they're
I mean,
bolts.
I think that's why he's shooting them, right? He's
Hits
trying to
on
shoot them off the
force,
objectives instead of having to fight them.
wounding on force
Mhm.
because
That's
they're
fair.
strength 5. Yikes. And their troops
I find the
are 2
Judiciary
saves to
positioning
us.
very ambitious, a bit interesting that he would put it there. I feel like it's. I mean, if he has any shooting, he'll shoot that off the board next
then
turn, and then
D6
he doesn't have to
flames is
bother.
26.
Doesn't have to deal with the fight last thing anymore, and he also gets 3 points for
Six
assassinate.
dice there,
So
winning on 5s and
you know
rerolls.
that feels like a bit cocky
at all,
maybe,
nothing
but
Okay,
there's also a
and
chance
then
that he
we'll go
tanks
for
everything and doesn't die, and then it's really
charges
good.
now. So we'll
What's
start with
what's
the
this shooter card doing? Like,
I don't know. Yeah,
Destroyers.
I'm confused. I'm trying to figure out.
We're looking
But
The idea is that the
Range
Vanguard vets are
charge,
going to charge
plus
the
2
Locust
for the
Destroyers,
something.
kill them, and
So
then
we're looking
consolidate
for
around the
6.
Judiciary to make sure that you can't be targeted by the Entropic Lance.
yeah, that's fair.
Downside,
That's a 5.
there are still death marks that could come onto the field
I'm
and
gonna
just
say
shoot
give
him
me
off
a
the
roll.
objective. And then
Yeah.
at that point, everything on there is going to be a lot more vulnerable to
That
Ophidian
is
Destroyers
not
popping.
good. I've left them alive.
Exactly, and also there's the
They're gonna
fact that
die
what
now.
if he
Cool.
fails to charge, then
Goodbye,
the discharge
Jigsaw.
is just out there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think he just
Vanguard-
did.
the
I think he just
Vanguard
failed
over
the charge.
advanced, so they're not going to charge.
Yeah. He just failed the
The
charge.
Vanguard over here.
So yeah, so the
will charge
Judiciary is
the
just
Immortals and
he's
not the
got
Distri-
his,
the kill team.
he's
there
just out there.
will
just
charge the
hanging
Immortals.
back.
Oh.
He has big balls right now.
Yeah, I mean
Putting
he's
everything at me.
and they're flapping in the wind, man. They're just like out
Yeah.
there.
Charming.
That's-
Well, the Scorpic Lord being destroyed over there is going to make
So
them a
you
little bit
know
less
what 5s you do
strong. Those Vanguard vets, again, are Lightning Claw Storm Shield vets. 3 Scorpic Destroyers will likely survive
Yeah,
that,
makes sense.
and should hit back with enough force that it'll matter.
Cool. So then they'll
However,
go in, so they're getting +2
this
for
will
the
be able to steal at least a couple of objectives back. The
Yeah,
Necrons
right.
currently control one objective,
So
which is only
they're going
5
10
points on the
inches.
primary. Space Marines are doing fine. Like, the Deathwatch soup is doing great for their first couple of turns. What they need to be careful about would be further attacks by natural nuke with Ophidians and seeing if they get some good charges and stuff.
And this guy will go
Both players just being really aggressive with their
ranges.
ideas right now,
Okay.
and we'll see how that works out.
So he'll go to get within range. Terminator will go for
It's also worth mentioning that currently, even if the Necrons do just shoot the Judiciary off, there is an entire squad of Deathwatch veterans who are currently still towed in on the objective. They do have OBSEC. You know, there's a lot going on here. Thunderhammers, Storm Shields, dual Lightning Claws, bunch of shotguns that can get the Flamer type shot in there. It's
just them
nasty.
as well.
Yeah, I think this is the shotgun squad, right? The one without a Terminator. And the Xeno Faceblade, which is dangerous. And it is very tanky with the Storm Shields. I feel like, yeah, I mean, next turn is going to be very important. If the Necron doesn't fight back, and like he has to kill this middle center squad, I feel like. Otherwise, it gets very difficult because he's not gonna score. He's gonna lose out on 6 points essentially for that because he's not gonna get domination or what's it called? Priority. You know, the mission objective. Direct assault. Yeah. So he essentially has to wipe out this Deathwatch veteran squad. And I mean, he still has the destroyers alive, so they can shoot, and he's gonna be able to bring in his big deep strike force next turn. So there's every opportunity for him to kill it. It's just, you know, if he doesn't, it gets very difficult.
I almost still think it's worth it though. Like, I see the appeal. It's obviously, you know, it's an easy way to get domination. It's an easy way to get direct assault. But you don't need the center to get a domination. And you don't actually need the center to get direct assault either. There is some screening going around, but with good Ophidian Destroyer charges, and some pylons consolidates, some killing, in the last couple of turns, there's definitely a really strong chance for natural nuke to come out on top of this with the Ophidians and the Death Marks. Wrapping around, taking the home objective of this Deathwatch soup, and really tagging any of the Imperial Guard shooting or even the Dreadnoughts suddenly ruins everything that Alex is going for. So there's definitely some ideas. There's some potential here for doing stuff, but we'll have to see.
That is 7 at -2.
So yeah, 7 at -2. There was no -1 CP strat. That does kill 1, 2, and a bit of Scorpex. So like most of the Scorpex are dead there, sadly. But
I think that's the Immortals actually. Yeah, I don't think he charged the Scorpex.
Yeah, no, never mind. The Immortals are toast 100%.
These guys will activate and they'll just go there.
Like the trick right now is that and I think that Natural Nuke has picked up on this, is that the center is lethal. Going anywhere near that is a tank commander, 2 Volkite Culverin toting Contemptor Dreadnoughts, and a Manticore to the face. Nothing in his army can survive that. So going for the flanks and trying to get domination that way and get direct assault later in the game once he's wiped out everything else for 5-10 points, it might be the right idea here. We'll have to see what he does on his turn 2, though. Like, this is still turn 1. And look how bloody this has been. Removal everywhere. We got Destroyers killed, Scorpion Lords destroyed, Triarch Stalkers gone, Immortals ripped apart.
Cool. Okay, that's pretty much me then.
We'll have to see how this
I
goes.
want to go back to the point where you mentioned shotguns. How is it that the Deathwatch in the first millennium decided that like a shotgun that we know in this day and age is the best weapons to carry?
You control.
Because
I just want us to kind of dwell on for a moment. Screw the game. Like, I just want us to have a moment and think, like, how the hell did they end up with just a shotgun?
It's a good shotgun. It shoots flamethrowers. It shoots like super strong shells. Like, and shotguns are actually legitimately strong in real life. Like,
it's a Deathwatch shotgun. Let's not forget. Yeah, sure. It's not just a shotgun. Just like their Deathwatch bolt guns, they're not the same as other.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Space Marine shotgun, so you can expect that like there's the shotgun equivalent of a bolter being shot out of that thing every single time. So.
Like in my mind, it's just shooting like 8 bolt shells, just flies out of there every time. I mean, that's basically how it works in game too, like with many shots at the bolter profile.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine like the Adeptus Mechanicum come to them with like this new, like rediscovered technology, and you just have a kill team there who are just polishing their shotguns and just shake their heads at him.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, here's this super advanced plasma gun. They're like, oh, okay, well, you know, we have this shotgun, we don't need it. I mean, it's such a like, I love that's the idea behind the bolt gun is such a cool lore statement where it's just like, it's so indicative of 40K that all they're using is just a normal gun that's been scaled up by like, you know, 100 or something. Like, it's just a normal, you know, bullet projectile weapon, but instead it shoots basically grenades that are the size of a human fist, you know. Or bigger than a fist.
Effectively,
you know,
a pop can with an explosive inside of it
yeah,
that penetrates and then explodes.
Exactly. That explodes. Yeah, that has penetrating power and then explodes inside. Mass reactive. It's instead of, you know, like fancy as laser weapons or something, it's just a really big gun with like a fucking grenade in it. I just love that lore statement. It's so cool.
Now,
definitely used a scoop on neutering like turn 1 primary though, by the way. Only picking up 5 points for Necrons.
For sure.
On the primary. Hit the key charge over here. Got the key advance roll in the northwest. So, yeah. Managed to completely neuter the primary completely. I think Natural Nuke may have underestimated the movement, perhaps. Some of these Deathwatch units, jump packs are great. You know, they just make it, going 12 inches plus on OBSEC units is like a big deal. At the end of the day, it turns out. Didn't manage to get the destroyer unit down. Still got 3 destroyers sat there quite happily in the middle. Judicar is probably going to die this turn. I'd say that's going to be like a big focus, like pick up kill. Only got 1 Deathwatch veteran towing in, so if he's able to remove the Judicar and have like just like a couple of OBSEC units or 1 OBSEC plus 1 non-OBSEC model, get onto that objective, then he'll take that back off him. And then I think he's looking here in the northwest corner to remove this Vanguard vet here unit. He has to kind of focus, I think, on just trying to tie up that 5-point primary right now.
Yeah, and as Pant said in chat, he probably just assumed his units wouldn't die, and then he could, you know, hold them back, right, with the like the turn 1 charges, the Triarch and the Scorpec Lord, I believe it was. Yeah, if those survived, then none of this movement would have been possible for the Deathwatch, right? They're stuck in their own place, and he's gonna get at least 10 points, but probably 15 on primary turn 1.
I'm not so sure.
I mean, that's what he was hoping for. I'm not
out.
saying it's likely.
It is definitely something that the Deathwatch could do, is get, you know, 10 points, I expect. But there will definitely be some work put in here to make sure that, oh my gosh, these destroyer models are awful. Like these ones in particular, he needs to find a different file. Anyway, if he takes the time to kill off the northwest and southeast objectives, which won't be hard, he can turn things around a little bit. In terms of who's holding however many objectives. As we said before, the Judiciar is toast. I expect that there will be a very quick entropic lance shooting phase in which it auto wounds and just murders him. I really think that the big problem turn 1 for Natural Nuke was that he expected his Triarch Stalker to live. Yeah. Now that that hasn't happened, you know, he's in a position where he kind of has to claw back certain objectives that he thought he wouldn't have to claw back quite yet. And it seems like the idea here is to go after the center, as you mentioned earlier, Faith. He's going to. It seems like Natural Nuke's going to be counting on the Scorpec destroyers on either side, plus some shooting from the Goss from the Goss Immortals, to do some of the work on the southeast side to try to claw these objectives back. And once those Vanguard vets are gone, there's actually a very small number of melee units left in the Deathwatch army to really take those places back.
Yeah, so this could be a very, very big turn for Necrons. If I was looking at this as Necrons right now, like on my side, I don't play Necrons, but I played against them quite a bit. Like I would definitely assume these Scorpec destroyers to be able to kill the Vanguard vets, at least most of them, and force them to fall back, right?
Yep.
So essentially, The Vanguard veterans over here are toast. That means there's no models over here to keep the objective, so you get that objective back. Then you shoot, like I would shoot all of the Locust destroyers honestly into. I mean, I would probably shoot them into the Deathwatch veterans right in front of them, right? And then you bring down your deep strikers over here, and you hope for the 9-inch charge. And if you make the 9-inch charge, you kill this squad of Deathwatch. Like if you manage to kill the center squad of Deathwatch, the side squads of Vanguard veterans, both of them, that's already 10 points that he loses on while we stand, because both of those units are then while we stand, we fight. And also you then control both sides and the center again. So like Creeper is saying in chat here, I think Deathwatch is spread very thin right now. Like he's gonna be in some trouble if the Necron starts making his charges here.
So I kind of agree with that. But you got to bear in mind, because he has to now like focus like firepower charges onto units that are on objectives. We're still gonna have 2 contenders, a tank commander, and a manticore that he can spend 1 CP to bring back up to full profile. And that's a lot of shooting. That can literally, like, if he has a good shooting phase, can literally remove like units from like 2 objectives at least.
Definitely, yeah. I still think it's the right call to go for the veterans, but obviously that's the thing, right? With this much shooting, you never know what's gonna happen. Like, all it takes is one phase of great rolling, and he kills 3 units of Necrons, and then the game is really hard all of a sudden.
As we saw on Saturday's game, guys, and if you missed that one, check out the VOD on our YouTube. If your opponent has no units to hold objectives, then you win the game. Like Creeper will attest to that one for sure.
Yeah, and he was playing one of those like super crazy shooty lists, right? Where all it takes is one good shooting phase, you wipe out 1.5 unit with just some cursory shooting. Like he killed a if I remember correctly, Creeper killed like squad of Deathwing Knights with just one of his lynxes, right? Like almost entirely. Like all you need is one of those breaks where you just roll really hot and he fails the saves and things just die. That is the power of the shooting list. That all you need is one good turn to just wipe something out.
Yeah, as Chad has rightfully pointed out, Judicar just got removed from play. No more fight and 6-inch heroic intervention, so no need to worry about that. Bit of a misplay on Alex's part there, I feel, like, because you're giving up points for assassinate, so obviously your opponent is going to go for that when they're taking that secondary. Relying on a 9-inch charge is always rough to get him back into like lookout so range, which is what he was looking for on turn 1. So yeah, bit of a misstep, I think. Judicar very powerful with the fight last plus 6-inch heroic intervention, and now he is no more. He is gone. So a bit of a sigh of relief, I think, for the Necron player, just to like not have to worry about those 2 mechanics for the rest of the game. But sometimes you got to hedge your bets, and if he had hit that 9-inch charge, he would have definitely maneuvered and consolidated back into heroic intervention. We see deep strikes going down as well. So we got the destroyers here to party, looking for a 9-inch charge onto something. We'll see what he goes for. Maybe the screening could have been a little bit better. Like hitting this backboard edge here with a deep strike is going to be huge. Gives them options, means that they're probably going to be like relatively safe as well. A couple of guys touching the vents there as well for -1 to hit, depending on how he pulls like casualties in case they don't make the charge. And we're going to have to see how the shooting phase goes. I think it could be like a really big one for the Necrons, like this turn. Get that board control back. Kind of lost it turn 1. I think there was a couple like maybe like missteps in him underestimating like the Deathwatch plus Imperial Guards, just their ability to re-get objectives with the amount of objective security he has in the list. Yeah, it's going to be great to see what he does this turn. Focusing on the big blob right now, mid-board, trying to get them down. Alex pulling casualties so that he is maintaining that one boy who's objectives secured and on the objectives. To my knowledge, slow of correct me if I'm wrong, destroyers in this type of dynasty are not objectives secured, right?
Correct.
Yes, they are not obsec. But what he's doing, he's whittling down that squad. He's doing kind of a mix of what I said and what Swole said, in that he's controlling the sides instead of the center. But he's also shooting the blob, so he's looking to control the center later instead of right now. I do hope you're wrong in saying that he's towing the industrial vent, because that would give him -2 to charge, which means this 9-inch charge would be very difficult.
-2 for that model.
For
to
that
be
model?
fair. The
Okay,
other models
so-
will be able to move without any issue.
Okay,
It would have a normal
so-
9-inch charge. With pylons and consolidates, they're probably still fine.
Okay, so it does work like that now. They changed it. Okay. 'Cause
No,
that's
I'm apparently
important.
wrong. Pants
Yeah, you're
disagree
wrong,
with me.
right? Okay. Because I don't think it works like that. I think this just turns into an 11-inch charge.
Correct.
So,
Which would leave them out in the open, stranded, and very dead. They are
Yeah.
only toughness 4 with a 4-up save, no invulns whatsoever. Their only defensive tact is that while in close combat, they are -1 to be hit.
yeah. And if these guys had make the charge, they can tie up the contemptor, and possibly they're gonna kill the intercessors 100%. By the way, if they get into combat,
Easy.
and then they'll tie up the contemptor. They could even surround him, and then the Deathwatch player is in a whole lot of trouble. So I think it's a massive
No,
mistake if he is touching the industrial vent.
I'm sure that wasn't the intent, but yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
how that works out.
Let me cut in there for one sec.
Okay.
Contemptor is a really bad idea because it still shoots you with 16 shots and mortal wounds.
Well, yeah.
So
perfect.
it's
Close.
generally like.
Yeah, but he's -1 to hit then, which is better
Fair
than
enough.
him shooting you without being -1 to hit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what's
fair
the-
enough, fair enough. I
Like,
well,
he's gonna shoot you anyway, but then it's slightly
that's
worse.
fair. I mean, I kind of have to. I go from Death Guard where it's like I give it +1 to hit and it's got an
Yeah,
optional
of course.
advance. So
Yeah, if
it
that's
still
the
hits
intention,
you.
that's fine.
I
Yeah,
got a new 9th
yeah,
Ed
yeah.
Codex. I'm really, really
Yeah,
good
so
all of a
it's gonna
sudden. I
be-
don't suffer -1 stay in close combat with my heavy
Oh,
weapons.
No, I haven't got. I was about to say I've got the magic touch. I haven't.
Sorry, I'm a bit salty.
Yeah.
Just
Fantastic.
outpouring of salt of everyone else who doesn't have a new codex.
Nah, it's fine. Oh, I mean, I play Necrons and Space Marines too, although much less.
sure.
So, and Necrons didn't really have an 8th edition codex. They had a holdover book
Oh,
with
look,
art
they're
in
in.
it. That was nice.
What I think happened with Necrons, and I believe I commented on Saturday, since they captured Creed, and they let Creed out of the stasis chamber for an hour a day, he actually explained to them how the 41st millennium works, and that's why they got a good book in 9th.
Here's the big charge. Sorry to interrupt. This is a big charge. These Ophidians need to make it in. Both squads of Scorpex, unsurprisingly, they made it in. It's 5. It's not enough.
Sure.
Alright, CP reroll has to be.
Easy, yeah.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
It's only a
That's the
50-50
problem, right?
chance, really, even with the
But
reroll,
you
but
got a
ouch,
free
that hurts.
Judicar because I
it
can't
even
roll
less. It's like
6
43 or
twice.
something. I think. I think it's 43 or 47. I can't remember which one.
It balanced
Mm-hmm.
out.
I know from
you wanna
experience.
start?
I played like back when Custodes,
I've got no CP.
before we got all our cool stuff. We were doing a lot of a lot of this, like just praying for 9-inch charges.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean this is. I feel like this is what he had to do. I would have.
2 threshers.
I understand why he did this. Like,
Yep,
no
sure.
matter where he put these, he would have to make the charge, or they're just dead. So,
threshers
yeah,
are
I mean,
additional.
I've got my own theories as to what he could have done with the Ophidians to make it a bit easier. I actually am a fan of keeping them on the board for the most part, unless if you're
Yeah.
playing Novak, just because they
yeah,
move
we
10
should- I
inches.
don't know.
They're
I
super
don't know very
fast.
well.
Yeah,
1 additional attack.
but yeah,
So it's
that would
4
have made them
attacks,
very
which is
vulnerable to a lot of different shooting. It's not like they're guaranteed dead, because if they focus on the Ophidians, then there's still a squad of 4 Scorpex that's going to come in and rip and tear the next turn. So this is a bit of a threat overload situation right now. The Deathwatch soup is going to have to keep in mind what's going on with that, but that's for next turn. For
One
right
is
now,
one.
we've got some
One
attacks.
dies, and I shall take.
oh really?
Sounds cool.
How did that happen? How did they get to fight first?
Who?
Hold, so he just lost the Scorpic Destroyer, right?
Attacks.
To the Vanguard veterans, which means somehow the Vanguard veterans killed the Scorp. Like, how did they get to attack first?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because there's no other combat.
If chat knows.
Yeah.
Winning on 2s.
Oh
Please-
no, it's
please
not that
tell
he
me
lost
when
the Scorpic Destroyer. One died due to the Canoptic Plasma Sight.
What does that mean?
Okay, so this many forms.
What does that mean?
That's so bad. Okay,
Yep,
so
so
there's
just
a little
forward.
buddy here called the Canoptic Plasma Sight. It's friendly. Look at him. He's a tiny rat because apparently couldn't find the proper model for him. It's fine. It doesn't really matter.
that
The
guy?
important part here is that what that thing does is it allows all the Scorpics to gain +1 attack and +1 strength with all their attacks, making them
go
strength
on,
6
let's
against
see,
toughness
reroll
3 Space Marines. Pretty good.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
before that happens, you have to roll a dice, and on a 1, one of your Scorpics dies.
No, I don't. Okay, no, that's
Wah.
And he didn't CP reroll the one.
You can't.
You can't.
It's not
Oh,
one of the rolls
God.
you can CP reroll.
Oh no.
It's
Well,
a it's
that's
a
so
it's a
sad.
Canoptic Plasma Sight specific roll that is not on the command reroll stratagem. Is listed
Yeah,
as one of the things
yeah.
you can reroll. Why are the Marines
Yeah, you're right.
T3 pants? I'm glad you asked. Sorry to interrupt you, Faith. The reason why is because they have the Radwreath Dynasty trait, which gives everything
Yikes.
that's not a vehicle around them -1 toughness,
Oh
and
no.
it's great. I actually am a big fan of that
4 ups.
myself, especially with Ophidians, because now suddenly their strength 4 doesn't seem so weak anymore.
Blade attacks.
The Scorpic Destroyers failed miserably on the other side too. They rolled like 12 twos. Oh no, that was so
Yeah, I
sad.
saw that, and I was
And I
like,
lose 2.
you guys,
Yeah.
you guys were in flow, so I didn't want to comment. But yeah, like, yeah, just
There's
big
one
whiff
that's hurt, so
on
he
the
has to
combat on
die.
that objective.
he
And I
has
think
to
we
die.
got one boy left on the other objective as well. That's
Yeah.
third.
Mhm. He won't survive another combat though, so he'll have to fall back.
Cool. All right then.
Yeah, but he
is
can
that
fall
all the
back in.
charges
But that means he doesn't hold the objective, right? So
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
this
Did
is
you
really
want to
bad.
consolidate with either of the squads?
This turn needed to be big for the Necrons, and it looks like it was a big whiff, which is rough.
Okay. All right then. So I will fight with the squad down here first.
Yeah.
He
He's gonna fight
is
back now.
1 inch away, so he's going to go up to here to get to them and remain 1 inch away. 0.9, so he's got a little closer, and then he's just going to shuffle along and now base him. And he's going to go for inches, so I've now tagged you immortal, so they can fight me in a second.
Unless, of course, this
3 guys into the immortals, so it'll be 13
guy that's
attacks
left
per
here
side.
is an elite, as opposed to
3 rolling ones.
can't quite. I don't kind of know, like, if it's one of the troop.
Wounding
Oh, no, it's Vanguard
plus,
veteran, so it must be an elite. So he will hold this at least in the northwest.
Oh yeah, this doesn't have obsec, does it?
5 ups.
You're right. You're very right. Yeah, it's one of the Vanguard veterans, so it is an obsec. Okay, so that's good
That was a
at
really
least.
unfortunate whiff. Cool, you're gonna hit.
Just get
is that all the
removed from
combats? It's
play
just my one
right
guy
there.
up here to
Well,
do.
rolling pretty hot on that one.
He killed every single
4
immortal,
attacks.
which means there's no obsec on that objective
same
anymore,
roll pretty
meaning
much.
he's not gonna get that either.
2 misses.
Wow.
That's great, like targeting. Like I know,
Two
like
saves,
that's
minus
like fight what you can kill. So it's like I can remove these immortals more efficiently than I can remove your
Just
RB
1
unit.
damage.
So and I'm
Cool.
Yeah,
Right.
and since I have obsec, I need to remove your obsec unit, so I hold the objective, right?
Alright then.
Super
so
smart.
morale for me, I think. Is
well, not so much upset because again Vanguard vets. This is why it gets a
Okay,
bit
cool, so the
confusing.
Vanguard
No,
line-
no, but behind the wall, there's a
So
squad
Oh,
of
there's sneaky Deathwatch. I did not see those in my part.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
they can't fail and they can't fail. Cool. That's it, isn't it, for the round? You get
Black Dynamite throwing the exact comment that I was thinking in my head. That's it. That's it. He's like, that's it for the turn, isn't it?
I've still got
That's all you got. Like
Yeah. I don't think that's what he meant, but that's how it felt to me. Like it's like,
cool.
oh no,
Whenever you're ready to pop
oh,
out.
just a really rough turn for the Necrons.
yeah, he needed that to go better for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I think turn 1 he got a bit flustered. Like, you know, I think he was maybe setting up to go turn 2, and then he got turn 1, and he was a bit
so-
like, oh, I've got like a lot of damage output, but I don't want to expose it too much. I think you just got to roll with it. Like at that point, if you get turn 1 and just like use that to your advantage. A lot of people do not like going first in 9th edition now because they set up to go second. because that die roll is now just like you are going first. There's no determination on it. Everyone just sort of sets up to go second, right? But I think he just had to sort of roll with it, maybe get more of the destroyers in position to like just annihilate something. And then when Slow was like they're 3d3 damage, I was like, oh yeah, that will definitely kill a thing. Like, you know. So maybe like a bit of better positioning turn one to make sure the destroyers do kill something. I mean, I suppose the advantage he does have is they're sitting pretty mid-board, like right now. No upsec, obviously, so he will continue to hold this here for the Deathwatch with the upsec unit on the point. So we'll see how Deathwatch turn 2 goes, because that was a bit of a whiff from Necrons. I was expecting a bit more, to be honest. Like, out of this like shooting phase. Granted, he has this big powerhouse of unit over here in the battlefield, which I think the Deathwatch will have to dedicate some firepower. What are the defensive stats like of these guys, Slow? Of the destroyers in the battlefield.
The Ophidians or the Scorpion destroyers? Sorry.
The Ophidian? Am I saying that
the
right?
snaky, the wraithy looking guys. So they're T4, 4-up save, 3 wounds. Their only real defensive thing is that if they're in melee, they get a -1 to be hit. If a Contemptor wants to shoot and kill them, it will wipe out a half a squad easy by itself.
Yeah, their only saving grace is the 3 wounds, right? But I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter if your save is crap, which it is. 4-up save is not good enough.
If they were being used as a counterpunch unit, and if they were on the board from the start, they didn't like deep strike in, they would have been wrecking things right now. I think that might have been the biggest mistake he did with those Ophidians, was just being like, okay, I'll go ahead and deep strike them without any pluses to charge.
Yeah. I said that turn 1, right? It's like, imagine if he had put them. There's so many things he could have done, obviously. Like, it's very hindsight to do things like this, because we can see everything and we see how everything turned out, right? Like, what if you made that 9-inch charge and he ties up every Contemptor and kills the Intercessor squad, and you know, he's golden, right? He's the smartest guy ever. He made the tough decision to deep strike and hope for a 9-inch. But yeah, I mean, imagine if you put them behind this wall here, where the destroyer started turn 1, and then they wait there, and then on last turn they pop out and charge the Deathwatch squad and kill all of them. You know? Yeah. Like, imagine, because the Judiciary isn't there anymore, so there's no fight last, so they get to fight first, and they're very scary in melee, so they could kill probably that entire squad, and you know, then he holds the center objective. The game looks very different.
Now, it's not game over yet, and again, I have some thoughts as to what Natural Nuke might do. But right now, Alex E is looking at this situation, and I have to believe that he thinks that everything going on with that upper left corner, the northwest corner, is a problem. It has to be dealt with. So, the shooting will kill off the Scorpex and the Ophidians, and then that entire section will end up being Deathwatch owned. Mind you, the veteran that used to be on the objective is gone. He was controlling at the start of the command phase, but at the end of this phase, it'll become Necron again, so he won't be controlling the objective anymore. Anyway, whatever. The middle objective will be cleared. These veterans will kill off the Locust Destroyers, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. This southeast one, on the other hand, is a bit interesting. They're going to res another Vanguard vet, but they are really going to bounce off these Scorpex, so long as the -1 to wound is applied here. And at that point, the Manticore has a couple of different places where it can go. It can start poking at the backfield, getting rid of the Immortals there. It can try to remove some Scorpex if anybody falls back. Really, right now, it's about making sure to punish the failed charge and the whiffs that the Destroyer cults have allowed to effectively occur in this way. Which is a shame, really, because this is an exciting army list, and I'm sure that you know, it still has some teeth here. But this turn is a decisive one for sure, and it will force the Necron on their back feet if all goes according to plan. Which, knowing how effective these Space Marines are for killing Xenos, probably will do some work. Yeah, it's by no means game over, but this is definitely a decisive turn here from the Deathwatch mounting up.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is there's still way too many obstacle bodies left on the map. I think that the Necrons have literally 1 squad of Immortals left that are obsec, and the Deathwatch has both squads of Vanguard veterans live, both big squads. Still has the squad of Deathwatch veterans in the back here. He still has his intercessor squad
psychic
that's about to come over here.
So we'll do
It looks like
shooting.
it's not
Attack
going for the
on
objective, which is a bit
order himself
strange. I
and
thought it would
roll ones to hit.
move them towards the Scorpic destroyers.
And he will
But I guess he
shoot
wants
at
to have them
the-
to charge the Ophidians
Ophidians
in
in the
case he
corner.
doesn't kill them in shooting somehow.
Do you want to do any shot at all?
But yeah, still,
Nothing to use.
I don't know. I feel like
Oh, 2d6 shots.
having this much obsec at this point makes it very difficult for the
with 6, I
Deathwatch
get
or for the
-4, so
Necron player to
I'll
ever
roll
hold enough objectives to score his secondaries.
I get 8 shots.
You're right. Like, we're only at like
Hitting on
the bottom
freeze,
of like
rerolling
2 now.
ones.
If like the Deathwatch turn goes like as wrong as like the Necron turn did last time, guys, there was enough firepower there plus potential charges to
That is 6 saves.
neuter
twice
his
from the
position
squad
on a lot of
Ophidians.
objectives,
No save.
and dice
Yeah.
comes out
Oh,
at
they
the end
don't
of the
have
day.
a free up.
That always happens throughout
Oh,
a game of
four.
40k.
Okay, cool.
So we'll
So
see how this
each,
one
how many wins
see how
they
this one
each?
goes. I don't want us to
So
call
each
it
free up.
at all. Like for anyone,
So 1.
you know, we're in for an exciting
Two.
match, and the players are definitely providing it so far. Turn one was
one's
very
on
back and forth.
2 wounds.
We have seen.
That kills the one that's hurt.
Sorry, forgive me. Trying to load up,
Kills
get my
another one,
TTS
and the
going.
last
It's
one
been a real pain
is on
tonight.
1 wound.
So we did see Max Primary
Cool. And then I've got
come
the
out
smelly
of
bombs up for 3 shots.
Deathwatch turn 1. So playing at a 10 point to 5
2
point
hits, so
deficit on
And then
Necrons
winning on
this
freeze.
turn.
One
But
at
they can bring it back,
minus-
right? For sure. They've got fast moving units. We've got another unit in reserve right now for the Necrons. So it'd be interesting to see what they come down and do on turn 3. And we'll just have to see how the shooting phase goes. I think Necrons at this point, you're completely right. The OBSEC, they need to sort of like not focus this middle objective and look more towards
Ooh,
like the
nice.
flanks. And it'll be super interesting to see what he does with his other deep strike
Yeah.
unit in order to
Although,
sort of
to
like
be fair, though,
provide
when you get one of the
like,
big boys
a
back, it's always
situation
good, 'cause when I
where
played
okay,
Necrons,
you've
I
got this
did
big
already
offset
back
unit
with
on the middle
1
point.
wound on
That's
the
cool. I'm just
cool.
not even
So
gonna
it's
bother
take-
about it. I'm gonna get my domination like other ways by playing around the sides of the map
will
as
shoot
opposed to like
at
the center.
Scorpex on 6
Yep,
is to
that
hit.
is definitely a decent option here. Like,
Uh,
I don't know,
let's
that
see
squad
how
in the
many
middle
hits.
is still like it's
And
too
6 is
big
to
at the
hit with
moment for him to kill. I think reliably.
I'll take the 8.
So with what he has left, unless like
and I'm looking
again
for
he makes a
6s.
9-inch charge with the freshers, right? Then maybe. But
Perfect. Cool, completely
I
missed it.
mean, I don't know. Like, how is he gonna get at the side? So like
Okay.
everything is screened out now.
The
The only
Relic
places he can
Contemptor
deep
will
strike
shoot
are
at the Ophidians now.
like behind his wall, for example, where his
16
destroyers
shots.
are,
Again, he's hitting on freeze with no
Scorpic
critical
destroyers, and I don't know.
That's a lot of 2s.
He's very zoned out right now, which is gonna
That
become a
is,
problem,
2
even though he has a
mortal
bunch of
wounds
deep
and
strikers
7
left. Right?
saves on them.
Oh, for sure. It's
But
going
you
to
gotta
be
do the
difficult,
mortals
but if you
again
can
now,
find
so you
that
can
little
soak a
nook
save,
of granny,
basically.
like somewhere, get the unit in. And we are,
no
like
idea.
Slow pointed out, like 4-up armor, like even though you got -1 to hit on a like couple of them because of the vent, it's still
Yes.
like proving problematic for this unit.
Yeah.
A few of them are dropping like right now, which is unfortunate. I always see these guys in combat, like they
think I
look
rolled one
really
mortal
mean
wound.
with those 2
Yeah,
big
one
like
mortal wound.
face
So he's on
swords
2
that
wounds.
they're
Yeah.
with.
They look absolutely amazing, don't they? It just
Yeah.
why it's so frustrating. Like, come on, make the charge.
Yeah, reanimate
Why
them.
couldn't you make that charge?
So yeah, maybe a bit of a misstep, like putting them there. So he was taking a +2 inch to charge. I checked the model, no fly, like keyword, unfortunately. So yeah,
Yeah.
they were looking
hang
for an
on, run
11
away.
inch and didn't get it.
We'll do the intercessors into them.
really
It'll
rough.
be 10 shots. Hitting on freeze, wounding on 4s.
Yeah, the shooting this list brings with double contemptor, tank
3
commander, and
saves
manning
and
core
-1.
is like insane.
Damage 1.
Yeah. I mean, the contemptors are just like I'm thinking of souping my custodies list for next time. Kind of wish, not to jinx it or anything, but I think I'm going to playoffs. So I think, so I kind of wish I could change my list for playoffs because my list is made to beat.
Into the mortals.
It's very specific opponents I need to face, and apparently
1, 2, 3, 1,
not
2,
as many people as I
5
thought
guns.
brought that.
I will shoot
And
1
if I was
extra
changing my
AP
list,
and
I would
60
probably
frames,
bring
so
a
they rapid
Deathwatch.
fire.
Like I was thinking about a Deathwatch,
So their rapid fire range is 50 so it'll
like
be
patrol with double
1, 2,
contemptor
3,
was something I was
5, 10
considering
shots.
because it really is so much shooting for fairly like
hitting on
cheaply.
threes.
Like 300 points for 2 of these guys. It's not a lot.
Wounding on fives.
That's 1 Telemon, to give you guys an idea. Like 1 Telemon Dreadnought. It's the
3
same as
save
2
on fours.
Contemptors. I don't think that's fair, but you know, that's how it
Are you
goes.
you starting with the Custos salts early tonight?
Yeah, always,
I love it.
always selling those custodian salts. That's what it is.
You can buy those from Sweden, guys. We're going to have them up on the 40K TTS Discord server. Our web store will feature Custodes Golden Salt from Faith for you to buy.
Chaplain advance.
Specifically, my salty tears. That's what it is. Yeah. I got a big commission on.
There you go. Season 7 Alpha League winner will win a jar of this.
Win a jar of Faith's Custodian's tears. Yeah, and that's it.
And then wounding on, I think, fives.
But yeah, so yeah, that unit has
Fives
that
and
unit that
sixes,
he's
8
deep struck in has literally done nothing now because they've all done
just
the
damage
board, which is kind of sad to see.
There's what, like 250 points? How many points is that? Like, it's 30 points a model.
Yes.
There's 6 of them. It's actually, is it only 30 points a model? 35, I think someone said. That's 60, 90.
Ooh, nearly.
So it's like
Um,
150 points for that unit.
just one person
That did
can
absolutely
score.
nothing, which is really rough.
Oof, yeah, it's grim.
I kinda wanna shoot.
Okay, so
split my
they're
shots.
gone,
I gotta
unfortunately.
dodge jail.
Contemptor and like Soot's pointing out quite rightly in chat, absolutely kill the obsec, get it removed. You've got a lot of obsec compared to them. So if you delete those obsec units, you're moving on to points with your obsec. You're in a very like positive, strong point to go forward into like future turns of the game for sure. So yep, completely right.
No,
Shoot what you can
Contemptor
kill
is
and
just going
shoot
to pump
obsec
everything
models
into that
off the
one
board,
score pack
because then that
over
way
there. Actually, he'll
you
put
are
8 shots
sitting
into the
pretty
score pack,
with your obsec.
and the
Like
other
I
gun into the
don't know
immortals.
how this big brick of Marines in the center right now gets dealt with. In
So
future
we're
turns to
hitting the
come,
score
we'll
pack
have
with
to see
threes,
what the
wounding on
Necrons
threes,
can do
with
to
no
sort of
reroll
deal with
ones
that.
into
Or
score
like I
pack
was saying, they
because
play around the
he's-
flanks more. You know, we still got a unit of like death marks to come in on turn 3. Excited to see what they can do.
2, in fact, I
So
think.
one mortal
Still. Yeah,
and,
both of them are still in deep strike.
It's 5 saves on the score pack.
So they could come in, snipe 2 characters, you know, good rolls. Which could be very nice. He does have Assassinate, so that would give him a bunch of points. But yeah, I believe like you hit the nail on the head. Like the center objective, like dealing with this big blob of Deathwatch, even though there's only 2 storm shields left.
Oh,
I simply don't think he
Sure,
has enough firepower
and
to
then
kill
8
them.
shots
Like,
into the immortals.
you know, assuming
Will
these
those miss?
destroyers die,
And
which
then
they
threes
will.
with no rerolls.
There's pretty much no way getting
Two
around that.
immortals and 4 saves, that's a really spiky
He's
roll.
just really struggling to have enough that firepower to kill that. So
No AP.
yeah, I mean maybe his best option, like you said, is to avoid that center, go for the center for the edge objectives. Look for that 9-inch charge with the other squad of Ophidians, and just look to wipe out the sides of the
Oh, nice.
Deathwatch list.
We'll have to see what he does with those death marks, right? I think the destroyer's the toast because he's got like the easiest charge in the world.
Yeah,
Them.
it's an auto charge.
Done. Cool.
Interesting
Alright, and
combat
then
going
we'll
on
do
in the
charges.
southeast objective as well.
So,
We'll have to
I hope
see
they don't
how
mess it
how
up.
long
They've
the
got plus
Necron
2
units can
charge,
hold
they're just
out
gonna go
on their
straight
front.
into destroyers.
In regards to that, because I think that's pretty big. Like
Go
if
in
they
mates.
can hold out on their to his turn 3, that could be a big deal. We'll have to see if they
Go
can
for
manage it.
Yeah, there's no phone open.
Granted that this unit did just like wipe through on the Deathwatch side, did just wipe through a unit of Immortals as if they weren't even there last turn. So my hopes aren't pinned on that one. We will see.
Ouch.
We'll see.
That is what? That's not very friendly. Okay, cool. So
Yeah,
I think the hurt one is the normal one. So he's got to do a 6-up.
I don't know what he's
Yeah,
rolling right
toast.
now.
And then 2
It's
damage.
combats, so we're into Overwatch, I
Fail
think,
one, or
maybe.
is the
Oh,
damage
it's
one?
Overwatch. Yeah, that's what's happening. Okay, interesting.
1. So 1 goes down.
Picked up
Cool.
1 from
Alright then,
Overwatch,
and
I
then
think.
they're going to go 8
Yeah.
inches.
And he rolled an
He's gonna
8 on the
go
charge. I guess he's gonna try and get as much movement as possible.
This guy's going to go 8 to there.
He might as well, I guess. He can tag things. All he needs is 1 or 2 obsec models on it, because there's no... Again, the Immortal squad
So,
over there is the only obsec unit left.
To pick players up on this, just for like stream purposes, just to clarify for you guys as well. Bear in mind, when you're making a charge, your first model
Keep him there then.
has to end the move within an inch. Where this is just for fast play purposes on the stream. He's going, yeah, my first model can end the move there, but I'm going to move this guy
Yeah, he's dead.
like
Yeah,
further
he's dead.
further forward to that 8 inches. So
Yeah.
I know it's a slight change on the rules, but it is literally like for fast play purposes on stream
What did I
that
roll
he's
again?
doing that
I
right
rolled,
there.
10. Cool. So he's going to go.
Yeah, I
6
mean,
fives
both
there,
players do.
and a couple
He knows
of-
there's no way he can.
Let's
Like
go,
he
let me
he
go.
can obviously move the first model into 1 inch. That's the important part, right? And then
Cool.
as long as he has one
Chaplain
within,
can't charge.
the rest can move as they
The
wish.
squad round here
The
that's got
charge,
set
that's the
will
beauty
charge
of
until
it.
the score pack destroys.
You can do all kinds of stringing out and stuff as long as you stay in coherency. You don't have to move closer or in any way to the unit you
So they're
charged.
basically just gonna shuffle
with the
across
models.
there like that.
Just one has to end within 1 inch, which is really nice.
Prophet carry advance, so he won't be charging. No one else will be charging.
Yeah,
you've
just
got
if
one
anyone
CP
was
left.
like wondering about that one, I just because we did have a couple of comments and we are taking your feedback
Oh,
like
so
seriously
you've
because we
got
want this to
okay,
grow
cool,
and
so
get better.
nothing to
A
worry
couple of
about.
people like confused by the way
Right,
people
we'll
are
go
fast
with
playing
over
certain
here
things
first.
on stream, so I just
So
wanted
I've
to
got the
like
black shields, you've got
clarify
the
that one for everyone.
We'll do the sergeant first, who has 4 attacks, rerolling everything. On freeze, followed by.
And if I'm wrong,
5
I'm
on
sure the
lightning.
pants will correct me, and then
Freeze
we'll
followed by
clarify
fives,
the clarification,
rerolling
so to speak.
So rerolling
I mean, that was definitely the case in 8th. I assume it is now too.
He
So that,
always
yeah,
whiffs, and then winning on 5s.
everything's changed,
He
right?
does nothing. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 chainswords. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, so that's 16 attacks.
Oh, okay, I was wrong. So
I guess they did change that. Okay, good to know.
12,
Yeah, that's I mean, it doesn't really change anything.
16.
Still, you still have to have at least one
And then
model
these-
with an
oh, and I'm
engagement
going to do
range.
the power
yes,
fist.
so
It just
that-
you
Black shield.
doesn't
have
matter
to-
which one you move first,
but-
right?
yeah,
So
in case
16
anyone
attacks.
was getting like confused by that,
And the misses. Now
So-
I can actually wound.
as to how he sort of like maneuvered the charge. As long as you have like one model in
5
engagement
saves at
range, you
-1.
can just go wherever you want within that distance rolled on the charge number.
Yep. So I guess that was the attacks. So
Okey-doke.
one.
And then the fist will do 4 attacks base, charging, and the lightning claw.
Cool. Yeah. So he's doing
So
the,
he's in freeze.
I guess, power fist. He said
All
fist
hit.
because they have
And then
chainswords
wounding
otherwise.
On, toughness
Maybe
5,
when
so
fist is enough,
freeze,
got a
and
dude
then
that's just gonna
5s.
punch. Oh no, you can't just punch people anymore.
So that needs rerolling.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that
So
anymore,
3
right? If you have
saves
a
at
weapon.
-3 damage too.
Yeah, -3 damage too. So that's a power fist. Yeah. So I guess that's another 2. Yeah.
Alright then.
Okay. Cool.
And then I guess
Squad
they're
wiped.
going to part consolidate 6 inches because they're in the chaplain's aura.
Ooh, that's pretty big.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously,
Where's
Chronomancer
John?
can melee.
I forgot they can do that. Yeah. That's
Using
terrifying.
the easy chain effect to sort of like threaten that like home objective now as well,
can't
which
hear you if
is
you're talking.
worrying for the Necrons, considering they've just got like a 5-man of Immortals like hanging out by it.
Push
Yeah.
the,
Full of an Overlord
Sure.
and Chronomancer there
so
as
the
well.
Chronomancer's not very good,
And then we've got another fight. Did it happen
Chronomancer's
already?
for-
The one in the southeast objective, or
Yikes.
No,
Okay, cool.
'cause that
what
wasn't
we'll
a
do,
charge,
we'll
right?
just
So it
pile
wouldn't
in
have happened
and
yet.
tag just then.
so
So
we
it
got
should be
Line
next.
out of it. And we'll start with that. So you can hit me with the Immortals.
So Immortal,
he's
yeah,
based that guy,
the
that's-
Scorpic Destroyers will swing, right? First,
here we'll go
because
with
it's
these guys.
that's how it
So
works,
we'll
right?
do the Thunder
Should be
Hammer
the
first,
Necron
and
player
then we'll
swinging
do the other
first.
ones. So
Yeah,
3
exactly.
attacks from the
So
Thunder Hammer,
the
looking for
destroyers will
fours, and then
go
freeze.
in, try to punch. I don't
So
think they
it's one
punch too
miss,
hard.
And then freeze rerolling ones because you're elites.
So what is he attacking with
2
now?
and -2 on the Scorpex.
Okay, I guess he charged with something over here, maybe.
Oh, nice.
No, this is the destroyers. I think.
And then I've got 3 chainswords.
It's
so
into
that
the
grand
destroyers, yeah.
total Of,
But that's why I'm wondering why he's attacking first,
I
not
think
the Necron.
sergeant is
player.
based. Yeah, I pulled the sergeant.
Since
out.
it's
No, he's still
the,
there, so it's 13 attacks.
So it's the person whose turn it isn't that fights first
And we're looking for freeze to hit.
in
rerolling
non-chargers.
ones.
He picks the first non-charging unit, right?
Oh, delete those 2 ones.
So
shouldn't
I'm
delete.
just a bit surprised that he's fighting
And
first,
then
but
wounding
maybe
on
I'm
5
missing
rerolling
something.
ones. 4 saves. at
Slow wolf
-1.
AFK for a moment. Maybe he can sort of like.
No. You guys have just been doing a lot of talking, and I haven't needed to pipe up for anything. It's been really peaceful, honestly.
Perfect.
This
Cool,
fight phase
you
is
get
going
to
so
start
far.
Well, honestly, when it comes to them still being alive, it's nice, but largely expected. The Scorpic Destroyers should have survived the Vanguard Vets with the claws fairly easily. The big scary thing was the hammers, and saving against those helps. But now there's just an overwhelming number of Space Marines here. There's no Immortals to help keep this objective within,
Who are you going into,
you know, the Necron hands, and there's no Ophidians on the table to guarantee some sort of support this turn, which is really dire. I am not looking forward to seeing how this ends for the Necrons in the southeast corner. I do think just by sheer weight of dice, the Necrons are in a really bad spot there.
I'd agree. Like the fight phase has been like a huge determination. Alex played this really well on the mid board, doing the string out, charge, pile in, and consolidate. I believe he's tagged those Immortals over there now as well.
He has, yeah.
The Immortals
Which
could
means...
fight back, but the 2-up saves make it really rough.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to do anything, and then the problem is next turn they can't advance or move. To... Like, there's no way to get on the objective, even if they fall back, which... Like, I don't know, the Necron at this point is not going to get the center, which means no points for the direct assault, and he's very unlikely to get domination next turn either. He is, you know, he's closing in on scoring almost no points on his turn, which is really rough. He's going to score 5 for holding 1, I guess.
So guys,
excellent rolling on Alex.
At the end of this turn, I believe Solo has an announcement from Games Workshop that he's going to play for you all as well. So I'm super excited to see that.
That's 4 saves in total.
Yeah. Always love some Games Workshop content. Ooh, that was a bad roll. I think that was save rolls on the Scorpic Destroyers. He rolled like all 2s and 3s. Oof. Yeah.
I would like to, yes. Let's see if that actually happens.
That's the opposite of the last roll you had. Cool. That's all my fights.
Who are you calling a fool,
You
Pants?
should have gone with
What
the
is that?
Immortals first, but
Not very nice.
Wouldn't change anything down there. Do you want to go with them?
I don't know this April.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my birthday month. I love it. Got April Fools, and then that's my birthday on like the 13th of April.
Yeah, he was based.
So you're the joke then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, always the joke. Like,
yeah, hey, it's perfect.
So it's running Alpha League, you know.
Yeah.
So Immortal's just piling in. I don't think we'll see like much out of them, like combat wise. You know?
Probably won't do anything.
Might, if they're lucky, pick up 1. I mean, it's a pretty good hit roll.
Oh, nice, cool.
And 5 wounds through the strength 5.
Yeah.
Cool. 2
Good
ups
roll.
then. We've got 1. Yeah, 2 ups.
But I mean, 2 ups. Okay, takes
I'm
1.
going to CP reroll that 1.
Oh, did one of them have 1 wound? Yeah.
Because
And it's the guy in combat. That's actually...
Oh, that's actually big. Yeah.
Yeah, actually really big. That was the one guy who couldn't die. That's...
Sir, yeah. I've done it before.
My plan
with my
Okay.
models.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
I just gave you a free model.
I mean, if he rolls a good advance now, he gets on the objective with 4 or 5 models. He gets direct assault and domination.
Cool. That's all.
There's 4 models here. There's only... Oh, actually, there's 4 obsec models as well.
I can't fail morale on them.
Never mind. Yeah, so there's no way he takes the objective, but he can keep it from the Deathwatch, I guess. But yeah.
And yeah, the problem is like like I was saying, the back line like of the Sukin sensors, Tank Commander, and Manticore is just untouched.
Yeah, completely untouched.
Way for him to touch that. Going into turn 3, Slow Wolf, you ready to play our announcement for the stream?
You bet. Keep your pants buckled, folks. Here comes the announcement.
Always do.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there are those who stand against mankind's foes. Warriors forged by arcane technoscience and bred for war. Heroes whose names are upon the lips of grateful billions. And right there, next to them, he stands too. Primaris Lieutenant. The movie. Lieutenant? I think I got that right. Lieutenant? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's lieutenant. Where's the F? Lieutenant? I don't know. We'll get it in post.
This week's episode is sponsored by Easy Roll.
There you have it. There you have it. That was a good one.
Yeah,
so
man, I can't wait for that movie. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a top 10 movie for sure.
Amazing. Hopefully, we can go to movie theaters at that point, right? Like,
Yeah,
Wouldn't that
we
be
should be
nice?
fine, right? should be fine to go to movie theaters by then.
All right, just updating some scores here. Arrover and Faith, how did that turn go for our Space Marine friends?
I mean, pretty much as we expected. He tagged everything. He pretty much just holds objectives at this point, and it's looking dire. He cleared up this entire flank with the Scorpic destroyers and the Ophidian deep strikers that came in, and yeah, I mean, his entire backline is still untouched, so he's probably looking really happy right now. Probably really happy with the state of the game.
Yeah.
question.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's a great question, Vandrus. Question regarding objects cleared and objects secured there. If you have equal models on point with objects cleared, does it flip? I've never heard of... Oh, right, I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's the mission specific thing, and I think the answer is no. Like, you have to take it from him, and if neither of you hold it, then the one who held it last turn holds it. So that is a good point. Even if he moves all the immortals onto the objective over here, he will not steal the objective or he will not keep him from holding it because he has the objective cleared rule.
So Malice has just put up our latest Alpha podcast, guys. In case you missed that one, we had Brady from
Almost programming. Yeah.
Last Sunday. Great guest. Loved what his insight into the hobby as a
Great
whole.
guy.
That is up on our YouTube just now. So in case you missed it, go check that out. I'll post a link into the chat for you all.
Yep.
And this Sunday we're going to have Tactical Tortoise himself,
I can't do
Trevi,
anything about that.
joining
He's
us
not
for
Primaris.
some exciting topics to cover. We got a new book, Warzone Sheridan. We'll be taking a look at that. We'll be restarting our like tactical sort of stuff
Yikes.
as well that we do on
That's
podcasts, and we'll be looking
they
at
on Tuesday.
unbeatable secondaries and how to play against them.
Oh, sorry, of
Dark
course, yes.
Angels, like stubborn defiance, all that kind of thing. Tricks that you can try to
Yikes.
pull.
Okay.
That's 2 mortal
So yeah, it's
wounds
going to be great.
at 8
Looking forward to the
minus
next podcast here on Sunday as well.
3, and then
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to hear what Trevi has
Oh,
to
yeah,
say
of
when
course.
you
Okay.
confront him about all those rules changes or rules
Minus twos.
things he did for his tournament,
Fives.
right?
He
I
passes
think we'll just
one,
avoid that
so we'll
topic.
put them there for his bonus.
Really?
I'll put
Why?
2 there for the
Why would you
mortals,
avoid that topic?
And then 6 ups on these.
You think he has something? Do you think he
So he's
gets asked that a
taken,
lot, or?
So, yeah, this many. I've got to pass 3. I've got to roll 666.
If people ask questions in the chat, we can't ignore them, right? So that's bad. You know, like at that point.
I could have done that
Yeah,
better.
like
No.
so, like I explained, he has a different interpretation of rules than we have in Alpha League, and that's fine. Like rules FAQs for your tournament are there so that all players are on the same page and playing the same game. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if people interpret it differently. I know a few people were like, "Well, why does
Yeah,
Alpha
he
do
should
this?
be in
Why is
for
Trade
it,
Tournament
but
doing
it's my
that?"
intention
It's literally like his interpretation on certain things might be different to ours, but we make that like crystal clear in FAQs, in primers, so that everyone is on the same page and playing the same game at the end of the day. And listen, if you like in 8th edition went to like an ITC tournament and then went to a Games Workshop tournament, there would be subtle differences in the rules. And it's not that either of them are right, although GW might say that they're right
We like rolling one
as the
of these
official
today,
body, but it's just
right,
so that everyone
I
is on the
guess
same
we're
page
gonna go
playing
on
the
normal
tournament
Marines to
and
start with
understands the
5
same
ups.
interpretations of the rule set that the game we
Cool.
play
Lose all
provides.
guy, so it's going to be him, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the TO decides how to run his tournament. That's always been the case. It's always how it works. TO has final say on any rules judgments. That's just how it works. I mean, there's nothing else to say. We can't. you can make your argument, but then if he says no, then that's the case, right? That's just how it works.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Sorry,
and I
go
mean, I don't think he's made any like absurd rulings officially. But like you know, it's hard. Like there's so many rules in this game that it's not always gonna be. Everyone's not always gonna think the same way about them.
just as long as the TO comes up with rulings and ahead of time, no matter what they are, it allows you to at least ahead of time make some choices.
Yeah.
For instance, you know, one of the reasons I'm not playing Tau this season is because of the rulings in Elf League, and I'm going to abide by those, but that's going to change my choices for what I decide to play. And at least with TTS, that allows you a lot more flexibility than in real life, where your army is kind of constrained by your wallet and your hobby speed. On TTS, if you need to switch up armies, you can do so on the fly and practice something else. You know, new, responding to the TO and how a tournament does their stuff, and asking questions and getting answers is just a clear way to get communication. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing in this hobby when you're gaming, is the communication aspect. If that communication ain't there, it's going to cause some problems. Speaking of problems, I'm going to go ahead and hop on a soapbox for here for a second. The Necrons have made a couple of interesting plays. So Deathwatch, so the Ophidians are in, the Deathmarks are in, cool. The Deathmarks immediately snipe out the Apothecary, it's dead on the southeastern front. However, there's nothing else down there, so at the end of the day, that objective was within Space Marine hands. It will probably continue to stay within Space Marine hands. The Ophidians have gone down, but due to placement, they are actually still extremely vulnerable. And I don't want to call this ahead of time, but literally this is the last of the Necron army that's on the table right now. You can count the number of models on the table by using your eyeballs, and some very simple math. And those Ophidians need to make this charge to make their 215 points worth it, or 210 points worth it. If they do not make this charge, then that'll have been 420 points that will get blasted.
Yeesh. Well, at least look at the bright side. At least
Yeah. The way you phrased that made me think of someone sitting counting the amount of eyeballs they own. Like on their table, they're just counting jars with eyeballs.
That's something.
For some reason, I found that really funny. Yeah. I mean, pretty much, I feel like it's do or die for the Necron. He has to make this 9-inch charge, right?
Yeah.
If he fails this, he's gonna get shot by all the contemptors and he's gonna die.
Yeah, I really don't like this idea for the Ophidians. It's extremely aggressive, and maybe more so than it needs to be. Now, it's worth mentioning that those little
It's very risky, but I also feel like he has to be risky at this point. Sorry for interrupting you. It's just...
No, it's fine. And I would agree with you. That's a fine idea, and I would agree with you that when you're behind, when you're playing from behind, you definitely need to start working for those high variance plays, because if you do nothing, you're going to continue to lose. So you have to go for higher variance plays.
Yeah, of course.
However, there was a more secure play that he could have done with this, I think. But that's not the point here. The idea that he's going for, I find, is so risky that I'm not sure if it was worth the risk. We will find out shortly. You know, so long as this charge succeeds, his idea will succeed. He'll take back the middle, and that could start to stage something interesting. It'll buy him another turn.
Here it comes. That's the... No, wait, that's the Overlord. Okay.
Yep. Hyperphase Glaive will do some damage, hopefully. We'll see.
Makes sense.
Here it comes. I think this is the one. No, that's him. Okay.
Chronomancer made it in.
You're giving me a heart attack. Come on, dude. The Ophidians, that's the one that matters. Has he already done it and failed? That would be so sad.
Cool. Yeah, I can't interrupt or anything, so it's straight over to you then.
You did, yeah. You already failed.
Yep.
Oh no. Yeah, okay, they failed the charge. That's yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Did he CP reroll it too? Yeah,
No,
that's
I can't. That's what I'm saying. I've got no way to interrupt.
Yeah.
Must have been what he used it for. Yeah, this is rough. At least he gets to fight with everything first. The Overlord, the Chronomancer, they might do some damage, right? I think they have decent melee.
I'm actually more interested to see what the Canoptic tin murder buckets are going to do. Now that they have 6 attacks each and hitting on 3s, you know, with their ability to wound on 3s, like it could do something.
Canoptic tin? Who's that? The Crypto
So the murder
Thralls?
buckets, also known as the Crypto Thralls, they can do some stuff. Now, I don't think they're going to flip the entire objective.
Yeah,
I don't think it's possible.
Ouch.
But they can
So
certainly do
these
some
are
damage.
minus-
There's been a squad of 2 of those that has killed
Okay,
Typhus
I'll
in the
declare
past.
the storm shield for this.
Yeah.
Someone's already injured.
Oh, is there? Oh, cool. Okay, so it'll be 3 up, so that does kill him.
Yep.
So guys, if you're just coming in, we are currently at the
Yeah,
top of turn 3. Turn 3 going through now for the Necrons. Deathwatch plus Imperial Guard allies in a pretty
Does he not have
dominating
his
spot.
tendrils?
There's still a couple plays that Necrons can make right now to try and sort of like neuter the lead that they've got going on. We just have to see how it goes. Looking for plays around the flanks as opposed to the central objective, which the Deathwatch do have a lot of upset bodies on right now, plus a couple of characters and things. We'll just have to see how it goes. I want to see the Necrons have a big turn right here. How are you guys feeling about it?
Oh, great.
Yeah, I mean he has to, right? I mean the Necrons has to have a big turn. I think
Sure.
like otherwise this gets really. I mean he's gonna get out of hand, and like either way he has to almost kill this entire unit, or he's gonna be out at another 15 points next turn. Which I mean at that point the primary is gonna be 30 to 5, right?
Yeah.
Or 30 to 10. Which is a really bad place to be at turn 3. And he's also not going to be able to score domination
Nice.
or the direct assault.
Oh,
So-
dear.
Ooh,
Cool.
are those
1,
saves
4
for the
up.
Death Guard?
Which I fail? What's the damage?
Love how you're calling them Death Guard. That's awesome.
Oh, Death Watch. I mean, sorry.
That kills. There's no storm shields left in the squad.
Oh yeah, that was pretty rough. I think there was CP as well.
Maybe, yeah.
Sure.
I think he lost two more models there, yeah. So he's down to there's only 3 models left. I mean, you know.
Yeah, none of them with Storm Shield either.
Yeah, true.
It's 5.
Okay.
At AP minus 2. AP minus.
Oh,
5
minus
wounds,
one.
deep minus 2 from the
Okay,
crypto
we'll start
thralls, I
on
think.
the last normal guy for 2 at a time. And then we'll see where we're at after that. He's fine, and then he's going to take 2 more. He takes 1. Does he die? He doesn't die, so he's on 1 wound. I'm going to punch you.
You're defending.
Yeah, pretty
I'm
good
gonna punch
going.
you
I
back over here.
don't know if it's enough. We're going into the combat on the south.
That is a
East
very
objective right
unfortunate
now.
whiff of the Lord.
Having a look at what we can do here. I've got to admit, this
We've just been playing.
one
nonsense
destroyer has been like
for a
super
lot of
annoying,
our dice.
just kind of like
Um,
staying
12
alive.
shots,
Staying alive.
13 attacks,
I mean, Deathwatch have the
13
objective anyway because OBSEC, so you know it's kind of a moot point, but it will allow them
12 hits.
this unit to like move off and do something else.
Yeah, I rolled
Yeah,
13 dice.
this super annoying destroyer.
Yeah,
Will he
that's
hang on
cool.
again?
And then wounding on 5s you're rolling. That many onto him.
Doesn't look like it. I mean, that's a lot of saves. Yeah. That's too bad.
Really cool. And then they're going to consolidate their 3
Who
inches.
knew Marine saves were good? Like, yeah, they're great. Like,
Cool.
and that's
okey-doke.
just like chaos as well.
And then I'm
Like,
just going
chaos-
to punch.
Well, Death Guard anyway, at least. I can't speak
Who do I need to
of her.
punch? So he has to punch into the.
Dark
crystal
Legions right
ball, so
now,
he has to
unfortunately,
punch
you
the
know,
Lord.
we're still waiting for a book for
Probably
them.
critical
We'll see what they
balls.
get. I think it's going to be
Probably fail
pretty
morale,
good.
lose someone.
like
So
Jido
we'll
has
go-
done a great job with
Yeah, if we get
courtesy,
critical
supplements, etc. so far.
So we'll do.
So we'll just have to wait and see. I believe Admech is
Switching.
like one of the next to get done, right?
Um,
So
Codexes? Yeah, I think that's the next one.
how will I do it? The Watch Sergeant will hit
yeah.
the Lord.
I don't know if
Black
they've
Shield
announced
hit
like a
Crypto
date,
Force,
like
and the
a
Chainsaw Guard
approximate
will hit
date
the
yet, but I don't think so.
Alright.
Black-
What
That is what you were talking about, right? Sorry.
He's
Yeah,
got
it
his
was, yeah,
fist,
yeah,
so he's
yeah.
got 3.
just I want more chaos
So,
books and I want my other
Vortex
books.
base
We've got,
Dude,
we've got
like-
Jakari. We will
and the lightning.
try to do a stream, guys. For new
2's the
Jakari
lightning
plus
bolt, 3's
new
the fists.
Charadon
So
as
it's a
well
miss.
next week. I
Still
know we've been a
misses.
bit delayed on that, but
And
we'll
they're
try to
toughness
get
5, aren't they?
an exhibition game
So
going
freeze.
with those books
Are
at
they
some stage
elites?
next week for you
I
all.
know they're no force of charm.
Other than that, we will have a great game
So
on
we
Saturday.
have
We've
one.
got Death Guard Soup.
No.
So
Okay.
Death Guard
Free
plus
saves.
Emperor
Word
minus
bearers.
3 damage
Yeah.
too on the
Plot
Radiants.
versus Eldar. That's going to happen on Saturday. Really looking forward to that one. Other than that, like yeah, so Necron's looking in a little bit of a tight spot right
And then
now.
4 pokes of a chainsword into the Lord.
Deathwatch doing cleanup on a few
Freeze, reeling
objectives,
everything from
picking
champion.
up the
And he's toughness 5, isn't he?
southeast corner objective,
So
picking up
5's rolling
midboard
nothing. 2
as
saves,
well.
-1 on the Lord.
They're going to be able to move on with this contender, plus the Marines in the backfield, on sentinel objective. And bear in mind, guys, while we stand we fight, nothing has gone down for
the
that.
choppy sword on
Yeah,
the side
Yeah.
that ignores invites.
He still has everything alive for that, which is really
Miss.
rough.
And then, well, that's still a miss.
Yeah. And he
then
almost killed the
5's
Lord now. I think he
rerolling
did.
nothing.
Okay, he did 2
So
damage to
1
him.
at
He's swinging
-4,
more.
Ignoring invites, damage 2.
Yeah, Necron Warriors are great.
Couldn't get it.
James,
Okay.
yeah,
And then the black
whenever I
shield,
see
actually,
like
who
two
is he
20
closest to?
blocks
Let's have a
of like
check.
Necron Warriors, backed up with the,
1-1,
is it the
1-1,
Ghost Stock,
so
I
you're
think,
gonna
for
go.
like improved reanimation
He
as
will
well.
go to
I think,
the-
yeah, like
Correct.
any of them can take
and then
the
Necrons will wrap him up.
the. It's like just a war gear option. I think it's called like reanimation orb
They've
or
lost
something.
4 this turn, so they can fail.
That
So
gives the +1.
So intimidating. Just plunk
6,
those down,
because
and
they
then
go to the
your
champion.
opponent's like, I have to
Is
wipe
that
this
all the
unit,
fights?
otherwise you just get free movement. Like,
Yeah.
It's like running 60 Poxwalkers. I don't know.
Yeah,
who
cool.
did that.
Okay, let's see if there are 6.
Snigger.
Okay, he's gone.
We would do
And
that.
let's roll 2 1s.
Yeah. How you doing, by the way, in Alpha? You're 1-1, right? So
Marines
far?
don't
Yeah,
play.
I had a great game against Snapper. He was
all fine, but I
playing
lost 1-1.
Thousand Suns against me in
Alright.
that one.
Right.
I was like scared of that matchup because the Mortal Wound output is insane.
Yeah.
Any
Don't kind of like
other stuff?
do
No, that's
too
it.
well with, as Death Guard with like Mortal Wound spam.
Yeah, you don't have the field up in anymore, right?
Exactly. So it's like one of the things that we're super weak against. But when I saw that enemy had like 15 offset models and I had like 50, I kind of played around
well, I
that
think you're about to
and
take
outscored him
once I
like
lose
on
that
primary
squad in the middle,
to
I'm
like
kinda
secure the
fucked
win.
for board control because
Alright,
I've just got 5 guys with shotguns.
Yeah.
And like 4 Vanguard
Yeah, I'm really happy with how my
yeah,
alpha list
cool,
has
whenever
been
you wanna
performing
pass
so
over to
far
me,
too.
you did
I'm
get-
3-0.
you're on- How many characters have you killed?
I'm just hoping my last opponent will be able
Judicar,
to
the
schedule soon because
Apothecary.
I'm really like
I've got
rearing
4
to
left,
go
okay.
so I can know if I'm going to playoffs or not. I'm really
I'll
hyped,
scoop in another 15,
so I'm excited. It's going well.
and I need to see what we're going to try and do this time.
Yeah, I think Pants is right. I think he lost morale, lost one of the
12
guys
inches,
to morale, which
do I
is,
want to
you know,
advance and charge?
unusual for Space Marines.
Necron for sure.
But at least he did. At least he
Okay, I'm
didn't
gonna spend
fail the
2
attrition
CP
roll. That's
to
good.
put the Vanguard into White Scars, so they lose their reroll 1s to hit and reroll 1.
I mean, at this point,
and they can advance and charge.
I don't know. What do you think? Is he gonna table in this turn or next turn?
Command phase.
Table. Wow, I love that. He's going to table. We're going to see our first tabling on an alpha stream
Doesn't go
since
off, so
like
he's not
season
gonna hit.
1, I think, when it was Kaiser playing Aldari Soup, who managed to table a Orcs player quite reliably in like 3 turns. That's big words.
Cool,
Hot
let's
take
do-
right there. Is he going to table him this turn? I know. Let us know in the chat, guys,
Just
if
stay
you
hidden,
think
so
that
you've
we're
got
going
no
to see a
reserves, and
Necron
you can
stabling
put
right here.
from with
Faye's
1
pretty
CP to put them
convinced that
back
we
into
are.
reserves.
You know.
I mean, here's the thing. Like Pant said, the Vanguard vets just got advance in charge, so they're gonna advance up and then charge the death marks. And then
like this.
yeah, all the contemptors are gonna shoot into the Ophidians.
These guys are
I
going to
mean,
tuck themselves in.
This center blob of warriors and everything is gonna die to shooting as well. Like,
Those guys will stay
I don't know.
down.
I think that's all that's left, right? The death marks,
Yeah.
the center stuff, and the Ophidians. So I mean, he could table him this turn. I
Going
mean,
to come up to 8.
Yep. No,
Stay close
I
behind
am
it.
predicting that this will either be tabling or there will be less than a handful of models on the table left for the Necrons by the end of the
Tank
turn.
commander will go
I've got my thoughts as to why all this went the way that it did, but yeah, we'll talk to the players after the game. Although this is definitely
Vanguard will do their
getting to a
all-important
point,
advance
and I
roll
know that we're not
to
supposed to
see
call a
if it's
game
worth it.
at
This
you know
will
this
roll
early,
and
but
spend
you know
2 CP
bottom
for
of turn
damage.
3, we're past the halfway
go
point, and
16
man, does
inches.
it not look good for Necrons.
Because we played the Lieutenant trailer, that's like this is
I mean,
That is
this
my
was a good
success
game
rate.
still. I mean, there were a lot of clutch things that happened, like the Triarch dying turn 1 was really big.
Let's do some
The
psychic
Scorpec
notes and start
Lord
with Pirate
failing to
Smite.
kill the chaplain too is actually a pretty big deal because he swung. That's a lot of attacks, and he somehow only did 2 damage to the chaplain with his 3 damage attacks because of the 5 up feel no pain or 6 up feel no pain. Like there was some crazy stuff that happened there. And then, of course, the most important moments, the 2 9-inch charges that both failed, is just...
The librarian will do feel no
That's
pain.
the kind of stuff that just breaks lists. If you cannot make your deep strike charges,
Let me just check.
I mean,
I think it
then
doesn't
you
cast.
you can't be deep striking, right? So, if you're deep striking, you fail them, then
Yeah, on
your
6,
units
cool.
are just doing
So
nothing
I'm
for an
looking
extra
for
turn, which is
nothing
really
in,
rough.
18 that I can
So
spot,
like
that is like,
90 steep strike, unless you've got some form of mechanic
shooting.
to give like plus to charge,
Yeah,
is really difficult, and you should never hinge your game plan
exactly.
on that.
Anytime you're
Okay,
betting
let's-
your game plan on a
let's do
9-inch
the
charge, you're
magical first. Let's not.
probably
We'll do the
like that just
contemptor.
means you're
He's gonna shoot me
you're going
figures.
on a
That's
less than
dangerous.
50-50 even. It's not even 50-50 with a reroll. So like, you know, that just means you're
We're looking for
you're
freeze
putting
to hit.
yourself in a disadvantageous
No
position.
rerolls.
Now, in some matchups, you have no
And
choice.
then
So
freeze
like,
to wound with no
you know,
rerolls.
like when I played
Ooh,
Custodes
dear.
back
Only 5
in the
saves
day
and
when
2
we didn't
mortals.
have any of the, like when all we had was Excel teleport
got one
homer, and
blank
then they
cover if you
one-shotted
wanted to
your
take
teleport
one
homer, and
first,
you have
but
no other way
I
to
don't
use
think
your Terminators, then you have to do it, right? But it's never something you want to do, which
yeah,
is
well,
really
but yeah.
the important part to remember. Should always try and avoid 9-inch charges.
Yeah, exactly.
One.
I know that I know people were like
Two.
there were. I went through the
Otherwise,
VOD
wounds.
to like my game against Curie, and I know I was going for like a 90 charge, but I didn't need to hit the charge like that.
Yeah,
It didn't matter. You know,
yeah.
it
I
was,
think we said that too in the commentating, right? That we weren't expecting you to like make the charge either.
if I get it, it's cute. But if I don't, it doesn't matter. I can just move
Yeah,
5
and then
do
the
like a 4 charge next turn.
2 mortal wounds
Yeah.
afterwards.
Exactly.
So it does kill that one.
Was it 2 or 1 mortal wound?
Let me check.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
2 mortal wounds.
the firepower is untouched, and he has nothing to really deal with it.
Dead, and then
I think
2.
if like he had the balls of the Judicar, you know, that we saw go down,
Oh, right,
and
yeah.
literally just go, here are my
Yes, that's what I'm
destroyers.
saying.
You know, I
That's
pick
taken the
one of
run
your
out.
vehicles, and because I didn't realize they were 3d3 damage guys, like each. Could have even like maybe like
One should
hedged
be
his
on to
bets
the
and
end,
gone
because
for
the
like a
ones that are
couple,
covered.
like firing 3 of them into each at that point. Could have taken.
Well, I think only one of the destroyers is 3d3. It's a heavy
Correct. All right.
destroyer.
Okay, got
Yeah.
you.
The other ones are d3.
Yeah. Okay, fair. But yeah, could
But still, they have a lot of shots. It's 3 shots each,
Nope.
so they could still like if at least you could
You know
put
what,
like
you were-
most of
I
them
was
into the
starting to feel like
Manticore
you
and
actually
kill
had
it,
the
and
one
then do
you
some
could
damage to
reroll
Tank
the
Commander as well.
animation dice every time.
If you moved up further.
The
yeah, so
Manticore's gonna have a
definitely
go
could have
to
taken
see
out
if
like
he
a
can kill a
vehicle
model
like
this game.
turn 1. It would have been a bit more
2d6.
aggressive with the destroyers
Gonna
that
he's
have
going to
now
the videos,
rightfully been
obviously, then
removed,
rerolling that one.
like from the
So
mid
I'll
board.
take 9 shots on 6s.
Then we could be looking at a bit of a different game because that's like 1/4 of like his big shooting gone.
I hit once this
Great
turn,
thing about this
and I'm
Deathwatch
winning on
list
2s.
that I failed to comment on,
1 at
it's
-2
active
on
in every
vehicles.
phase, which is what you need. Like more so in 9th than you do in 8th. It's got
Yeah.
good shooting, it's got good psychic,
Kills a
it's
wounded
got
model.
really brutal melee as well.
Yeah,
you
it's
bring
just
it
a
back-
very
if you bring it back, the
well-rounded
Manticore's
list that
four.
does well in all
I saw the
phases.
5
It's
come down first,
fast,
was like, if you
it's
bring it back, the Manticore's killed nothing. or
brutal when it gets into combat, and it
Cool.
shoots really well. So it's just well-rounded list, right?
The Dreadnought here will fire
I do think
into-
it
he's gonna look
has
at
some
us,
flaws,
I
like
think,
for example, I think Tanglefoot really messes with this list, for example. It's one thing to talk about. And I also think, other than the Tank Commander, he has no way to kill, like, you know, T8 models, you know, like my Telemon, for example, would probably never die in a game like this.
That
Like,
is
how does he
also
kill that? I
terrible.
guess just the Tank Commander and then hope for mortal wounds on the Contemptors, but I have a 5
5
Feel No
saves and
Pain
2
against mortal
mortals
wounds,
on
right?
2 mortals.
So those are some things to think about.
No AP.
But I mean, it is just a lot of tanky obsec bodies, which is something that you can almost never go wrong with. Like, tanky obsec bodies are the name of 9th edition, basically. Like, that's how you win games.
Sure, it's great, and I love seeing
gonna try
Deathwatch
do
being
one
able,
bolt gun,
because a
will
lot
shoot
of
damage
people
2
write
into
out
the Chrono
Deathwatch
Monster,
as being like C
and
tier,
we'll
like
throw a-
Marines,
and we'll
right?
throw a frag grenade.
You know, compared
Mm.
to like
bolt
your
gun.
White Scars, you know, compared to like your
Misses,
Iron
but no
Hands with
rerolls.
triple like
And the
Contemptor,
frag grenade.
Dreadnought, and this sort of thing.
2,
But it's great.
1,
It's great to
freeze.
see them like look
And
so
1 freeze.
dominating against Necrons.
Nothing.
Granted, they
Cool.
are the Xenos
that's a
hunters of
great
the
whiff.
41st millennium, so they get a few sort of buffs and
So I
stratagems
guess we'll
to
do
sort of
some
help them with
charges
that. But
now.
guys, Alexi has played a game against Space Wolves in groups. and
But
he's
actually,
won that
Kyra's
one.
gonna shoot
So
to start
he's
with.
playing
Kyra's
the
gonna
army
shoot
well,
another gun.
for sure.
She'll have 2
It's an army
shots
that he
on
is
freeze.
familiar and comfortable with. I remember I catched the end of a game where he was saying he's taken this list to an event and won it
And then force
as
to
well.
wound, rerolling.
So he knows his army very well, and that's a huge factor. Like, play what you know in like any
One
tournament.
save
Don't
and
bandwagon
9
onto like the new
damage
thing. Play an army you know and understand its rules and mechanics well, and
no
know
AP,
your
1
limitations,
damage.
which he
Sorry, 2 damage.
has known very well with this list. Like, his turn 1 deployment was great with the Judicar having that 6-inch heroic intervention
And then I think
around
we're
him,
just gonna
able
be
to pick up
boring.
Trike Stalker like turn 1 that charged into them quite easily with the
And we're
amount
just
of
gonna use the
Vanguard
tech command
vets
to do,
and kill teams
2d6
surrounding
worth of
him.
shots to him.
And this is how you get into a dominating position in a game.
It's a
And
bit
the Necrons
overkill,
list is
but
no
I
slouch.
can't
Like,
let him
Slowwolf was
just
going
go and
through it,
one-shot the
and I was
champion
just
with
listening to him because he knows Necrons a million times
10.
better than I do, and I was like, this is scary. Like, there's a lot of potential
one
for
freeze.
damage output,
That's a lot of misses.
melee
And
threat,
winding,
and
1, 2,
all the rest of it.
4 in
Played
front,
differently,
five
the
in front,
Necron lists could have won this game. Actually, this is definitely a matchup that is within the Necron list's power to beat, especially with the unit choices they've made. But there were some tactical choices that we could talk about when we start speaking with the players that I think will be very
That
illuminating
is.
for everybody. And there's definitely a
13
lot to
damage on the
learn
ball
from this
die.
game.
Cool. All
Right,
then.
that's the main thing, is that no
then
matter
I think
what
that's
game you watch, there's a
negative
lot to
11.
learn. And in this one in particular, I think we
We'll do
learned
charge
the
with
dangers
these
of
guys.
deep
We're just
striking
gonna go into the
things.
death box.
And yeah, Chad has also pointed out that the save rolls have not been great for our poor Necrons player, but like, can't rely on save rolls to keep you alive all the time.
Well, that's a shame.
Now, death marks in combat. Now, what's interesting about these guys is that they are going to be wounded on 5s. They are toughness 5, surprisingly. They are like immortals in that sense,
I'm not within
but they only
half
have 1
inch, the
attack
guys
each,
on
unlike
top,
immortals
so I've
who
got
end
2
up
ice fighters.
having 2 attacks each. So the death marks are probably not going to do very much in return, and
And
their
that's all
guns
the
are heavy,
charges,
so they can't shoot them into
8
combat.
attacks. They haven't got the
I'm
movement
surprised
to
that there are
pilot
3
steps,
Ophidians still left alive,
actually.
though.
Yeah, they haven't. 8 attacks into these
Yeah,
guys on freeze without
so
rerolls to hit because they're now white skulls.
We are gonna go
So,
into turn
none
4
of
after
those
this
reroll.
one, and I don't think I think Faye might be wrong.
Toughness is
There's
like
still
4.
definitely gonna be Necron models left, like into turn 4. Be interesting to see what he does with like so few assets
saved
left,
in
just to,
total,
just to try and claw points, you know, because points do matter, guys. Like, at the end of the day, like never concede a game in the tournament would be my advice to anyone that's getting like newly into competitive. It might look like an uphill battle. You might lose 1,000 points in the turn because you're up against Admech, but points do matter because people draw, people get equal win-loss to you, and that can
No, you'll
definitely
have the
affect your
objective
standings
well
depending on
when you
like the
pilot.
format of the tournament.
I've only got 3
So
on there.
definitely, even if you're like losing a game, because the moment you concede a
then you
game, you
get
get
rid of
0
it.
points. You may as well just play for points, have fun, and learn. As Slowwolf rightly pointed out, like learn things from the match.
Cool. Over to you to fight.
One of the most important lessons I've learned from I've been learning how to play chess a little bit, and one of the most important things I learned was from one of the GMs called Ben Feingold, and in one of his lessons he says never resign. He then goes into a really hilarious description of, you know, why you don't resign, but since I can't steal jokes to save my life, long story short, people make mistakes, and as long as you resign, they won't have the chance to make those mistakes. Right? Relying on your opponent making mistakes is not a great strategy, but as long as you keep playing, those opportunities will likely show up, unless if you're playing against Nick Nadavati, Richard Siegler, Brian Pullen, those people who barely make mistakes on a very regular basis. And in a game as complicated as this, that's already extremely hard to pull off. Against most other people, you'll find people that make blunders and inaccuracies. And in those situations, you have to play through the game to get there, right?
Cool.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
me done. I
So
can't
yeah,
foul
that's a very
morale.
good
I don't
point.
think
Like,
you can foul morale 'cause you're like leadership 10.
opponents can make mistakes. We saw
pick
like
up
in Saturday's game,
6 on
like
domination,
Creeper
so for,
making a couple of
for
misplays
domination
on secondaries
and for
because he was in
director
such a
souls that don't
dominating
control the
position.
backboard.
Unfortunately, his second shooting phase went amazingly,
Second.
and Lockjaw wasn't able to capitalize on it. But we will have Creeper back again with Zelda on Saturday, guys, going up against Mortarian and friends. So can't wait for that one. Hopefully, maybe taking the advice that we gave him like from the stream on board or not, that you know. But because we get the ultimate view, we get to see everything that's going on, which is great, you know. But we'll see for this. Necrons looking to steal this mid objective back right now. There's not a huge amount on it, to be honest. We've got a chaplain, a watch sergeant, we've got one black shield remaining. Looking for the chaplain for that assassinate, so that's more secondary, going to be picked up for Necrons right there. I think that's fine. Good decision. Over here, Deathwatch behind this ruin in the southeast corner. I don't think they get touched for the rest of the game. I think that objective is purely theirs for the match. And I think, to be fair, this northeastern objective is theirs as well. Contents are sitting pretty untouched for the entire game.
So if you
Going to
kill,
be able to hold
just
that
so you
out,
know,
and then he's got the
they're obsessed,
intercessors
so if you just kill those
behind
two
it to
models,
just kind
it's
of
they're one of my
buff
warriors
that
that
up.
fight, so
a
it's
little
like
bit.
a
I say intercessors, I do mean
8
kill
point
team. It's
swing.
just they are labeled as intercessors when I was looking across the map.
yeah, whatever you wanna do.
Yeah, it's a Fortis kill team for what it's worth, but like it doesn't really matter if there's no one else in that kill team.
It's basically you'll get 5
So,
from stopping while
it's an intercessor squad because
and then
Deathwatch
obviously
can draw
you get
from the
the
Space Marine
domination
Codex.
stuff, the priority target one.
It's fine. It's not like they get
Well,
special
yeah, how
issue
do you
ammunition
charge?
anyway, since they're Primaris.
Not that you could fail the charge, but yeah, if you want to go into if you want to do
Deathwatch is one of those armies that's like super interests me as well. I love the fact that you can do all this customization in like your like kill teams and stuff.
Oh man, why couldn't have gotten
I want the
that
book badly.
last turn?
It's one of those things where I want to get
so they are
a box of
fucked,
intercessors and the book specifically so that way I can run a Fortis kill team, which splits into one squad of 5 intercessors and then a squad of 5 outriders. That sounds
So
like a lot of
assuming
fun.
the intention
Same goes
is
for
to have
eradicators and
the
heavy
middle guy
intercessors.
able to
Just
go
have a squad of 5
direction.
eradicators and 5 heavy intercessors. All of them are obsec.
In this
Oh,
case,
sounds great.
The other thing for me is that like I play kill team as I know you do, Slow Wolf, and I think that a Deathwatch kill team should just like automatically be good in kill team.
Okay,
Because
and the
the name
replay's
makes sense,
going
right?
to Chaplain.
You'd be surprised actually. In kill team,
Yeah.
their Deathwatch are
Actually-
actually fairly low tier.
so
You've got like Drukari, Tau are actually really good in kill team as well, but Deathwatch, there's just
Yeah,
too
they'll be on
few
a
of them
6-up. Obviously,
to
the
really
Chaplain's
play the
a 4-up.
objective in most current missions. Although the Pariah Nexus book does allow for a new win condition, which actually might tip the scales a bit. But that's the discussion for a completely different podcast and a completely different league.
And then I'm assuming you're putting all the claw attacks where you put the little tail ones.
I miss playing in person. Yeah, Kiri, I get you. Me and Brady from APG were talking about this the other day. Like, because we played a game against each other, and Deep Strike bubbles are just like huge. I'm gonna get some like 9-inch like rings. I think like you know like frisbees you can get from like any like. Guessing you have like dollar stores in Canada, right?
Yep.
Like, imagine if they did like a 9-inch frisbee.
Okay,
Wouldn't you just
cool,
get those
perfect.
for 40k for like?
I can't.
Well, it'll be an
dollar,
18-inch
whatever.
hula hoop, effectively. If you get a
Yeah, you
hula
know
hoop
what I mean.
that's
That's
18
like a
diameter.
ring, right?
Yeah. I've actually got really old, like those
Into
red
the
whippy
rings.
sticks from like back in 4th and 3rd edition.
Cool.
They used to be like 18-inch rulers that were really bad and horribly
2,
inaccurate, but they do have a
3,
good 9-inch
cool.
marker on there.
I've got
I
like-
slap a bunch of those down every
Frosted
time
Subs.
I'm de-striking in real
There you
life,
go.
and it actually works.
That sounds great. It sounds like better than me spending like 2 minutes with a tape measure and going, that'll do.
2 minutes with a tape measure and some dice does help though.
Okay.
Definitely don't
Yeah.
skimp on that.
That dice thing I picked up from Tabletop Titans actually, I like never seen anyone
4
do
up
that
in
before
ones.
until they like did it on the
He
street. I
fails
was like,
one,
oh,
and it's 3 damage.
yeah.
flat 3.
Yeah, he goes down to 1.
All right, the chaplain's down to 1 somehow.
So
He's hanging in there. His faith has protected him.
For now.
Yep, Chaplain lives.
Yep. 2 more invuns, or he's paced.
Oh, that's a
He's
nice
dead.
little tool, Pants. It's very
And now he's
different.
And that's 3 for assassinate.
Nicely done. All right, so that's the chaplain down. 3 points for assassinate. That's points that he needed, points that he wanted.
Oh, I'm going to punch you. So I've still only got 2 guys fighting,
What is this? Top of turn.
because they can't get up
Necron
the
turn
thing, so
4?
6 attacks.
Still? Yeah. It's been going very fast.
Oh, sorry, I now reroll 1s because that's over the White Scars stuff. And then...
But
Actually,
the
can
I didn't even know
reroll one?
Citadel did one, Curie.
Yeah, I
Like
did
what? Like, they make everything.
And
To be
then
fair,
rerolling
they
the
like
wounds.
if you're like looking at basic models, like
2
they even
saves,
made like
plus
a
2.
really expensive like graphite like glue stick to like use for it. That cost like
on
£10.
mine it's 2
So I think like $15 like US that no one should ever buy,
Yes.
by the way.
But
But you know,
yeah, I was just like, hang on, like, what? They've got a one-up save? I was like
2 dead,
panicking.
and 5 ups.
Lovely, brings one back.
Okay, and 1 comes back. It's...
So, as long as these Vanguard vets stay in combat, the death marks will never die. Like, they won't die for the rest of the game, pretty much. Unless if there's some horribly unlucky
So
rolls.
you pick up
I
free for that
sincerely
one.
believe that at the
12.
very
Oh,
least
you
there'll
just-
be
you spent
20
points
primary
already.
for the Necrons.
Oh, okay, cool.
At
Yeah.
least.
that's fine.
Lovely
Like,
stuff. Cool.
you know,
Okey-doke.
just playing for points, really here.
So-
I don't know what
Kicked
they
off
can
my
kind
little
of
thing.
do. We're
So-
going to have like the 2 contenders tanks firing again,
Sure.
like next turn for sure, and then that might be it. RB is going for the tie up on the contender right here, I think.
Okay, okie dokie. So start on my turn 4. I guess I get that token on that one. No command phase because the chaplain is dead. So these guys are going to come through 6.
I think the Pansy was giving them a chance. I don't know. I think-
Oh yeah, I hold 3 to your 2, so I'm getting 15. And that is probably.
But yeah, if you're a Death Guard
turning
fan, by the way, be excited for Warren Sheridan with your meme protection. That is like amazing.
We'll
like,
just.
dumb.
Kyra's going to come out.
I got to play around with that last
Probably
night.
get some kills
That
with.
was such a stupid game. How do you feel about getting 5 primary points every turn? Because I have 100 post walkers that keep coming back. Yeah.
She's going
I
to
hate it.
We'll talk about that more on
uh,
Sunday.
one smite
Like,
to the Ophidians,
is it healthy
7.
for the competitive state of
And
play?
does
Like,
3
and
mortals, yikes,
everything.
to the Ophidians.
I think that's one of the winners out of that book. To be honest, like the Terminus detachment for sure. Why Death Guard are getting new rules after their codex
And
is
then
just
we'll
launched,
go
I don't
to
know.
shooting,
Like,
the little
you know,
two little
like,
characters. So
but
we'll just do the
we'll
shotguns, we're gonna
have to see on that one. I
5d6
can imagine
to the
few people in Season 8 of Alpha are going to be looking for that
Ophidians,
one
they're
unless
just flames,
GW makes a
basically.
ruling to remove it from competitive play.
That's a really hard
Well, they
We will
specifically
see.
said for now.
But there's
That's
I
allowed.
think Joko's the man
Oh,
that's going to
indeed.
run that in like Season
20.
8. That is such a nightmare
So
field
winning on
list.
5,
Like,
no rerolls.
I have 100 Poxwalkers that actually turns
saves
into
that, I think,
160
all of the
Poxwalkers by the end of the game. That's such a Joko list to run.
You
I
talking about the Terminus Est thing?
Yeah. Okay, guys,
Oh.
we're playing a game right now against Emgem. If we could get a score from that one, I'll be sure to update you in the chat, fellow caster. There is on here. So if I get a score update on that game, I'll be sure to let you guys know. He's playing against with his Orc Buggy Nightmare Fueled list. The Orcs believe in nightmares that much. That's what powers their buggies in that one. He's playing against Death Guard right now.
You know, considering
Who's
that the
Death Guard is it? Like, because
Ember
Joker's
Gem.
in Pod 1, right?
Emgem's Death Guard. So Emgem's done really well in the playoffs the last 2 seasons. So we'll see how that one goes.
Cool.
Well,
Okay.
we have a bit of a timeout, sadly. Just swap that out until we get a game back in there. With the current scores coming up on the screen right now.
I'm still in the game, so it might have been something.
I got disconnected, so I'll be right back in then.
Yeah, it's working for me too, so I think it's you can just load back in.
Yeah. That should be fine. No. We're good. It's my computer that went all bored. It's fine.
It was Zinch. Zinch was trying to infest your computer.
Cool.
I hate
6
that
punches. With the
You all
claws,
hate that guy.
rerolling 1s now.
Look, alright, he said change your ways.
Wounding
He's
on
got to
5.
change some ways, man.
Mine still did nothing wrong. That's beside the
Wow.
point.
Okay, spiky.
Lol.
Go gadget.
All
Lightning
wounds.
bolts, you kill one of their pissed.
5 of them just...
That is almost the entire squad.
Well, you got your reanimation first,
Oh.
so.
I do have reanimation.
And I've
That's
removed
all but
touch.
one, currently.
So it depends
Yeah.
who you're going to pull first, because there's sides to this.
I'm very curious, Slow Wolf. You were saying the Necrons made a lot of misplays. I'm very excited for
Okay,
the
sure.
post game where you're going to go through that with the Necron player.
It wasn't even a lot of mistakes. It was just a couple of really clutch ones that were that made for big blunders, and it was stuff that was decided turns ago.
Is there gonna be some slow wolf drama there, where like you start really getting into it? Like,
After, like the hot take of the night, which I just didn't want to repeat on stream. Like
Cool.
earlier, I saw the comment and I was just like,
Yeah, I
I'm not
guess
going to
I'm just
repeat
gonna
that.
who? What?
consolidate.
Go on, tell me.
Sally, nothing happened. Like,
Wait, who had a
it
hot
wasn't
take?
anything to do with the players, by the way, guys. So,
Who had a hot take? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently
Okay.
I'm full of hot takes.
well, people have asked me now.
And
So
they only lost 4, so they can't fail.
the pants basically said, could Trevi look any smaller if he slouched more into his chair, or words to that effect earlier on? I was like, wow.
Alright, we'll start the Necron turn. No primary scored at this point. There's too many Vanguard vets on that objective now.
Yeah.
Which means that their turn 5 is going to look very, very quick. I'm not even sure why I'm updating the turn counter quite the way I am, but
Oh,
it's fine.
interesting. Okay, so you can still save that objective.
I mean, yeah. At this point, I don't even think the Necron can
Because you
score a single
scored at
point
the end of the turn,
anymore.
obviously. So you just got to kill.
He will not
If he
hold any objectives.
kills...
So you roll 1 more to
No, even if he kills, even if he doesn't kill anybody, like he can contest the point at most. Sadly.
Yeah.
Sure.
And he can't. He also has no shooting, so he can't kill anybody.
Yeah.
Because they fall back. So that is his last unit, right? So he was 1 unit off being tabled. Like I said, he was going to be tabled. I was wrong.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
Honorable
update
wins.
the scores to reflect
Well,
the
it's
final
not the end
scores
of
at this
the game
point.
yet, right?
What did you say? Sorry.
It's not the end of the game yet. We still got a couple turns.
Well, no,
left.
I meant I said he was going to be tabled this turn. You said,
Yeah.
he's going to get tabled, but I said he was going to get tabled this turn. He was two
that's
models off, so I was wrong. 2 models survived.
That is. Oh yeah, I just got the.
We got to see a Necron victory
to do,
on stream at
basically.
some point. We had Kellen
Do
Foster
you know
in the
what?
grand
I'm just
finals
gonna. All I'm gonna do is
with
I'm just gonna shoot the.
getting beat by Admex. So
I'll get.
you're playing
Yeah.
LV, you
I
got your
just wanna
Necrons,
kill
you want to
something with
prove
the
your
manticore,
medal
that's
and
all I wanna
stuff.
do.
Hit us up for like a stream game,
Should
like
that be,
for
am I
sure.
domination every turn?
Because we got to see the Necrons win, right? Like that's the point. Nor 2 on stream is not a good look for the
So,
shiny
yeah.
metallic boys.
Yeah, we're just gonna fire
Yeah.
the manticore at those 2 death marks, and then we'll end it.
Yeah,
And they're a
that's
powerful army.
unfortunate.
Such a powerful army. Like every time like someone drops Necrons against me,
10
I'm like,
shots.
ugh,
Hitting on
you know.
6s.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, I'm, you know,
I should
like
have
I play Custodes, so like if I ever see the, you know, the
Well, it wouldn't have
triple
made a
star god
difference,
thing,
because I can't roll.
it's just an auto
I
loss
can't
for me
roll with
because
the
there's
manticore.
literally no
One
counterplay to that
save
from
on a
Custodes.
death mark.
You know, the like 3 guys, the 3, what are they called? The
A death mark. And does he come back? to
not the
life?
Deceiver, the other guy, the Nightbringer.
No.
When he brings the
Yeah.
triple
You raise
Catan
right.
shards and just
All
throws
game,
a million
one
mortal
death
wounds
mark
at you
and one
every turn.
destroyer with a full payload manticore.
So like I'm.
So hard.
When we did the pre-season
even
7
when I
thing,
spent the CPs
and
letting hit
we
normally,
did
it
like
hit
our
once.
units that we expect to
It's
see like a
terrible.
lot more
Terrible,
of in
terrible
7th
take.
edition.
I crippled him
I
on
said
Spear
I expect to see Catan
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one
because,
shot.
like you were saying, they deal this mortal wound
Um,
output, which like
cool, I think that's
Deathwing
good then,
Knights
so I'm just
and
gonna
like Death
skip
Shroud Terminators
10
have like
almost
no
every
defense
fight.
against.
And Custodes, and those are 3 of the most popular armies that are the strongest too.
12.
And I don't know. I feel like
Cool, and that is the final score then.
I just think people find that boring to play because all you do is you hide them behind your stuff and you spam mortal wounds, and that's all you do.
Surprisingly,
What do you mean?
it's
That's a great
difficult to
way
win your
to play.
game.
Well done. Execution is like one of the best powers in 40k.
Pretty much, and they have 2 of those, right? A turn or something.
You even need to like
Um,
cast it; they just do it. You know.
They just do it. Yeah, it just goes off auto.
To drop him out of line of
Which,
sight.
to be fair, is
Yeah.
also kind of true of Eldar powers, but
Also, less so these days.
that's so these days. Yeah, true.
I don't know what I did wrong. I know I made mistakes. I think I was really sad my Judicard died. He's my favourite guy in the army.
I think
And
they're
I was
talking
like,
over
come
now.
on, you've got to make a 6-inch charge of every
Mhm.
roll to give him lookout, sir. And because when that squad was supposed to charge destroyers, they're just going to wrap around him and keep him safe.
Yeah, so,
No,
so someone
it's-
come to me with
he's
the
just
like
stuck there
the
with
winning Alpha League
like,
season
gonna get
7
lit up
Necron
to
list, so we
pieces.
can put it on stream. So I want to see the Necrons win a game on here
How
for
do you do
sure.
the handshake?
And I want to be the one that just crushes them in front of your face and just feels like,
Oh,
Little
right.
digital
you will
handshake.
never have
One
your.
that's thrown down. Like, have you got a Necron player in your group? Or
Black.
No.
There you go. the handshake.
I have Admech Sisters, GSC, and.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel really bad about some of the dice
What's
you
the
had,
last
but
one? I don't remember. Nids. This one. My
So they've
my
called
4
game
opponents.
in favor of the Deathwatch.
I'd
The
guess because I won,
scores
I'll have to do the work. So
haven't
I think
been
the
polished yet. There's no way
It's
that
actually
domination and
rolled
direct
well,
assault
so it's
weren't
90,
maxed
43.
for Alex here. I don't think,
Cool. And now I'm gonna.
because he got domination
go into
from
this.
turn 1 onward.
Because the last one you had my
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
domination
no,
every turn,
no,
right?
that one,
That's
yeah.
15.
I'm
Oh,
still
right,
waiting
so-
on that one to come through.
Oh,
Just loaded up the
cool.
tournament,
Oh, I
see
see.
if I can see it, but it's not been reported quite
yeah.
yet, unfortunately.
Now I'm gonna go watch back the stream and just listen to everyone in the comments just being like, "What's he doing?" And like, I'm gonna be like self-conscious for a week.
Oh man. If I tried to just wrap you up over here. Just
They're talking through the game right now, so maybe we should hop in and
rip it more down.
Well,
talk
what
it
I'll
out with
do
them.
is, chatting through the game, we'll give them
To be
like
fair,
another
it's kinda
60
like, the
seconds, and
funny
I'll
thing
get
about
everyone
Deathwatch is
into a
No one
room
knows them,
where we
Right.
so
can
no
talk,
one knows.
because
like,
if we
kind of
do
like-
it through
even when
TTS,
you outline their kind
voice
of like
tends to
little
crash
tricks
out
with
with like
the
so
swapping
many people
chapters and
talking,
stuff,
because
Very true.
Kind of
TTS
no one's
doesn't have like
familiar
the
with,
best
like, how
voice
Deathwatch
service
play.
set up for it.
and it's kind of like then it's kind of cool because no one knows how to fight them. It's kind of almost fluffy that people. How do we take these guys on? But that kind of castle I set up is kind of, it was when I pulled that vanguard to be like charge the chaplain, kind of like it's a trap. And then I shouldn't have killed that stalker. That was really unlucky on your saves. But like I was trying to get, if I was trying to get lucky on him. Cool. They've said, how do I get 11 with while we stand we fight? That is an error.
Yeah, just
these
just
are
so
like-
the
yeah,
Couple more questions actually for you folks. Domination and direct assault should 12 and 14. 12 makes sense for domination if you didn't score it every turn somehow, and
Yes,
direct assault
there was-
should be 12 or 15, unless if you
there's
scored
a 5.
5 at a certain point.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did on the last
Scored
round.
5 for the last round.
Okay.
5. For my objective,
And I was one round. I didn't get
yeah,
domination. I think it
just
was
ask them
one,
to switch
domination,
voiceover.
because I was too scared to
To
go for the top one.
a channel of my choice
I think
for some
I
both
can't
game.
remember,
Great
and I didn't
game,
score at the time, so
great
that's
showing
on
for
me
the
for being a
Deathwatch
potato,
plus the Imperial Guard
basically.
Patrol. Coming out here, virtually
Yeah, we're
tabling
going to- I think they want us
Necrons
in
by
Alpha
the
1
bottom of
now.
like turn 4.
Alpha 3.
As
See,
Faith
they're
pointed
the-
out, like we're gonna see a tabling. Like,
Are we alright to close the game?
We're not-
Yeah,
we're
you
not
should be
wrong.
okay to close the game. Do you mind meeting us in the Alpha chat for Discord
Yes,
for a
Alpha
post-game
3.
interview, please?
Yeah, sure. Okay, doke. I'll see you
yeah,
there then.
so Alpha Free, tell them like
Alpha 3, please. Oh,
and we'll move there as well.
Hello.
alrighty.
We're just waiting on Nuke. He's said it'll be like off a second, I think.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, we could talk some with you in the meantime, right? Really impressive showing of the Deathwatch, man. Looked really good.
Yeah, I think they catch people off guard because I go on all like the forums and people are like, "You can't run Marines without doctrines. You're crazy." And I'm like, "Well, we haven't really got a decent doctrine because we just kind of order our doctrines. We don't really get like a really cool super like Bangles or Scars get. So and we can take storm shields on our troops really easily. So we don't need to kind of spend all the points on kind of troops, the units that are only really good through doctrines, and then rely on our doctrines to make good armies. We can just go, cool, troops, all the tankiness we need, and then we can just kind of focus on special toys.
Yeah,
So
it's
it catches
that's
people are like, why has he bought guard in the marine list? And it kind of is like, I see now when they're getting hit. When normally the 4 payload manticore should kill more than one model all game, but obviously that didn't happen.
Usually, yeah, full payload tends to do a lot of work. I've played against enough Manticores at this point to know that that vehicle has a lot to counter effectively what Natural Nuke had in his list. All of it being like 3 wounds or less makes it a little bit spooky to put a lot of those Scorpex and the Ophidians on the board.
Yeah. That's why I kept most of my stuff off the board initially. Why I took it off.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Why did you feel you? So what made you deep strike your destroyers?
It was the Manticore with the full payload. Those they be doing flat 3 damage, and the Ophidians can't stand up to any amount of AP at all with a 4-orb save. So it was basically a choice between either charging through the open and like I either had to stay out of line of sight of the dreadnoughts and get shot by the Manicore, or deep strike them and hope to make a charge into combat where I couldn't be shot. And I went for the deep strikes, and all my deep strike charges failed, even with rerolls.
Yeah, that's the problem with 9-inch, right? It's like
Yeah.
even with a reroll, it's less likely to work than it is to fail. It's the problem, right?
Yeah.
But I understand where you took it. That's the thing, right? 3 damage Manticore. If you don't kill it turn 1, which you could maybe have done, but you never know. Then it can really mess with your destroyers.
Indeed.
All right, I actually have a bunch of questions for both of you. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with Alex to begin with. So, Alex, first off, congratulations on your victory. Second, weird list, but I kind of like it. Where'd you get the idea to make this version of an Imperial soup?
So, when I've been like a Deathwatch player for like a couple of editions. They've just been my kind of guys. And I play Custodes as well. In fact, Slow Wolf, I played you in Alpha with my Custodes when you were playing Tau.
Yeah, I remember. You had a Knight
and
Megara on your list.
I kind of really like one tank commander and one Manticore, because if I look at the Marine artillery, there's nothing quite as efficient anymore. And like kind of, it's basically one tank commander is like, or one tank commander is nearly like 2 Vindicators. So it's just kind of the raw efficiency. And I got basically, when I started playing TTS back in October, I got hammered by this guy a couple of times who's a really high level player who plays Blood Angels. And I was like to him, and he put his list on the table, I was like, yes, I'm bringing a 4 payload Manticore and 2 tank commanders. And I was like, and this is when I was kind of like, this is also Index Blood Angels. This is a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And his list was something like 15 Vanguard vets and a chaplain on bike and some sanguinary guard and just some guard shooting in the background with some science. And looking at this, I don't understand why he'd done that, because in my subconscious, kind of like programmed to go, doctrine's good, marine souping now bad. And he said to me, and when he basically after the game, he'd hammered me, he tabled me by turn 3. And there was nothing I could do about that. No real kind of plays I could make to avoid that because of his speed. And he asked me, do you see why I've taken the guard? Because by the time my list is built around lightning claws and AP minus like 3 or 4 swords on the sanguinary guard, do I really need AP 5 on like the power swords on the sanguinary guard? And also, do I and by the time my doctrine would have kicked in to do the work in close combat, I've already been in combat with you turn 2 and done most of the work then. So it's kind of like redundancy, whereas actually by bringing the payload Manticore and the tank commanders, they can put out some really obnoxious shooting that Marines can't do. Yeah. And when I kind of got my hands on the new Deathwatch book, I was like, well, I can build really tanky units and troops with all the storm shields as kind of my OBSEC, that out of the box, I don't need tax troops. I can make my kill teams really good and efficient. And then I can use the points where I would have had to take like cheap kind of screen units. Actually, I'll put it straight into guard. I don't need to worry about doctrines because I can get chainswords and everything in the army anyway for -1 to just fight the screens. And then I can just use it for the raw bicep of a Manticore. And no one just wants to have something deployed opposite them and goes, I can hit you without line of sight and it's flat 3 damage. And you have to kind of come at me where I can kind of put the porcupine up with like, sadly my Judicar just got himself splatted because I couldn't make a 6-inch charge. But you kind of give your opponent an ultimatum in deployment. You have to stop this Manticore, which means coming towards me. At which point you kind of got to fight this porcupine of all the veterans with chainswords, and a Judicar that's going to heroically intervene 6 inches and make you fight last. And then kind of I can trade really efficiently defensively. Yeah. And when you put while we stand we fighting as kind of a standard thing in the list, it goes cool. So you have to come into my defensive castle, and I can then dictate the fight on my terms, even if you kind of go first with the Judicar, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's kind of how the list is supposed to work. And I guess it kind of worked because it got me the kill on the Stalker turn 1.
Yeah, which is a question I'll have for Nuke in a minute. Well, I've got thoughts. I've got questions. Yeah, I'd like to hear your ideas.
If you're okay with the Slow Wolf, we've got a question from the chat from Alex. To Alex rather. So Hura asks, as someone who prefers pure armies for fluff reasons, I get you. I like that myself. How good does he think pure Deathwatch is in the meta right now?
I think unless you've got a super I say it this way rather than Deathwatch being good. Unless you have a super doctrine you can build your list around, I wouldn't bother, because Harlequins, sisters are ignoring AP 1 and 2, and they can get like 4-up invuns everywhere with all their jank. Storm shields are everywhere. Death Guard have got like 4-up invun terminators. If I played, I think if I'm going to run pure Deathwatch, I think the lists are completely different. Like I'd bring Assault Centurions because you can get kind of buffs built into the Assault Centurions that you couldn't because they're not core, like reroll ones against a certain thing. Or when you take one of my favourite units to run in pure Deathwatch is something like just 10 veterans with shotguns, or 10 veterans with combi flamers, and we can get our Deathwatch combi flamers, which are like obviously a combi flame, and then they can shoot the special issue ammunition, spend a CP, put them in a teleporter, pop up 12 away when we can choose when we want our tactical doctrine. In like say turn 2 tactical doctrine, I'm gonna deep strike 10 veterans. You now have to eat 20 bolter shots at +1 to wound, plus 10d6 flamers. But 9 times out of 10, generally in my practice games as well, when I'm gonna try bringing pure Deathwatch and bring doctrines. I'm playing someone like Chaos Demons is like, cool, just don't bother naming your doctrines because I've got one Khorne Greater Demon that has got a 3-up save, everything else has an invuln. I'm like, and then I'm just going back in my head like, why did I even kind of go back to this? I just don't think we are. There's a reason people call the Deathwatch the worst kind of mono marine faction, because we just haven't got any big wow stuff that leaps off the page like +1 damage in White Scars or the Transhuman in Dark Angels.
No, I
But
suppose
we have got the easy access to bring in Storm Shields on all our troops, naughty ignoring invuln power swords, and Black Shields to make our troops kind of hit on 2s with some models and heroically intervene for a CP, making our troops as good as, if not better than, other Marine elites, if that makes sense.
for sure.
Great answer, and I would add to that, Hura. If you're a flop bunny like me, like I've played Aldari Soup before, and if you can think of like if you want to go to the table and want to go for a justification as why this like guard patrol is here like with all these Deathwatch Marines. Imagine this guard has been being sieged by Necrons for ages, and the Deathwatch have just dropped in. You know, where the Xenos killers were here to like fight and everything. That's like a completely cool justification for the list from a sort of like fluff perspective as well. Granted, Alex gave a much more technical, better an answer than I did, but I think that's a great like fluff thing that you can kind of like do as well to sort of like justify to yourself for bringing it in a competitive setting that still has a bit of fluff behind it too.
Also, I've got an Auto Xenos Inquisitor who's actually a great toolbox on the board, and my Manticore is painted in Inquisitorial colours. So Inquisitors like Manticores. That's what I'm telling my opponents at actual IRL tournaments when I get to go to them soon.
So why specifically Kyra Draxus? I mean, you could go for a Xenos Inquisitor that's like baseline, make them cheaper, that kind of thing. Why Draxus? Why the character?
So I think Marines generally hate Catan, and my Nightbringer is my Nightmare is like a triple Catan list, or characters that need to go down that I can't do anything about. And her when she charges, she can make something fight last, and obviously her smite can snipe characters. So if I need to kind of find a way to put, let's say I've got a Nightbringer in front of me that I've hit one turn, it's on 6 wounds, and then it heals to 7, and now I'm looking at it going, really all my list can do is hit it for free in the shooting phase, charge it for free, still going to be on 1 wound. She's kind of the redundancy in that way, first and foremost, to things like Catan, but also she's just kind of a good little support character that A, made my friends happy by bringing something fluffy, and B, she just kind of, again, with her ability to make something she charges fight last, I can use her in different roles depending on the matchup. In this game, all she had to do was just kind of go on the flank and go, here's a smite to try to bring, here's some smite and some little support in case things do get hairy, then she can just try stuff up.
I really like the character sniping smite too. Like that is a nice piece of tech that I think is surprisingly potent. Okay, now the rest of it makes a good deal of sense. I really like the Imperial Guard backup. It's very powerful thing to slot in. It's not even that many points. The actual parts of your Deathwatch list, though, are very interesting to me. You've effectively made a bunch of Vanguard vets all over the place, and added in a bunch of shotguns and shields and everything, as you said before. Could you explain the maybe the two weird parts about the list? One, why the Librarian, and what powers are like what do its powers do for your list specifically? Two, the Contemptor Dreadnoughts. How are you buffing them? How are you getting them to really work the way that you need them to? And three, there's one squad of Intercessors. Why is there one squad of Intercessors?
So I was so the dreads. Let's do Librarian dreads. Intercessors. So the Intercessors, I kind of was writing. I originally wrote 5 Incursors into the list, and I was kind of like, I can't remember what it was. I needed 5 points spare, and I need a cheap OBSEC unit that can sit on the backfield deployment zone. And obviously, why I went with Intercessors is because I've obviously got 5 Scions, and in this game they did that. But if I've got a mission where actually I need to do Scramblers, the Scions are there for Scramblers. So then the Intercessor's job becomes, cool, just camp the backfield, and sit there. And obviously they're transhumanable, so they are kind of relatively resilient 5-man squad. It's only 1 CP just to camp the backfield objective. Librarian is basically got Tyrannid Catalyst, and if Tyrannid's a mother
Such a good
faction, and
power.
if you play against Tyranids, you know how good Catalyst is.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's nothing more annoying than going, cool, I've got 1 million damage 2 shots going into guys with Storm Shields. Oh look, I've whiffed a bunch of chasses. Or hang on, I've got a fight for no Bane. Now that 1 Marine has now taken 2 shots to put down. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
And the other spell was just, again, off that Porcupine I mentioned earlier, where you're kind of going into stuff on my kind of terms. -1 attack is just really good against things like Repentia, where they can only charge 1 unit. So there's no... You put that on a squad of Repentia, for example, there's no janking a 12-inch charge of Miracle Dice to tag about 4 units. They can only charge the closest, and I think the way people have been ruling it is that means only 1. So you can kind of just dictate play control with people. And again, a second smite if I need to get around Catan, or I need to get around things like Death Guard with all their really good saves and -1 damage, just to be kind of clutch for a couple mortal wounds here and there.
Going into this matchup, I do think that your list had an even fight. I think that honestly, if this match were played again, this could have turned the other way almost completely, depending on how things were played. So, when you were looking at this, what did you initially fear about the Necron list, and what were you planning to do about it?
I was speaking to my friend Ryan about this pre-game, and I was literally texting him during when he was doing his pre-game moves. Like, I feel like I'm about to get on a roller coaster, waiting for the turn 1 charges and the turn 1 shooting. I kind of was looking at the pre-game move with basically the sniper rifle on the destroyer, kind of going, he can take out 1 tank, and there's not much I can do for that. Fortunately, he didn't want to invest into going fully on the Manticore, but putting on his bottom bracket kind of was enough. That's what I was scared of, and I kind of knew unless he managed to commit a lot of stuff into that kind of castle I'd set up, then I kind of knew the Judicar's going to make one thing go last. I can cripple that, and then I've just got to accept I'm going to lose something elsewhere. And I didn't think he'd get through, and I was kind of there going, can he get through the whole 10-man squad, which is one of my always standing fights? I doubt it, so I'm not too worried. And then can he destroy 2 of the 5-man combat squads as well that were part of that as well? I didn't think he could, so I was just like, okay, I just got to pucker up, and if it hurts, it hurts. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and I've just got to kind of take that on the face. I've got the Dreadnoughts ready to then kind of pop out and kind of counter-attack, if that makes sense.
Perfect sense. Yeah, I've seen more than enough times, more than enough games where some sort of counter shooting effectively just neutered what was going on from the opponent, from somebody overextending, which I'm sure Nuke was very aware of and was trying to play a little bit more defensive. And with that in mind, he did, I think. And you had a couple of turns where you were able to really kind of push forward, and having the Stalker die really helped. Being able to get rid of the Scorpic Lord, remove a few Immortals every turn at least, push for the center and keep and hold it. All of that was pretty rough. And admittedly, there were some pretty good rolls, but going with your Lightning Claws going into the Scorpex, I actually expected you to do even less against the Scorpex. Yeah, like a lot less, especially with the -1 to wound strat. 6's rerolling isn't great. that said, your army managed to kind of pull through. Where do you think, like, what do you think ended up being like one of the linchpin things for you from your army, or one of the decisions that you made that kind of kept the match in your momentum? Because this swung about like a couple of times, but you wrested control fairly quickly and decisively. What do you think really contributed the most to that?
I think killing the immortals turn one. I think I would have liked to say a lot of different things if I made some big charges turn one. I think killing the immortals turn one was probably what made the most, because I could just kind of go, because I obviously on that objective near my kind of bottom where the Vanguard and the Scorp of the one Terminator were, I was just like, I'm just going to put one Terminator on there out of range of the Scorpex, hope that my Vanguard can hang in there long enough when they get down to countercharge, and just kill all the immortals and go, cool, right, I've got OBSEC on there. You can't get through that OBSEC because there's 4 Storm Shields and a Terminator Storm Shield with a 1-up save. And just going to go, cool, well, I've still got that objective, even though you're on there, I've still got it. I think that was it. But I think also, it's not really fair for me to say that I had some great insights when actually Nuke just rolled really shit with a lot of deep strike charges.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, with that mentioned, we talked to you for a few minutes, Nuke. Okay, first off, you also have a strange list. It's not every day you see a full destroyer cult out on the march. What gave you the idea for this list?
So when I was actually making my first list, I was going for a more shooting focus, and I was running into a lot of trouble against Storm Shields, because a lot of the damage I had was damage 1. A lot of the AP I had was just flat negated, and I started looking at taking Scorpic destroyers, like just including them in the list.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like how if they run into something like Poxwalkers, there's really no, like, they're made to hit Storm Shields, right?
Pretty much.
And I wanted a bit more versatility, and start looking at the Ophidian destroyers. I'm like, oh man, these are great, except they're T4.
Right.
Realizing that Rad Wreathed, causing the -1 toughness, they became just a lot better if they make their charge.
Yeah. There's the big thing.
Yeah. And with a 10-inch move, I mean, usually they can like speed up the board and hit. I usually don't deep strike them, if I'm honest.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, for sure.
Yeah. And as I just dedicated more and more points, I'm like, I mean, I could just go full Destroyer Cult. So I took the cheapest troop choices I could and went all in.
Well, it's an interesting list for a lot of reasons. One of the things that people have maligned is the lack of core being applied to more places for the Necron Codex. But destroyers kind of get around that by having natural reroll ones to hit, and in addition, like, they just hit really hard. Every single one of their guns, with maybe the exception of regular locusts, all are really, really good, and usually are worth their 35 points. But yeah, you worked around that, and it's a very interesting list for a lot of different reasons. There are a couple questions I have about the list construction. First, where do you see what does the Chronomancer do most of the time for you?
The Chronomancer, if the Ophidian Destroyer starts on the board, and I'm planning to run them up, I usually put the Chronomancer on them because that's a free reroll charges.
Yeah.
Additionally to that, being that the Ophidian Destroyers are a 4-up save, putting a invuln on them is always good.
It's a really effective invuln too, because like anything past AP -1 suddenly doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that's usually what it's doing. But after those charges out, it's usually just sticking around to either protect or just whatever the nearest unit is.
Okay.
5 of invuln or reroll charge, whatever is needed.
All right. I
And
like
the,
that idea. That makes sense.
Straight and the straight flat 3 damage is always a good snipe sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like 3 plus D3 damage on the shot itself, but shooting is nutter butters when it works.
Yeah.
Like against the poor Judiciary, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah, very sad. He's my favorite guy in my army.
And he got blasted. I love the 6-inch heroic intervention as an aside, by the way. That's a really nice little niche pick right there.
Just an amazing combo with the Judiciary. It's just so strong.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
So then we move on to the game itself, and you got the first turn, which we knew was a big deal for your list in particular. Like, you had placed almost everything on the board and all that stuff. But at the start of the turn, when you had the 10-inch movement, there's like 16 inches of movement, and then a charge with your Ophidians and everything, you made a few decisions that started to get me scratching my head. And the first was pulling them out and putting them back into Deep Strike.
Yeah.
So, I understand why you were reticent to put them on the table against the Manticore, but why... If you could redo this game, would you change that decision?
I'm honestly not sure I would. The reason why I took them off the board, right, is because if the only place they were going to be able to charge was the Judicaire, where the Judicaire was stationed.
Yeah.
As such, if they were selected to go last, they were all dead. With a 4-up save, they would have wiped them. So I need to reposition them anyway.
Right.
I didn't initially plan for the Stalker to charge in. That just came up as a, well, it might live, honestly. Probably should have, but yeah, he rolled really well on the wounds.
You did not do well on saves pretty much all game, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
It happens, though. It definitely happens. But like, yeah, okay. We can't always blame dice for everything, but like that certainly hurt. Was there's definitely an element of luck, but it's dice games. That's what happens.
Yep.
Okay. There was a couple of other choices that I'm actually interested in hearing about. The death marks. Why are they in your list?
So I had the points left over. That's the main reason.
Okay.
Second though, I actually had the choice between taking Lich Guard or more death marks, or some death marks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I went with the death marks because a lot of times there will be situations where taking out a character before I go to charge is crucial.
Yeah.
Guys, apothecaries.
Yeah, apothecaries.
Sure, yeah.
And they will usually delete a character with 10 of them. So that's why I took them.
Yeah, and you can also use the stratagem to shoot stuff that tries to go out behind your lines.
Yep.
And Basilisc's skill too. That'll kill most units that try to deploy scramblers, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I like them. I mean, toughness 5, 3-up save. They're infantry, so the benefit from cover. Yeah, they're solid. Okay, cool. Because I've been thinking of running a couple too, and I like that flex pick. it's pretty sweet. It adds some range firepower. Which brings us to the poor destroyers. So we had you Locust destroyers all in a group. We were all very excited to see them blow up a tank. 1, cool ad. 2, why didn't you blow up the tank? They still had a lot of movement, and you decided to keep them back a little bit, which cost them a decent amount of firepower. What happened?
Yeah. So if I could redo that, I would have gone over the other side of the obstacle containers there.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would have put me within range.
So you were out of range of getting to the targets you wanted to get to, is what you're saying.
Yes. So I decided to hide them more, but I still want to get that one. I want to cripple the mana core, if not kill it,
Right.
which I succeeded in doing.
True. And
Uh,
that cost what, Alex, at least a couple of CP over the course of the game to keep it on top bracket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 turns of top bracket where it still killed nothing.
Yeah. I crippled it on a spiritual level.
Yeah, in a list where I'm only starting on 4 CP, so that's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something the
Yeah.
casting team definitely picked up on and that we thought was actually a pretty big blow. Managing to land that crippling blow was nice. It's a shame that it wasn't a kill, but okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. All right, so then like the Ophidians just didn't make their charges and everything. If you were to if you were to remake this list, do you think that going for something like Novak to get that +1 inches to charge and the -1 AP on all of the attacks, so like even the Ophidian claws are at -2, might be worth the swing, or no?
No, the -1 toughness is so crucial to making the Ophidians effective, and what I'm using them mostly against, their Threshers, is going against Storm Shields and things like that. The AP's already good, the 2 damage is already, like, effective. Just making that wound on 3s is so important.
And you don't find that the Plasma Sight on its own is enough to do that regularly enough?
No. As it goes from... Yeah, it just...
Like, trust me, I know I'm with you on this one, and that Rad Reef makes Ophidians work. But I want to hear what your thoughts are on it. Like, why do you think that it's so important?
Going between wounding on... So it's 2 things, right? So it puts Marines down to T3, which turns their Threshers to wound on 3s. But if they go against Guardsmen or anything like that, wounding on 2s will just shred most hordes. So they're my all-round, like, answer to every problem.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have that toughness reduction to enemies, they wouldn't do that reliably.
Yeah, the toughness reduction is also really sweet. It turns out against, say, Morty, who's got toughness 8 and suddenly goes down to toughness 7.
Yeah.
Because now you're wounding on 5s instead of 6s.
Blades. Yep. Actually helps with reblade too.
Yeah. And then with the Plasma Sight, you can get up to what, strength 6 with the reblade, and then at that point you're wounding Space Marines on 2s.
Strength 7 with the reblade.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
And on the turn where I can add an additional strength with a Plasma Sight on top of that, putting them to strength 6, I could wound Marines on 2s.
Yeah. So yeah, Rad Wreath is one of those things I super agree with, and I really like playing with it. I think it's one of the strongest traits there. It's just that everybody's playing OBSEC if they're going Custom Dynasty, which is a bit of a sad, because there's more play in the killing side of things in there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it even makes Warriors wound on 3s. Like,
yeah.
It gets a little bit nasty.
Those Death Marks managed to kill something in melee because they wounded on 3s, right?
Yeah, I was not impressed that my Vanguard died on 3s.
Okay, so let's go ahead and at this point, I've got a couple more fluffier questions at this point, just to see how you folks felt about each other's list. So, going back up to Alex for a second. Alex, as far as an MVP for the Necrons go, who would you nominate as the MVP of the Necron army here? Please don't die.
Choking on my water.
Would you like me
An
to?
immortal an immortal that killed. So when I went into combat with his Lockhursts, he was like, right, okay, flex fingers, Chaplain Jank. I'm gonna pile into the immortals, stop them shooting me. Right, immortals hit, winning on 3s, as we just said. I'm dying. It's all the Rad Reef radiation. Immortals winning me on 3s. Of course, he punches my Vanguard that's on a wound to death.
Yeah, and they have 2 attacks
Of
each.
course, I roll a 1, re-rolling for a CP. Great. Okay, I've now piled in to get them tagged. Oh look, I've now died. I'm not tagged anymore.
We have another
Yeah.
question from chat, and this one is to Natural Nuke.
Ooh.
And this is asking like your AP like decisions, were they based around like Dark Angel Soul? Like were you like was your list tailored to deal with like Dark Angels in that regard?
It's tailored to deal with storm shields and the like. Honestly, for invuln, it's supposed to put anything that's on an invuln on an invuln.
Got ya.
And
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Another question for you, actually. Who do you think was the MVP in Alex's army?
his chaplain, his Master of Sanctity, which survived the Scorpec Lord, wounded him, which put him down low enough to be killed, and then survived and went on.
Yeah, it kept on
Honestly-
just doing nonsense all game. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no. If he had died, I wouldn't have taken that 2 damage. The Thunderhammer wouldn't have killed the Scorpec Lord, and I would have held up that flank a bit longer.
Okay. Then I got another question for your army. Out of all the Necrons in your army, who needs to hit the gym?
Yes.
Which unit underperformed? And I think I know the answer.
Scorpec Lord.
Poor guy.
Ah, man. 6 attacks with his Warlord trait, Honorable Combatant, and just whiffed it completely.
Yeah, that was a really risky play, but that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in again. We've got another question in chat. This one is directed at Alex, and this is a bit of a tough one to answer, I guess, because you might be revealing information. Feel free to answer this one as you will and as you see fit. But someone has asked, how do you beat your list? Someone is like, obviously loving what you've done here, and I do love your list. It's like I spoke to during the stream. It's active in every phase. You've got a lot of obsec. You know, it creates a lot of issues. If you're going to give people advice, if they were to come across the sort of style of army, not your list in particular, because I think that might be a bit unfair considering running a tournament and everything. But if you're going to give people a bit of advice to how to deal with the style of play that you're currently running, how would you go about that?
Well, actually, I don't mind being quite direct with it. So I played Ossa, who's in like Group 4, I think, in Division 1, who's got his running. I'm playing with this list in a Tactical Tortoise event as well. And I think he was running 2 full payload Manticores, 2 tank commander, and a bucket of Krieg horses. And he won that game. We called that on turn 3. Even when I went first and was like, right, I'm going into White Scars. I'm going to make a 6-inch advance and a 10-inch charge to tag his 2 Lehman Russes turn 1. Because I think once I lose... so to play in this kind of game, I was like, right, it's either grind them down or while we stand we fight. So if I'm while we stand we fighting, the big squad stays together, and I combat squad the Vanguard, and I combat squad the other squad. The shotguns always kind of stay back just to kind of come in and just kind of, we're here for while we stand we fight, but if we need to clear our backfield with the shotguns, we can, because they're quite kind of general purpose. If someone removes the big 10-man squad, I suddenly lose all my board presence, because that's the kind of linchpin of the castle. Because I think the reason, I don't know if the stream heard it, is why he took the Ophidians off the board is, okay, so you can only, your closest charge is the Judicar, who's going to make you fight last, and I spend a CP and that 10-man squad heroically intervenes thanks to the Black Shield. And if you remove that squad before it gets into position to just kind of camp somewhere with the Storm Shields in cover with a Fight for No Pain, then I kind of have no board presence. Or the alternative is, what other games have I lost recently with that list where it was quite bad? If you take out, it depends on all the list. Like the 2 Dreadnoughts are really efficient against Harlequins and Sisters, because the relic on the Librarian gives them +1 to hit against fly. So you go, cool, okay, right, well, Harley's boats, I'm hitting them on 2s. I have an Eldar stratagem to turn off rerolls, for example. So they kind of, if you're a list that's relying on fly and you take out the Dreadnoughts, then suddenly I don't have the fire support. and then I have to come to you to do the kind of damage. And the same thing, if you take up the tanks, I have to come to you. If that's what you if you want me to come to you, then removing my tanks is how you beat me. If you don't want me to come to you, then you just try and basically make it a really rough choice for me to commit the 10-man squad, especially if I pick while we stand, we fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, good answer.
I love a game I lost with this list. I played a Necron list that's kind of the Relentless expansion and the whole army obsec one, which was like 30 scarabs and like I think it was 3 squads of 6 wraiths. I just don't have the attacks to hack through that.
Got you. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. I was going to say the person that asked that question, sorry, I lost it in the scroll. It very much depends on the army you're like playing as well. With these armies that are like very active in every phase, like Alex was saying, you take out his backline and all of a sudden he's just got like combat threat. You know, look for those opportunities. Look for little mistakes. Like we commented on it, we saw Alex make a. I don't know if the Judicar was just like being like the biggest man of the Deathwatch, but when you failed the charge, he was just like auto picked up for assassinate. You know, look for like things like that do happen. It's a dice game at the end of the day. Look for situations like that you can exploit. You know, is a big part of like 9th edition for sure.
Yeah, exactly. The second, I was like 5-inch charge of a reroll +2 from the chaplain, and I whiffed it with a reroll. Then suddenly, as soon as that Judicar's gone, who makes that castle kind of uncrackable, unless you've got a really heavy hammer, then now suddenly that 10-man squad is vulnerable. And then once they're vulnerable, they can be swept up, and then everything kind of falls like dominoes.
Got you. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, unless if anyone else has any more questions, we've been at this has been a very long stream. Alex, do you have any other final words you'd like to say about the game or about the Deathwatch in general?
No, we're going to continue my quest to prove they're not the worst Marines in the current game.
You're doing very well, sir. 3-0 right now in your group, right? So, yeah.
Yes, yeah. That's it. No, thanks for everyone that watched.
And Nuke, do you have anything you'd like to say about the Destroyer cults or about yourself?
The madness will take over the world.
Very excellent. All right, well, thank you to both of you for the excellent game. It was very worth watching, and I think it was a very good game. Both to learn from, to watch, to be entertained by, and it's really cool to see these kinds of lists. It's giving me some ideas for sure. Like, I'm very tempted to pick up a Deathwatch book now. So with that said, thank you both for coming on, and yeah, we'll hopefully see you guys later on down the line with some more games scheduled around the times that we can watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
It's all good.
And then I'd like
someone
to...
get that man a drink.
Yeah.
Right now.
That man a drink.
I'd like to go ahead and also thank Araver and Faith for hopping on as co-hosts and the main casting duo, really. I was pretty quiet today. Araver, is there any place where people can speak to you, talk to you, or ask you questions?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Come along, join our Discord server. If you're new to this, you're finding this stream for the first time. We run the biggest TTSWH40K server in existence. Over 40,000 people playing lots of games of Warhammer, 40K, AOS, all the rest of it. We have a very friendly, great community over there. If you're new to the game, wanting to get into the hobby, we can help you for sure. We have moderators, we have event assistants, and everything else. Alpha League is kind of our competitive wing that I run. Other than that, we have War on Seven Fronts, which is a great narrative focus with Crusade right now. Speaking of Alpha League itself, if you were to hop over there right now, you're wanting more streaming sort of content, we have 2 other games going on right now, and the people in those Discord chats are running video. So if you wanted to hop along right now and watch those games, I'll drop the link in the server in a moment for you all. Other than that, if you miss any of our previous content, we had a great podcast with Brady from Almost Pro Gaming on Sunday. We've streamed another couple of games. We have our YouTube. I will post links to that. Other than that, if you're wanting to support us in any way, shape, or form, like we have a Patreon as well, and that will be the final link that I will put in there. And obviously, I am like staff on the Discord server, so I'm right at the top. You want to message me any questions, queries about 40k. You're looking to get into competitive. You want like list advice. I've done pretty well in like previous seasons of Alpha. I've got second place in one previous season. So if you want any sort of advice, particularly to do with Eldar or Death Guard, I can definitely like help you there. My messages are always open, so don't hesitate to DM me on anything in that regard, and I will post the links right now. Other than that, it's a great game. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I love seeing the Deathwatch play. I love watching the Necrons play. I'm going to call out all the Necron players right now to come on the stream, because they're currently 0-2 on the stream. So I want to see the Necrons win. So if you're wanting to be featured like next Thursday or Saturday, and you are a Necron player and want to, show that they can win games, that'd be great and great to see. Look forward to it. And then on Saturday, guys, we will have a stream of Death Guard with Mortarion, the Primarch himself, going up against Eldar, which is going to be great. And then on Sunday, we will have our regular podcast, and our special guest is going to be Tactical Tortoise himself. We will have Trevi coming along for that one as well.
And Faith, our other GoCaster, where can people find you if they want to ask you questions about how you got to be here and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over the server, right? I hang out and talk to everyone, particularly in the Alpha League chats. I answer questions and stuff, and you're welcome to ping me with anything, just add Faith. But I also stream at twitch.tv/emberfaith. I'll go ahead and link it in chat, where I stream predominantly my own 40k games, often Alpha League games. I'd like to do some on this stream as well, of course, but that requires specific times, which I can't always make sure my opponents can play during those times. But hopefully you'll see me more in Alpha League, and I'm hoping to get playoffs and, go far. I'm currently 3-0 with Custodes, so far so good.
All right, excellent. And thanks again, you two. I'm going to go ahead and just sign off the rest of the stream here very quickly. And I thank everybody for coming here to watch. Without you, there would be no stream. There would be no Alpha League. There would be no big community. With your support and with everybody just coming together to have a good time, that's how we have the Warhammer 40k TTS. I'd like to go ahead and thank Arrover in particular for organizing the tournament. It's a lot of work, so make sure you give everybody, you give him a big round of applause, a pat on the back, and a whisper saying that you love him at some point in time. I'd like to also thank Faith for coming on, as having an extra pair of voices that are smarter than I am is obviously very, very helpful for this kind of thing. Big thanks to Malice for putting the community together and for keeping things running and organizing things behind the scenes. If you bump into Malice or anything, make sure to give him a hug as well. I'd like to go ahead and mention one more time, there is a Patreon. If you want to go ahead and support all this stuff, that will eventually go into creating potential prize support and just making this everything just a lot better. So please do be sure to check that out if you have the spare cash, and if you don't, we understand. It's a tough time right now. Speaking of tough times, if as long as you stay healthy and everything, that's all we ask for. So please continue to do that stuff. And I'd like to thank everybody that's been watching the stream that also works in the more dangerous jobs these days. It can't be easy doing both, but we're happy that you're here. Then when it comes to everything else, I'd like to go ahead and just offer some special thanks to the music. I was using Midwinter Minis' Death by Dice Volume 1 to do the in-game music as requested by one specific person in chat, Faith, who really liked that grimdark style. You can go ahead and check out that album at bandcamp.com. If you look up Midwinter Minis' Death by Dice Volume 1, you are absolutely going to love it. It's excellent for painting, for playing, for everything. So give that a look-see. And then we've been listening to Argo Fox on YouTube for the intro and outro music. It is a good time. If you want to go ahead and add your own streaming music, or if you just want to listen to something a little bit more hype, because Pants really wants that, please do check it out, ARGOFOX, over on YouTube. My name's been Slow Wolf. I've been your grateful host for this particular stream. Thanks again for dropping by. If you want to talk to me, I'm also on the Discord. You can also find me on Twitter as @SlowWolf, and on YouTube as well. I stream as well, twitch.tv/SlowWolf. You'll be able to find me there, occasionally playing all kinds of things, including my own alpha games, Risk of Rain 2, and a whole bunch of other random nonsense. And yeah, that's it from us. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you folks on Saturday, where Morty maybe meets his match. Find out next time on the Alpha League Season 7 Gamecast. Bye for now.